The story begins with our MC, who finds himself in the emergency room of a hospital battling for his life. He is a mechanical engineer, but after he overworked himself, he suffered a stroke, which landed him in a critical condition. He has had a tough life since he was younger. His parents died not long after he was born, ultimately leaving him an orphan. After graduating, he spent 20 years in the company, which was a living nightmare because he was getting trash pay. Throughout his tough life, he remained single, since no girl is ready to date a broke, worthless loser like him. Thinking about all of these, our MC decides to just give up and stop fighting. He closes his eyes and passes on, as the medical staff in the room tries to get him to wake up. When he finally opens his eyes, he finds himself in a luxurious room, dazzling with different types of treasures that almost blind his eyes. He assumes that he is still in the hospital room, and he fears that he will have to pay for the rest of his life, thanks to being transported to such a prestigious hospital. Suddenly, a status window appears in front of him, welcoming him to the magical continent of Eldria. Our guy is initially confused as to what is happening, but his senses come back to life when he sees himself in the mirror and realizes that he is totally different. He is a handsome dude with blonde hair running down his neck. The first question that comes to his mind is why he looks the way he does. A week later, our guy finally settled in and figured out what was happening. After dying in the hospital room, he was reincarnated into this world as a dude named Rhine Edgar. Rain is the third son of a Grand Duke, Aldarian Edgar, and he has a brother and a sister. Our guy realizes that Rain is the spoiled brat of the house, whom everyone cares for and cherishes. They are always buying him stuff or feeding him, just to make sure that he is comfortable since he is the smallest in the family. Rain is enjoying life so much that he starts believing that it is a remedy for his terrible past life. The continent, Eldria, is a world where everything relies on magic to function. The Caradorial Empire is the largest human empire on the continent. There are also other races aside from humans living on the planet, such as elves and dwarves. The Edgar family is a noble family with a territory of about 300,000 square kilometers and roughly 1 million subjects. As a noble, he also gets access to a personal maid who serves him. Rain figures out that his current sweet life is due to the tough life he had in his past life. He is having tea when the maid tells him that his father has summoned him. Moments later, Rain arrives in his father's chambers. He bows to his father in humility, and the man asks him if he knows why he has been summoned, but Rain says no, since he can't read minds. His father then tells him that he has reached an age where he can manage his own territory, and he asks him if he has decided on where he would like to go. Rain is shocked to hear this, since he never thought about anything concerning a territory. His father stands up, walks up to the big map in the room, to tell Rain that the territory he is going to take over lies in the northwest. His father says the region might be safe due to the shortage of magicians, but the issue of food production has been a problem in the area. His father then says their land might currently be secured, but the future of their empire is not so optimistic. Rain agrees with his father because the royal family of the Caradorial Empire is in a state of decline, thanks to political corruption. There are several conflicts between the empire's lords. Rain is interested in protecting those who are his family because all he has witnessed since his reincarnation has been nothing short of care. His father notices that Rain is lost in his thoughts, and he assumes that he is putting too much pressure on the dude. His father lets him know that he doesn't need to rush himself, but Rain cuts in, asking if the region will improve if there is food security. His father subtly tells him that food issues are not something that can just be solved with enthusiasm alone. The man believes that it takes step-by-step solutions to completely eradicate it. Deep down, his father believes that Rain is a child who doesn't know what he is talking about. On the other hand, Rain is quite confident that he is not relying on mere passion alone, but the wisdom of years of the human industrial revolution. With a bright smile on his face, he tells his father to leave the food issue to him. Aisling City is the westernmost land of Aldarian's territory, which borders the territory of the Grand Duke of Sorin to the north. To the west, it borders the territory of the elves, and to the south lies the vast ocean. Due to its location at the intersection of three nations, Aisling City is often engaged in the flames of war. Constant fighting has left what was once a fertile land to nothing but a barren land, with the population in decline. On the way to the city, Rain reads everything he needs to know about the city. He figures out that the necessary step for an industrial revolution is a large labor force. And as things start, the city lacks one, which is why he needs to find a way to increase the population of the city. Surprisingly, Rain realizes that he has gained a special ability. The system has provided him with the option to be able to scan a target, and with this, Rain believes that he can observe the stats of a person. He has used the ability on his family, and with this, he has gained an estimated understanding of the people in this world. Rain has made it his priority to recruit talented individuals once he arrives in the territory. Sitting in the carriage with him is his maid, who has been instructed by his father to keep an eye on him so he doesn't cause any trouble in his new territory. Deep down, the red-headed maid also wishes that Rein would keep things cool in the territory. At the Iceling City estate, the city lord has received the information that Rein will be arriving that very day. One of the evil dudes running the city, who is apparently the city lord, asks if they should make the first move because he heard that the duke likes his youngest son very much. However, his counterpart with a mask on his face suggests that they hold back their hands and wait till they receive further instructions from their master. The noble is worried that Rein might discover his financial and tax fraud, but the masked dude is confident that Rein would not know anything about tax and financial records. The masked dude tells his counterpart to give Rein some random accounts to confuse him. Since Rein will arrive in no time, the masked dude tells the city lord to leave so he can welcome him. It turns out that the masked dude has a beef with Rein's father, and he is looking to punish him. Shortly afterward, Rein and his maid Leah arrive at the outskirts of the city. He realizes that the land is incredibly fertile, but due to the lack of population, it has become desolate. Rein then asks Leah to show him the map of the area, and she does. Rein stares at the map for some minutes, and he figures out that building a canal to connect to the southern seaport would be magnificent. He is thinking about this when he suddenly hears a little girl beside him, urging her father to stop gambling. The girl tells her father that the money is for her mother's treatment. However, her father is hell-bent on taking the money because he believes that he finally has the chance to win. He is about to hit his daughter because of this when Rein sends him flying with a punch to the face. Leah rushes over to check on Rein, and she urges him to inform her next time before engaging in a fight so she can prepare his protective gear. In his defense, Rein says it was an impulsive act, so there was no way Leah would have had the time to prepare. He then tells Leah to check on the girl while he speaks to the scum, who calls himself her father. Rein walks up to the dude to scold him for hitting his daughter and also putting his family in jeopardy for trying to gamble with the medical money. The dude subtly asks Rein who he is, and Rein replies that his identity doesn't matter. However, he assures him that if he ever finds out that he goes to the gambling den again, he is going to have his hands cut off. This is enough to instill fear in the dude, and he runs away, promising not to do it again. After the dude is gone, Rein decides to check the girl's physical state with the system. The girl cries, saying she would have been stranded if the money for her mother's treatment had been taken away from her. With the help of the system, Rein figures out that the girl's name is Lillian, and she has a special attribute for farming and harvesting. Rein is blown away by her special traits, even though her stats are not high. He figures out that she is a blessing when it comes to agriculture, and he has to recruit her immediately. Rein then tells Lillian that she is free to take his carriage since they are heading to town too. Lillian protests, saying she is dirty and would only tarnish the carriage's integrity. Rein smiles, saying there is nothing special about the carriage because it is just planks of wood put together. Rein then asks the girl why there is a thriving gambling den, even though poverty has eaten deep into the territory. Lillian explains that last fall, the Grand Duke of Sorin attacked the town, which left several soldiers dead. As if this were not enough, a great flood hit the territory that spring, destroying most of the land and crops. This made life hard for the citizens, and getting a meal became nearly impossible. After hearing this, Rein heads into town, and he figures out that conducting a census will let him know just how many productive forces he has in the town. However, his first step is to go to the Lord's estate to see how much cash is available for his use. Rein asks Lillian if she knows where the Lord's estate is, and she is about to reply when they hear a horseman in the distance, holding a whip and screaming at everyone to get out of the way. He calls everyone in his way peasants, and he almost crushes Rein with his horse, but Leah pushes him out of the way just in time. The dude continues on his way, while Leah is left enraged. Rein quickly tells Leah to let him go because she is already choking him with her big melons. Leah adjusts herself and asks Rein if he is fine. Rein assures Leah that he is fine, and this is thanks to her. Rein asks Lillian if she knows who the horse rider is, and she mentions that he is the young master of the Edwin family. Lillian says all the casinos in the city belong to their family. Rein smiles when he hears this because owning all the casinos in the city practically makes them rich. Rein is glad to know this, since he was getting worried about where he would get the development funds from. Instead of the estate, Rein tells Lillian to lead him to the casino. Lillian protests against this, telling Rein that all of his money will be taken away if he goes to the casino. However, Rein assures her that she has nothing to worry about because the casino cannot beat him. Lillian is blown away by this, leaving her to wonder just how powerful Rein is. Moments later, they arrive at the prestigious casino, and Rein can't wait to wipe it out in exchange for his production line. He steps into the casino, and the first sight he sees is a dude begging to be given 10 gold coins while making empty promises of how he can make the money back. Elsewhere, there is a dude screaming that he has won. Rain is disgusted by the sights of this because he knows that as long as casinos exist, people will never work properly. Lillian then asks Rain if he is ready to take action because the casino has already been surrounded by the soldiers. However, Rain asks her to hold off because he is waiting for the big fish. Rain walks up to one of the attendants who asks him what game he would like to play. Rain replies that he has no idea, but urges the dude to show him the way to anything easy. The attendant then asks Rain to follow him, and they give Rain 2 chips, saying they are on the house. They urge Rain to try his luck with the chips. Rain throws the chips and they land on the small box. The attendants cheer Rain on, but their intentions are much darker than what they are portraying. Basically, the game they are playing is called Sick Bow, which is a casino game popular in East Asia. Depending on the total sum of the dice, it will either be considered small or big, but the two have equal odds. The attendant then tells Rain that he tried his best, but he lost. Rain tells the dude that he is not impressed in any way, and he decides that he has to leave because he is hungry. However, the attendant tells Rain that he can't leave because he has to pay them the money he owes first. Rain is visibly disgusted, and he asks the dude when it was that he owed him any money. The attendant then mentions that he borrowed Rain the 2 chips he used, and he has to pay back the money first. Rain reminds him that he clearly said the chips were on the house. The attendant then protests, saying nothing is free in the casino. The attendant smiles, saying each chip is worth 100 gold coins, and in addition to the service charge, Rain is apparently owing 250 gold coins. The attendant tells Rain that he is free to leave his maid behind, in case he is not with enough cash. Lillian then cuts in, telling the attendant to keep his mouth shut because he is a freaking liar. Lillian turns to Rain, telling him not to believe the lying piece of shit because each token is worth just 1 silver coin. The attendant is pissed to hear this, and he berates Lillian for ruining his plan. Enraged, he calls on someone to beat Lillian, but before he can finish his statement, Rain punches him into the distance. Rain stands tall and cool, asking the dude who gave him permission to speak. Rain then turns around to see the people just focused on the games they are playing, while hoping that they win. Nonetheless, Rain's recent act doesn't go unnoticed as the big fish Rain has been waiting for finally shows up, demanding to know who dares to make a mess in the casino. The dude then tells his guards to beat up the gamblers, who caused a ruckus. His boys follow his orders, and he tells the other gamblers who are watching him that this will be their fate if they don't behave themselves. Deep down, Lillian blames herself because things like this would not be happening if she hadn't brought Rain and Leah to the casino. She remembers how Rain helped her out, and she decides to step up to defend Rain, saying she is not going to allow them to scam him. The other gamblers are shocked to hear this, and they all assume that it is the end for Lillian because no one who has made the owner, Vercello, mad has come out unscathed. Vercello turns around, asking Lillian if she is talking to him, and Lillian continues with her rant, saying Vercello's casino has ruined a lot of lives. She then says she is not going to sit around and let them bully her newly acquired big brother because he is a nice person. Vercello angrily comes after Lillian, and she just stands there waiting to get hit. However, Rain catches Vercello's hand before he can get to Lillian. He scans his stats and realizes that the dude has a terrible stat. His loyalty is a measly number of 5, and his special attributes are bloodlust and brutality. Vercello turns to Rain, asking him if he is not pleased with the way he does things. Rain replies that, on the contrary, he is impressed because only the strong can survive in this world. Rain then tells Vercello that whoever wins the fight will get the last laugh, and Vercello laughs when he hears this. He cannot believe that Rain is seriously challenging him to a fight. With a disgusting look, Rain tells Vercello that he doesn't need to know who he is, but he just needs to know one thing. With a clap of his hands, soldiers come rushing into the casino. Rain stands tall, with his soldiers all lined up behind him. Rain says he is currently winning the fight, which means he gets the final laugh. Meanwhile, the city officials are all waiting for Rain. Most of them are already trying to look for a way to get Rain on their good sides. Even Vercello's father is planning to make a good relationship with Rain, but he is surprised that he hasn't seen his son around. Moments later, Rain arrives in the hall, and the officials start rushing toward him, introducing themselves to him, while presenting gifts to him. Rain simply smiles at them and suggests that they start the meeting, since everyone is already present. The workers then drag in a board with a drawing on it, leaving the officials confused. Rain then tells them that the drawing they are looking at is the blueprint of the dam, and they need to make sure that all goes well. This leaves the officials even more confused because they don't know what a dam is. One even thinks it is meant to catch fish, but Rain urges them not to worry because he is going to explain everything to them. He calls on Leah to hand him the map, and she does. He lets the officials know that he has taken a look at the city's geographical location, and there is always a great flood every year due to the river north of the city. He mentions that they can build the dam there to stop the floods during the rainy season, and then water the crops during the droughts. The officials are blown away by this because it is an excellent idea, which will help the city's production increase. It starts to dawn on them that Rhine is not a simple dude after all. One of the officials then asks Rain what it is that he wants for them, and Rain comes clean, saying he needs money. The moment he says this, all the officials bow their heads in gloom, saying they don't have money. Standing behind is Vercello's father, Adrian, and he believes that Rain is a naive young fellow because there is no way the officials will give him money. Rain tells the officials that they don't have to say they are poor because he just raided a casino in the afternoon, where he was able to get about 50,000 gold coins. He mentions that this was just one casino, and there are still others there. This immediately catches their attention, leaving them wondering which casino he raided. The officials are worried that they are not going to get a share of the casino's profit that month. However, there is one thing that is certain, and this is the fact that all the casinos in the city are run by Adrian. The officials conclude that Reen is just going to get himself into trouble. Even Adrian is pissed when he hears this because he has no intentions of going against Reen before. But since he has decided to touch his business, Adrian is now interested in destroying him. Adrian walks up to Rain, telling him that his decision to raid the casino is against the laws of the nation, and he is not supposed to break the laws of the nation. The other officials are in support of this, and they start speaking out to Rain, telling him that Adrian is right. They claim that the casinos are legal businesses, and he just can't raid them because he wants to. Adrian is confident that Rain is a naive fool who has no idea how to control people. Rain then speaks up, reminding them of how they claim to be poor after he asked them for money. Rain then tells the officials that he knows about their involvement in the casinos, and he lets them know that he is giving them one last chance. He tells them that they have a chance to give up the casino, or he will give it up for them. Adrian speaks back at Rain, telling him that the Grand Duke will not be happy with him if he knows what he is trying to do. The other officials are also in support of this, and they try to tell Rain that he must know his place. Since the group is all about laws and whatnot, Rain orders the soldiers to detain all of them because he is finally ready to teach them about the law. Rain also orders that the soldiers bring out the two guards from the casino. The two are already tied and restrained, shocking Adrian, since the two are always by Vercello's side. This basically tells him that something has gone horribly wrong. Rain then asks Adrian if he knows the two. Adrian claims that he doesn't know them, and he asks Rain why he is asking him. Rain then tells Adrian that he has nothing to worry about because he simply wants to know about them, since they tried to assassinate him that afternoon. Rain then mentions that the two claim they had the backing of someone important in the city. Rain then tells the soldiers to release the two so that they can see if there is anyone in the room who recognizes them. The officials are already panicking because the two are Vercello's followers, and the idea that they tried to assassinate Rain is a scary one. The officials believe that Adrian is done for good if they allow the two to speak. Adrian also knows this, and he quickly whips out a knife in an attempt to take down the two under the guise that they attacked the Duke's son. Before anyone can do anything about it, he cuts down the two in a gruesome manner. After this, he turns to Rain, telling him that he was overtaken by anger, which was why he acted rashly. He tells Rain that he is free to punish him for his actions. However, Rain tells him that he is an impressive person because he has a strong sense of justice. Adrian plays it cool, saying he only did what he had to do. Rain then turns things around, telling his soldiers to bring in the main culprit so that he can see if there are more impressive nobles like Adrian in the room. Just then, Vercello is dragged into the room while he is busy screaming about how his dad is the greatest noble in the town. Adrian's eyes lit up in shock when he realized that his son was captured, which was why he couldn't find him. Vercello screams at Rain when he sees the bodies of his servants on the ground, and he demands to know why he killed them. Vercello tells Rain that he is a dead man because the moment he is released, he is going to make sure he tortures Rain. This plays right into Rain's hand as he points out the fact that Vercello is trying to torture him and kill him at the same time. Vercello reinforces this, saying he is untouchable in the city, and he makes it clear that Rain is a dead man. Rain laughs when he hears this, telling Vercello that he is the bravest dude he has found. Rain finally steps aside so that Vercello can see that his father is in the room. Vercello laughs out loud, saying Rain is done for because the person standing behind him is a big deal. He is about to continue boasting when his father screams at him, telling him to shut his mouth and kneel. Vercello is surprised and confused, leaving him to ask his father what exactly is wrong. Adrian ignores his talk and he pushes Vercello to his knees. Adrian starts begging Rain, telling him that his son is young and naive, urging him to spare him. Adrian assures Rain that he will give him everything he has if it means sparing his son's life. This is when it dawns on Vercello that his father told him the day before that Rain would be coming to town, and he advised him to get closer to him. With fear written all over him, Vercello asks Rain if he is the Duke's son, and Rain points out the fact that he has many soldiers, which should have told him from the start. Versilo immediately bows his head, begging Rain to forgive him because he has made a terrible mistake. Adrian joins his son to beg Rain, saying he should give his family another opportunity. Adrian even goes on his knees, telling Rain that he and his family are pledging their loyalty to Rain. Rain then tells Adrian to hand over everything he has gained illegally because this is the only way he can guarantee his safety. Adrian bows his head, thanking Rain for the rare opportunity. Just then, Adrian makes the bold move to tell Rain that the City Lord Eldrick has contacted external forces in an attempt to betray Rain's father. This shocks the rest of the officials, as they can't believe that the City Lord is about to mount a rebellious activity. Rain plays the game of a fool, and he screams at Adrian for saying such trash, even after he has promised to let him go. Rain orders that Adrian and his people be executed for saying such. This shocks Adrian, but Eldrick, on the other hand, is glad. He believes that Rain is as stupid as they come. Eldrick then walks up to Rain, bowing his head, and telling him that he is completely loyal to him, which is why he would never think of a rebellion. Rain smiles, telling Eldrick that he believes him. However, Rain has scanned Eldrick's stats to see that he is a greedy person. Later on, while sitting in his office, Rain realizes that the nobles have all contributed about 100,000 gold, which is about 2 years' worth of tax. Leah enters the room to give Rain his black tea, and she asks him what he plans to do about what Adrian said, because if it is true that Eldrick is plotting a rebellion, Rain will obviously be in danger. Rain then urges Leah to calm down, telling her that he understands her worry, but assures her that there is no need to be in a hurry. Rain says he is aware that Eldrick is planning to rebel, but at the same time he can show his hands. Leah asks Rain why he is holding back, and Rain says he needs to know who he is working for Eldrick before he can make his move. Rain mentions that he is in the open, while his enemies are perfectly hidden, and if he makes the wrong move, things will erupt in chaos. Rain wants Eldrick to believe that he doesn't know what he is doing until he finally gets to the bottom of the situation. Meanwhile, Eldrick is speaking with the guildmaster Malcolm, and he tells the old man that there is no need for him to be in a hurry because Rain is still young and eager to prove himself to the Duke. Even with this, Malcolm doesn't think Eldrick has any reason to side with Rain because even his father would show the wizards some respect. Deep down, Eldrick is glad that Rain has somehow turned the guild against him. Malcolm angrily leaves the room, saying he needs to have a word with Rain. Eldrick smiles, believing that Rain has tripped the hornet's nest by offending the magical guild, which is going to leave him exposed in the city. The next day, Leah enters Rain's chambers to tell him that Malcolm would like to see him. Rain is initially confused since he has no idea who Malcolm is. Rain steps out of his office to meet the person called Malcolm, only to see that it is the guildmaster. Malcolm screams at Rain, asking him why he would insult the Wizards Guild. Rain shows his confusion, asking Malcolm when it was that he insulted the Wizards Guild. Malcolm tells Rain that he is only acting clueless, and then he shows him the recruitment letter that he signed off on. Inside the letter, Rain clearly stated that the project is not for individuals who are wizards. Rain admits that he sent out the letter to build the dam, but there is no indication that he is insulting the Wizards Guild. Malcolm argues, saying his application states that wizards are not allowed, which is nothing but a provocation to the wizards. Rain is surprised to hear this because he didn't know that wizards also take physically demanding jobs. Malcolm then demands a reasonable explanation from Rain, or else he will make sure that all the wizards stop working for him. Before making his next move, Rain tells the system to show him Malcolm's status. Rain is impressed to see that his loyalty is quite good, and he has a thing for seeking out knowledge. With the stats he has seen, he figures out that someone riled up the dude. Rain lets Malcolm know that everything is a mere misunderstanding because he never had the intention of disrespecting the Wizards Guild. Rain continues by saying there are 3 reasons he is not hiring wizards for the dam construction. He says the first reason is that the amount of mana is limited, and by this, they might not be able to meet the deadline. The second is that it is freaking expensive to hire a wizard. With the same money, he can easily hire about 10 physical laborers instead. And then, the third one is that most wizards live a comfortable life from being part of the guild, leaving the civilians uncared for. Rain mentions that as the leader, he has to pay special consideration to them. Malcolm then replies that everything in their world is guided by magic. Malcolm believes that those who have no affinity for magic should be beneath wizards. Rain replies, saying Malcolm is telling the truth with what he just mentioned, but he is not comfortable with this. Rain says he wants to make everyone see that civilians are not inferior to wizards. Malcolm then tells Rain that he would have to take his statement back if he is not looking to make an enemy of them. Rain stands strong, telling Malcolm to mind his tone, or else he will order Leah to cut his throat. Leah shows how serious she is by holding a knife to Malcolm's throat. Malcolm is shocked to see this, and he demands to know what Rain is saying. Rain lets Malcolm know that he is not making empty threats because the law about this actually exists. Rain tells Malcolm that he is free to test his patience, and he will have Leah cut his throat so that they can both see who the court will side with. Realizing that Rain is serious, Malcolm starts begging, telling Rain to spare his life. Rain notices that even with the situation, Malcolm's loyalty toward him didn't drop. Rain pities Malcolm because he was simply being used. Rain then tells Leah to take the knife off his neck, and Leah follows his order. Just then, the system comes up with a notification that he has used his investigative ability on 10 people, which automatically completes the novice quest. With this, he is liable to get the host reward for the novice quest. He is also given a new quest, which is to obtain 5 high-stat characters. Rain is happy with the new item he just received, and he decides to check out the reward. After leaving Rain's place, Eldrick meets with Malcolm, asking him how his meeting with Rain went. Malcolm tells Eldrick not to stress him because Rain didn't listen to anything he had to say. In fact, he chased him out of the building. Being the evil dude that he is, Eldrick tells Malcolm that he has an idea that will change Rain's mind and even make Rain more respectful toward him. Eldrick tells Malcolm that Rain would have no choice but to come running to him after the construction workers refuse to work for him. Malcolm is surprised to hear this, and he asks Eldrick why the people would refuse to work for Rain even though he has given them a good offer. Eldrick continues by saying Rain will definitely be disappointed in the peasants if all they do is laze around. Malcolm refuses Eldrick's offer, saying he is not interested because the only issue he has is the fact that Rain refused to hire wizards. Malcolm lets Eldrick know that he has no intentions of sabotaging Rain's plans. Eldrick is disappointed to hear this, and he tries telling Malcolm that the peasants are a bunch of no-goodies who deserve what they are getting. He tells Malcolm that there is no way the citizens would be serious about helping Rain build the dam. After hearing this, Malcolm finally agrees to Eldrick's suggestion, saying they should give his idea a try. Shortly afterward, the citizens found the application for the dam construction on the board. The benefits of working there include 3 square meals a day, and the wages will be paid out by the end of the day. They are also assured that payment will never be late, and there is a guarantee that all will be treated accordingly. The citizens are surprised by this because the offer is too good to be true. Most of them believe that it is nothing but a trap, since they have been deceived time and time again by the trash nobles. The people are all speaking against this when Lillian enters the picture to scold them, telling them not to slander Rain's name. She tells them that Rain has assured her that he will make everyone's life better. The people start to laugh when they hear this, and they believe that Lillian is saying trash. Some even assume that Lillian has feelings for Lillian, which is why she is taking his side. Lillian ignores them, and then tells the attendant that she and her father would like to apply for the dam project. The attendant tells Lillian that he's going to accept her father, but there is no chance that he is going to take Lillian. Lillian protests against this, saying she is a pretty strong lady. The attendant then tells her that Rain has instructed him not to take those who are below the age of 18. The attendant tells Lillian that they are going to be punished if they hire her behind Rain's back, and he later finds out. The attendant then informs Lillian's father that he is free to participate in the construction of the dam for 8 hours a day, with 3 meals to be provided. The payment for each day will also be 10 coppers, and he will get it at the end of the day's work. The attendant tells Lillian's father to make a handprint on the sheet of paper and show up at the construction site the next day. Lillian then turns to her father, telling him to work really hard, and the man assures his daughter that he will because he has no intentions of gambling again. He promises not to let Rain down. He hugs Lillian, telling her to stay at home with her mother because she can't work in the field, thanks to her illness. Just then, the attendant calls him back to confirm if his wife is truly sick. Lillian's father confirms this, saying his wife is really sick, which is why she can't work at all. The attendant smiles, telling the man that his wife is not required to work. In fact, Rain has ordered that members of the workforce working on the dam project are free to temporarily relocate to the workers' quarters. This is confusing to the man, and the attendant explains that it is a temporary residence he is entitled to while working on the dam's construction, and whenever the construction is done, he is free to return home. Lillian's father immediately falls to his knees in tears, thanking the attendant. The attendant helps him up, telling him that someone will take him and his daughter to the quarters so that he can pick where he would like to live. Hearing this throws a new sense of hope into the crowd, and they start rejoicing, believing that Rain might actually be saying the truth. Their perspective changed immediately, and they all believe that it is their chance to sign up. In no time, they all get in line to make sure that they get signed up for the project. Meanwhile, in his chambers, the system congratulates Rain, telling him that he has received the blueprint of a lithium iron phosphate battery as a reward. Rain is not entirely pleased with this because there is no use for the battery when there is no electricity generator. Rain wonders if the system is expecting him to carry the battery and allow lightning to strike him. At the same time, he is worried about the new quest because he has no idea where he is supposed to find 5 high-stat characters. He was initially thinking of training Leah, but she can't improve anymore because her stats are almost maxed out. Rain figures out that his best bet is to go into the city to scout for talents again. Not long after this, Leah informs him that Lillian is there to see him. Lillian enters the room, telling Rain that things are not going well at the construction site because people are slacking off. This comes as a surprise to Rain. When Lillian was at the site, she asked her father why he is taking a break without doing anything tangible. Her father then tells her that he can't understand his body because he has been feeling tired since he woke up that morning. In fact, the same thing is happening to all the other workers. Lillian screams at the others, asking them why they are all slacking off even though Rain has offered them something really good. The workers reply, telling Lillian that they are not trying to be lazy, but they have been feeling really weird since the day began. One of them assumes that they are exhausted quickly because it's been a long time since they last worked. They suggest that they might feel better the next day if they rest very well for the day. However, Lillian is pissed at all of them, and she screams at them, saying that they are nothing but a bunch of lazy lads because there is no way a disease like that exists. Rain soon shows up at the site, and he scans Lillian's father, Rock. He suddenly spots something unusual in the stat window, and this is the fact that the dude has been cursed. Rain then turns to Lillian, telling her that the workers are not sick, but cursed. Buried under the ground is a strange stone emitting really dark energy to affect the workers. Rain then resorts to the use of a skill named prospecting. He was waiting till the construction started so he can use it, but since it has come to this, he realizes that he has no choice. The skill allows the Rain to analyze the state of rocks, strata, formations, minerals, and other landforms in a target area. Rain then orders the system to analyze the geological condition of the area. The system takes the order, informing Rain that it is analyzing the geological condition within a 10-kilometer radius. Rain is disappointed that there is no petroleum or even metals in the area. However, he is able to locate something weird in the area. He then points Rock to the location he wants him to dig in. Rock accepts the order, telling Rain that he can still dig even though he is tired. Moments later, he digs up a suspicious rock that is emitting magic rays. Even Leah is shocked because the emission of magic from the stone is so faint that she cannot detect it. She is left wondering just how Rain was able to do it. Rain then orders them to dig up the crystal and put it inside a box. Rain asks Leah what is done to people who have been cursed. Leah says they usually go to the church where a priest helps them remove it. In addition, they can go to a high-level wizard from the Wizards Guild to help them remove the curse. Rain immediately becomes curious when he hears the Wizards Guild. He turns to Lillian, telling her to bring her father along because they need to find a priest. Lillian is worried, and she asks Rain if it is true that her father has been cursed. Rain assures Lillian that she has nothing to worry about because whoever is liable for this will not get away with it. Moments later, Rain arrives at the church, and he is welcomed by a saintess. Since he will be asking her to take care of someone, Rain tells the system to investigate her first. With the system's help, he discovers that her name is Ayuria, and surprisingly, she is an elf. However, her loyalty level is quite high. Ayuria finally introduces herself, and she asks Rain what she can do for him. Rain tells her that Rock has been cursed, and if there is anything she can do about it. Ayuria says she would have to take a look at Rock first. Ayuria uses her power on the dude, and she confirms the fact that Rock has truly been cursed. Rain asks her if she can remove it, and without delaying, Ayuria shoots a ball of divine energy into Rock, ultimately dispelling the curse. A large smile radiates from his cheek, and he tells Rain that he now feels like a new person. He tells Rain that he can finally go back to work so he can finish up everything that he is expected to do. Rain tells Rock that there is no need for him to rush because they need to resolve all the issues first. Rain then shows Ayuria the black gem they found at the construction site, and he asks her if she knows what it is. Ayuria replies that the dark crystal is the most common magical crystal, and a huge amount of magic has been stored inside for the curse to take effect. However, it is more like a prank rather than a curse. Ayuria says the caster is capable of killing anyone with the same amount of magic in the stone, but he is only making people feel tired with it. Rain then asks Ayuria if it is easy to make the crystal, and she says yes. She says the crystal can be easily created to be hidden in a construction site every day. Rain is surprised that Ayuria knows about the dam project, and she replies that it is a project that will benefit the citizens, so there is no way she is not going to know about it. She adds that hiring so many people for the project has also reduced the pressure on the church. Deep down, Rain is pissed, and he figures out that he has to teach Malcolm a lesson. Rain then asks her if she has a way to remove the curse on the entire construction site. Ayuria replies that it might be difficult because he might not be so lucky to find the crystal again another day. In addition, she says there won't be time for the construction if all the workers are digging out crystals. Rain is conflicted, and he starts thinking about approaching Malcolm. Ayuria then tells Ryan that she has someone who can help him solve his problem, even though the said person is a bit strange. She asks him if he would be interested in trying nonetheless. Ayuria then leaves Ryan with a note that directs him to the house of Lady Selena, the former president of the Wizards Guild. Rain knows that he has to find a way to convince the lady to help him out. Suddenly, Leah senses something and she pushes Rain out of the way. Just then, a big explosion rocks the building, shocking Rain. The door of the building comes off and Rain sees Selena in the distance trying out dangerous spells. She is working on a certain dangerous spell, and she doesn't mind whatever she has to take down until she gets it right. When Rain finally tells the lady what he wants, she refuses, saying she is busy researching magical devices and has no time for whatever request Rain has. Rain asks her if the magical devices she is talking about are wands, but Selena laughs, telling Rain to stop spewing trash. Leah steps in, telling Selena that she has to watch her tone when speaking to Rain. Selena immediately takes an interest in Leah because she can see that she has a high affinity for magic. She urges Leah to stay with her as her apprentice, and she promises to help Rain after she is done with what she is doing. The tension immediately explodes between the two, as Leah is ready to show Selena how to show some respect. However, Rain manages to calm Leah down, reminding her that they are there to ask for Selena's help. Rain then asks Selena if she is the one who made all the magical items on the table. Selena is impressed that Rain recognizes the items, but unfortunately, she says that they are all failures. Selena lets Rain know that the item she is trying to create is one that will be able to store the powerful electric magic that she has within her. The moment she mentions electric magic, she catches Rain's attention. Rain immediately asks again to confirm if what she is trying to create is a device to store electricity, and she says yes. However, the whole thing has been exploding because none has worked. Selena then tells Rain to leave because she has to focus on her research. Rain takes a minute before telling Selena that he actually has a way to create a device that can store electricity. He asks her if she will be willing to help them out if he tells her the method. Selena thinks Rain is messing with her, and she reminds him that she has no time to be playing around. Rain reinforces what he said, saying he is not playing around, but he needs to know if Selena is ready to help them if he helps her create the device. Selena then tells Rain that if he can help out, she will help him deal with Malcolm and even make sure that the other wizards listen to him. However, if he fails, she tells him that she will not be responsible for his safety. The trio then steps outside to the yard, and Rain is visibly happy because he was already worried about where to get electricity. He whips out the lithium iron phosphate battery blueprint with the intention of making the wizards his primary electricity generators until he builds the hydraulic generators. Not long after, Rain finishes building the battery and he presents it to Selena, who doubts the functionality of the battery. She fears that it is going to explode even if she uses a tiny bit of magic. Rain disagrees with her, telling her that the battery's capacity is about 180 watt-hours per kilogram. He urges her to show him how much she can charge the battery. Selena takes the power cord from him with the intention of testing out just how powerful the said battery is. Selena releases her electricity into the battery, and to her surprise, the battery didn't blow up like she was expecting it to. Rain smiles, asking Selena if she is done because all the electricity she just released is not even the maximum the battery can take. Selena's ego takes over, and she decides to show Rain that she still has so much more to release. She unleashes more electricity from her body, but in the end, she ends up collapsing from exhaustion, while the battery remains intact. Selena is surprised that the battery can actually store her magic. Rain checks out the battery, and he realizes that it is currently at 87% capacity. He is blown away because the current storage of electricity in the battery can power a vehicle for more than 3,000 kilometers. Rain is also glad that Selena has the power to get the battery up to 87%, and because of this, he concludes that she is a human battery bank. Rain then confirms the electric current in the battery, shocking Selena and forcing her to ask if Rain can also use electricity. Rain replies that using it is not the only thing he can do, but he can also make it so that everyone in the city is able to use it. Selena doesn't believe this because she believes that magic cannot be learned that easily. Rain smiles, telling Selena that he even has magic devices that are more powerful than the battery they are looking at. Rain tells Selena that he will make things better for everyone if she is willing to work with him. Meanwhile, Malcolm is sitting comfortably in his chambers, waiting for Rain to come and beg him for help. Suddenly, Selena enters the room, shocking Malcolm to his bones. Selena lets Malcolm know that he has overstepped his boundaries to have made a move to go against Rain. Malcolm tries to act like he didn't do anything, telling Selena that he will never do such a thing. However, Selena is not there to joke around, and he grabs his chest, telling him to confess what he did to Rain's construction site. Selena shows him what happens when she is angry, and Malcolm doesn't want to get on her bad side. He quickly tells Selena that he is ready to talk. Malcolm confesses that he gathered all the mages in the association and he told them that Rain disrespected them. He then made them create crystals that could cast curses, and they used teleportation magic to place them underground at the construction site. This was what made the workers exhausted, so Rain would believe that they were useless and lazy. He wanted Rain to come and apologize to him so that they could finally work together. After confessing, Malcolm assures Selena that this is all he wanted and he had no other intentions. Selena berates him, telling him that he was being used. Malcolm is surprised to hear this, and Selena orders him to call back the mages. Selena then contacts Rain, telling him that he has solved the issue he has with the Mage Association, and he thanks her for it. Selena then asks Rain if he would like her to deal with Eldrick because she has the power to make him disappear from the earth. But Rain says there is no need for this. Rain tells Selena that he actually wants Eldrick to help him lure out the person he's working for. Selena acknowledges his order, saying she's going to back off since he has it all figured out. With a big smile on her face, she tells Rain to call her whenever he is ready to start working on the project that he talked about. Rain assures her that he will call on her, but he urges her to tell the mages to charge the batteries. Later on, Eldrick tells the masked dude that Rain has taken control of the Mage Association and he needs guidance on what to do. The masked dude tells him that he has nothing to worry about because Selena is the only one who can actually cause them a bit of worry. The masked dude says Eldrick's focus should be on the annoying dam project. He says if the dam works just like Rain said it would, the project will revitalize the people of the city, and this is the last thing they want. Eldrick assures his masked master that he has nothing to worry about concerning the dam because he has laid out a trap there already. Apparently, he has told the nobles in charge of grain supply to raise prices. The masked dude asks him if he is sure that the said nobles would side with him. Eldrick then explains that Rain made the nobles give up their money, but he has promised to help them get it back behind the scenes. Eldrick says the nobles might not be loyal to him, but they will definitely be loyal to their profits. Eldrick is confident that Rain doesn't have enough money to keep the project going until it is finished. In the market, Lillian finds herself fighting the sellers because of their prices. They have hiked the price of 2 bags of grain from 1 gold coin to 2 gold coins in just 1 day. The seller tells Lillian that she is free not to buy it because he doesn't care. He urges her to leave the grain if he can't afford it. Lillian remembers the promise she made to Rain about getting the grains at the lowest price possible. Lillian then asks the sellers if they are not scared that Rain is going to take action against them. The dude retorts, saying they are businessmen, and there is nothing Rain can do to them. He calls the situation a golden opportunity, and they are taking full advantage of it. He even pushes Lillian to the ground to trample upon her. When Ayuria also heard of this, she was pissed because she couldn't believe that they hiked the prices of grains in the space of 1 day. She tells her sister, Ilaria, that the grains they have won't be enough to get their people through winter. She tells Ilaria to take the grains back, saying she is going to figure something out. She then gives her money for a bribe. Ilaria is shocked because it is more than the usual money they use to bribe the guards. Ayuria is tired of explaining herself, and she tells Ilaria to just do what she asked her. Just as she is about to put the money in her pocket, Leah appears out of nowhere and snatches it away from her. The two are shocked, but are more shocked when Rain also shows up. Leah throws the money pouch to Rain, and Rain asks Ayuria if she is open to making a deal with him. The Saintess asks Rain what kind of business he might possibly have with her. Rain urges her to calm down, and he addresses her as an elf. Ayuria tries to act like she has no idea what Rain is saying, as she claims that elves are not allowed in the human capital. Rain then tells Ayuria and Ilaria that they have no reason to be defensive around him because he already knows that they are elves. Ayuria then asks Rain what it is that he wants from them. Rain replies that he is talking about food supplies, but Ayuria thinks Rain doesn't have what it takes to help them out. Rain then asks her why she believes he is powerless in the situation. Apparently, the food in the city is controlled by the 4 major noble families, and these 4 have stood strong in the city for over a century, firmly dictating the prices of grain in the city. The Saintess says Rain might have intimidated some people with his hardcore tactics during the banquet some days ago. However, the nobles at the meeting are nothing but small fries. Rain then asks her if she knows the city very well, and she says yes, since she has been living there for the past 120 years. The Saintess says Rain's action to move against the Edwin family has made sure that there is no room for negotiation. Ayuria continues by saying war and natural disasters have caused the scarcity of food throughout the year. She says her people have no chance of surviving because grain prices have gone up. Rain then promises the Saintess, telling her that the prices of grain will be cheaper in the city than it was before. Meanwhile, the 4 heads of the strongest family are having a meeting. They are all happy with the way things are going because they have made some incredible money in a short space of time. They are raising a toast to their success when the butler enters to tell them that Rain has requested their presence at a banquet. This shocks the four, and they start thinking of the worst possible things that Rain might have planned for them. One of the lords turns to the man who brought them together, Augustus, the head of the Klein family, to tell him that they are scared. Augustus tells his counterpart that he has nothing to worry about because Eldrick has already assured him that increasing the grain prices is within the laws of the nation. In addition, he believes that they are unstoppable as long as they stick together. Augustus says the price of grain solely depends on their mood, and the emperor doesn't even have the authority to meddle in it, let alone a young man like Rain. The other lords agree with him, saying if they follow everything that Augustus is saying, there won't be any room for poverty in their lives for the next 100 years. Augustus says the worst they can do is to drop the price by 5 coppers just to appease Rain. Augustus then turns to his counterparts, telling them that they will be severely punished if they try to back out. The other 3 assure Augustus that they are going to stick with him till the end. Since they are all in agreement, Augustus suggests that they change their clothes before meeting Rain. Later that night, Augustus and his counterparts arrive in the hall where Rain is waiting for them. Rain tells the maid to order the kitchen to start preparing food for his esteemed guests. When the 4 enter the room, they are wearing ragged clothes just to look poor. Rain is surprised to see this and smiles deep down because they don't know who they are dealing with. The first thing he asks them is why they look so dirty, since they are the ones controlling the city's grain supply. Augustus then cuts in saying they have heard about Rain's dam project, and they are willing to contribute. Another dude among them joins the conversation, saying they have donated large sums of money to support the project, and they have also been selling grains at the lowest price possible. Leah is pissed because the 4 are just trying their best to deceive Rain. Rain smiles after they are done spewing their nonsense, and he tells them that he appreciates their efforts in supporting him. He then tells the 4 that he has invited them because he wants to discuss grain-related business with them. August replies saying they are quite aware that Rain is low on funds, but at the same time, the 2 gold coins per sack is a huge loss for them. Rain then shocks them by telling them that they are getting the wrong idea because he is not talking about them reducing their prices. In fact, he wants them to raise the price of grain per sack to 4 gold coins. Augustus is dumbfounded when he hears this, and Rain confirms what he said again. However, he lets them know that he will be taking 30% commission off the profit made. After Augustus confirms what Rain said, he concludes that Rain is not an inexperienced kid, but a cunning dude just like the rest of them. The 4 are glad that things are about to become very much easier for them with Rain's support. They even regret the fact that they didn't visit him earlier, since he appears to be on their side. On the other hand, Augustus is worried that this might come back to haunt them if they increase the price without an official decree. Augustus then speaks up, asking Rain when he plans to announce the increment. Rain tells them that the document is ready and stamped with his family seal. He promises to put it up once they are done with their meeting. He then warns them about disobeying him because he might just as well treat them the same way he treated the Edwin family. The 4 smiles, assuring Rain that they are going to support him. When the 4 finally return home, one of them tells Augustus that it would be right for them to inform Eldrick of the sudden change because raising the prices of grain appears to be totally strange. Augustus angrily smashes his cup on the floor, telling the dude that the more people who know about the deal, the less profit they are going to make. Augustus says Rain is probably trying to rope them into his plan so he can reap the benefits. Augustus tells the 4 that the entire issue must stay between them because they need to take full advantage of the crisis. One of them speaks up, saying he is only worried because the deal feels too good to be true. However, he is ready to follow Augustus through thick and thin. Augustus then urges his friends to gather all the grains from the small merchants before the announcement goes up. They are confident that they are about to make so much money beyond their wildest dreams. The next day, the Saintess shows up in Ryan's office to berate him and asks why he is colluding with the crooked merchants. She is about to crash out when Lillian steps in, telling her to calm down because Rain already promised that the price of things would drop. Lillian urges Ayuria to trust Rain because he must definitely have a plan. Ayuria then asks Rain if he is truly planning on raising the price of the grain, and he tells her that she has nothing to worry about. He says the price will not stay high for long because in half a month, the grain market will completely collapse. Ayuria thinks Rain is spewing trash, and she calls him inexperienced for thinking the prices of grain will drop. Rain then asks the Saintess just how much she thinks the prices would drop if he had threatened the 4. The Saintess replies that she doesn't care because it wouldn't have doubled the prices of grain. Ayuria believes that the people are going to starve to death since the prices have gone up to 4 gold coins. But Rain tells her that it is all the same because the people still can't afford it at 2 gold coins and would starve to death too. Rain says the prices have the same effect, and it would only take longer than the other. Rain says his aim is not to make the merchants drop the prices of grain, but to make sure that they lose everything. 7 days later, Rain is taking Selena on a lecture when Leah shows up to tell him that the elf is there to see him. Selena believes that she is there to talk to him about the grain as usual. Apparently, the price has climbed up to 7 gold coins per bag, and just as suspected, this is exactly what Ayuria comes to complain about. Rain then turns to Leah to ask her how many days it has been since they started raising prices, and Leah tells him that it has been 7 days. Rain smiles and says it is time to finish off the merchants. This only gets the Saintess angrier as she demands to know what Rain means by this. She demands an explanation or threatens to sever all ties with Rain. With a calm voice, Rain tells Ayuria that he is finally ready to tell her the truth. The reason he didn't tell her before was to make sure her anger was genuine so that the nobles would not arouse suspicion. Rain then asks Ayuria what she thinks is the most lacking thing in the city as they speak. But she can't think of anything in particular. Rain then gives her the simple answer to this, and the answer is basically a merchant who actually sells grain. Rain explains that greed is the easiest human trait to control, and he cites an example with the merchants who rushed into the city after they heard that the price of grain had risen to 4 gold coins per sack. Rain knows that the 4 heads of family will buy the grains in higher quantities, further increasing the number of merchants entering the city. With this, Iceling City is basically the city with the highest number of grain in the entire empire. It is evident that all merchants lose their senses in the face of a 10,000% profit because the only 2 words in their minds are "get rich." Rain assures the Saintess after that very day, the 4 noble families in the city will be eradicated. Rain then passes a note to Leah, telling her to pass it all across the city. The note is to inform them that Ayuria is selling the church's reserve grain because she doesn't like Rain's methods. Rain adds that the price of the grain should be set at 1 coin per bag. Ayuria is shocked when she hears this, and she asks why Rain is giving her such honor. Rain smiles, saying he doesn't have any grain, so he has no way of selling. The Saintess also argues with him, saying she doesn't have as much grain as that unless she is expected to sell the grain her people would need for winter. Ayuria continues arguing until Selena steps in, telling her that she is such a naive soul. She advises her to listen to Rain's words and start selling the grains because the more she delays, the more money she loses. Ayuria retorts, saying her people don't care about money because what they are more interested in is grain. Rain is tired of arguing, and he tells Ayuria to do what he told her, while assuring her that her grain will increase and not decrease. Rain then turns to Selena, telling her that he is counting on her and the Mage Association to seal the city. Selena assures Rain that not a single person would escape the city. Moments later, Rain notices that Leah is acting strange, and he asks her if something is wrong. Leah replies that she is scared that things won't go as planned. She asks Rain what would happen if the merchants hold out for some days, and Ayuria sells all her grain. Rain then explains to her that there are 2 types of schemes. One is the secret plot, while the other is an open plan. Rain tells her that a secret plan can be avoided by an open plan is unavoidable. Rain mentions that the merchants who are currently in the city are blinded by desire, and they are going to risk everything just to make a profit. However, if they find out that the prices of grain will fall overnight, they are going to panic and sell. Not long after this, Augustus gets the information that the church has said it would sell their reserve grain to help the people, and it will be selling 1 gold coin per bag. The other 3 start asking Augustus what the solution is because they completely forgot about the church. One of them urges the others not to panic because there is no way the church has enough grain to serve everybody. Augustus then makes his decision, telling his friends to send some people to the church so that they can buy as much as possible. In no time, the church is bombarded with requests to buy grain. Ayuria urges them not to rush because there is a bulk load of grain available for everyone. She claims that the Pope has sent 10,000 bags of grain because he is aware of the people's struggles. However, most don't believe this, and they assume that the grain will run out soon enough, which is why they want to rush and buy everything that they can. Just then, soldiers show up on the scene to publicly tell Ayuria that the grain she is currently selling is the first batch, and more will be sent by the Pope the next day. Ayuria plays along, but she hopes that Ryan will take it easy on her because she might be in so much trouble if the Pope finds out about this. However, this sends shivers down the spine of the merchants because they believe that their business is completely ruined. One of them realizes that he actually bought the grain for 60 silver coins, and the transport alone is about 10 silver coins. He adds his expenses for the past couple of days, and realizes that it amounts to 95 silver coins per bag. He figures out that he still stands to make a profit if he sells all his grain immediately. Without wasting time, he starts announcing that he is selling his grain for 95 silver coins per bag. The people immediately turn to him, asking him to sell to them. Another merchant is pissed about this, and he decides that they are going to completely crash the market if this is what it takes. He also makes his own announcement saying he is selling for 90 silver coins. Before they knew it, it had fallen to 80 silver coins. Rain stands on his balcony to watch the chaos unfold, and Selena commends his ingenuity because everything is happening just the same way he said it would. Rain then tells Selena that she is witnessing human nature at its best. He explains that selling even a second slower than the others means more loss. This is why everyone is scared to sell late and is all selling out of panic. Selena asks Rain if the prices will come down to 50 silver coins with the way things are going, and Rain smiles, saying she is clearly underestimating the greedy merchants. Rain lets her know that by the time Augustus and his group start selling their grain will be the cheapest commodity in the city. Selena doubts the possibility of Augustus and his crew selling out like the other merchants because they paid the highest price to get the grain. In addition, Augustus and his counterparts were united at the banquet without leaving an opening. Selena doubts the possibility of the group turning on each other. Rain laughs when he hears this, telling Selena that she is giving too much credit to the group because there is no sense of unity among them. He assures Selena that when it comes to profit, none of them will be willing to back off. He tells her that the grain prices in the city are no longer an issue, but they need to talk to the Saintess about the second part of the deal. At Augustus's crib, he learns that the out-of-town merchants are selling their grains at the lowest prices possible. Basically, grain has gone down to at least 75 silver coins. Another disagrees with him, saying they are the ones controlling the grain in the city. He believes that there is no way outsiders are getting grain to sell. After taking a moment to think about it, Augustus finally gets the big idea, and he realizes that Ryan is probably plotting their downfall. The other dumb members run to him, asking him what he means by this. He explains that Ryan was the one who spread the news that grain prices in the city were skyrocketing, and this would definitely attract merchants from nearby towns to bring their grain into the city. The moment the merchants with grain flooded the city, Ryan used the church's name to crash the prices, basically causing all the merchants to start selling in panic. At the end of it all, the out-of-town merchants are forced to sell at a loss to avoid losing all of their money. Augustus lets them know that Ryan has just used a very sneaky trick on them. However, Augustus tells them that he has another plan that might help them turn the tables. The nobles start begging him to share his plan with them before they go out of business. Augustus tells his friends that the current grain supply will only serve the people for a few months. However, if they hoard the grain until the people are desperate, they get a chance to sell it at a high price. He assures them that they are going to sell and get their money back if they refuse to panic and sell. He makes it clear that the moment any of them tries to sell, they are all going down for it. One of them agrees with Augustus, saying he is right. After making this statement, he says he has to go home to order that all the grains are stored. Deep down, he is planning to sell all of his grain because he can't afford to be slower than the others. This basically tells the others that they are on their own, and they start making their separate plans too. After the three nobles leave Augustus's house, he orders his retainer to sell all the grains that they have because he can't allow the others to make a move before him. Later on, Rain calls Ayuria to show her a stack of grain sacks and asks her if the grain is enough for her. Ayuria is shocked by this because it appears that the more grain they sell, the more they get. Rain lets her know that this is happening because they are selling at the peak point of the market while they are buying at the lowest point. Rain says this strategy alone has made back tons of money. They are still discussing this when Lillian rushes into the room, telling them that the grain prices have dropped again. Basically, 3 bags of grain now cost 1 gold coin. Rain turns to Ayuria, telling her that she didn't believe him when he told her that the prices would drop. Rain then tells her that she can get more if she buys now. Rain then asks her if she is ready to talk about their deal. Ayuria is confused, and she asks him what type of deal he is planning to make with the Elven tribe. Rain shocks her when he tells her that they can basically handle everything that the elves need. Rain says he is ready to provide from the smallest thing, which is grain, to the big things like land. Ayuria is blown away by this, and she lets Rain know that the Elven Queen will be the one to make such a huge decision. Rain has no issue with this, and he tells her to arrange a meeting with the Queen. Ayuria then arranges a letter, which she gives to Illyria, telling her to deliver it to the Elven Queen. Rain is pleased with the way things are going because once the crisis is over, the nobles in the town won't cause trouble again for a while. Rain already has the Magician Guild under his control, and he plans to extend his influence to the church too. As of the moment, the only cards that Eldrick has are the military and taxes. He figures out that taking over the military will leave Eldrick vulnerable, and he has to find a way to infiltrate the military. Rain is thinking about this when Leah shows up to pat his head and urges him to take a rest. Just then, a dude enters the room, complaining about the conduct of the soldiers. Rain stands up from his seat and he walks up to him. The dude screams at him, asking him who he is, and Rain simply answers that he is someone who would like to do business with him. Meanwhile, Lillian had been tasked with transporting goods out of the city to the Elven lands. But when she got to the city gate, she was stopped by soldiers, who started smashing the containers under the guise that they were conducting an inspection. Since there is nothing incriminating in the containers, the leader of the unit tells Lillian to pay a toll fee if she wants to get the goods out. Lillian is pissed that she is required to pay after they broke the containers she is carrying. The unit leader lets Lillian know that it's either she pays or makes herself scarce. Lillian is about to continue arguing when a voice tells her to pay the soldiers. Lillian then brings out 1 coin, but the soldier claims that Rain has raised the toll to 5 coins. Lillian is pissed because everything she is carrying is only worth 3 silver coins, and she is being asked to pay 5 coins. The soldier simply tells her that she has the option to pay off or turn back. Lillian cannot believe that the soldiers are using Rain's name to perpetrate such crimes when Rain never ordered them to raise the toll. Lillian knows that the soldiers will be in big trouble once Rain has perfected his plan. Lillian then hands over the requested 5 coins, and the soldiers finally allow them to pass. Meanwhile, Rain is in the carriage with the dude from earlier. Rain hides his identity about being Rain and scolds Rain for raising the toll, but the dude protests against this. He tells him not to insult Rain because he is their savior. Rain is surprised to hear the merchant defending Rain because he is clearly blaming the soldiers instead of Rain. The merchant confidently explains how Rain used a brilliant plan to take down grain prices in the city in an attempt to help the people. The merchant admits that he lost money, but it is the first time he is going to see a leader care about his people. He confesses that if he ever gets the chance to meet Rain, he is going to serve him with everything he has. Rain then mentions the atrocities that some have been saying he committed, and the merchant still supported him, saying the corrupt families deserve everything that they got. Rain then asks him if he knows the Edwin family, and he mentions that everyone in the city knows the family. He says most people believe that the Edwin family amasses their wealth from casinos, but this is entirely false. The merchant then subtly tells Rain that Edwin's family's main business is human trafficking. Rain is shocked when he hears this, and rage overwhelms him. He can't believe that he is trying to raise the population of the territory, but the Edwin family is ruining his hard work. Rain figures out that the first thing they need to do is control the guards, because if an internal chaos breaks out, it will be easy for external forces to take advantage of it. Moments later, they arrive at another gate where the soldiers are demanding a toll. Lillian questions this, and the soldier tells her that the toll for the city is different from the toll for the border fort. Lillian screams at the soldier, telling him that he is lying because they only had to pay the toll once before. The soldier then tells her that she has the option to pay or get lost. Frustrated and angry, Lillian asks him how much the toll costs. Lillian crashes out when the soldier tells her that the price is 1 gold coin. Before she can argue further, Rain tells her from inside the carriage to pay the soldiers. The moment the soldier finds out that there are people inside the carriage, he orders that they all step out because they must be inspected. Since he is claiming that he needs to conduct an inspection, Rain steps out, telling him to carry out his inspection. Fear runs down his body when he spots Rain's elegance and his maid beside him, forcing him to ask him who he is. In the end, it turns out that the soldiers don't recognize Rain, but the merchant with him. They call him Trist, and Trist, on the other hand, is not happy to see the soldiers. He has a good reason not to be happy to see the soldiers because he knows for a fact that they were bandits from the nearby mountains. He later cooperated with the Edwin family and was responsible for moving humans for the family. Basically, it was the Edwin family who got him where he currently is. The soldier looks utterly displeased, claiming that the last time he went out of the city, he didn't pay enough tariff, and he got scolded for it. Without holding back, he slaps Trist, telling him that he has to make up for the mistake of the past or else he won't leave. Trist argues that he gave the soldier the exact money he asked for. The soldier claims that there was no shortage of money back then, but as it appears, there is now a shortage of money. He adds that he would have allowed the carriage to leave, but since he is in the carriage, he has to pay 5 gold coins to leave. Rain finally steps in, saying the pay is too heavy, and asks why the tax revenue of the city is low in return. The soldier is surprised that a nobody is talking to him, but before he can beat Rain up, he notices Leah, and her beauty attracts him. Realizing that things are about to escalate, Trist tells the soldier that he is going to pay the 5 gold coins as long as he doesn't make things hard for his business people. The soldier wastes no time collecting the money pouch from Trist. He then turns to Leah, asking her where she lives. He tries touching her, but Rain grabs his hand and lets him know that he is a disgraceful person. He tries attacking Rain, but Leah cuts him down in no time. Rain then tells Leah to kill all the soldiers, and afterward, the guards who are with them should be in charge of guarding the fort. The soldiers make a run for it, but Leah chases them down and cuts them all down. Rain checks out the soldier stats and is ultimately disappointed because they are nothing but trash. Before leaving home, his father had told him that there was an enemy territory close to him, and it would be good for everyone if he didn't cause any trouble. Rain is glad that he has discovered the big problem, or else he would be in a big problem because he would basically lose to the Empire. Just when Leah is about to finish off the rest of the soldiers, a voice echoes from behind, demanding to know who is causing trouble at the border of the city. The soldiers turn around and start smiling when they realize that a familiar face, General Caesar, has come to save them. The moment Ryan spots Caesar, he checks out his stat. He can see that he is truly talented, but he is a disloyal piece of shit. Rain then walks up to him, asking him if he is Caesar of the Holker family, who also has a brother working in Prisa's territory. Caesar confirms this, but wants to know how Rain knows his brother. Rain then mentions that Prisha Edgar is his older sister. This is when it dawns on Caesar and the rest of the soldiers that the person standing in front of them is Ryan, the youngest in the Grand Duke's house. The soldiers immediately conclude that they are done for because they have offended the wrong person. Caesar also remembers that his brother sent him a letter stating that Rain would be coming to the city in the near future, and he is required to ensure his safety. A month earlier, Eldrick had visited Caesar to give him a bulk load of money while telling him that the city would be relying on him in the future. There have been voices telling Caesar that the Duke doesn't recognize his talent or care about him, which is why he is sent to a trash place like Iceling City. They tell him that he deserves better, which is why it was easy for him to take the money from Eldrick. After thinking about all of these, Caesar pulls out his sword and he berates Rain for being an imposter. He also tells the soldiers to kill Rain, and he assures them that they are going to be rewarded for it. Leah is pissed when she hears this, and she asks Caesar if he is trying to rebel against the Duke. Caesar's soldiers also urge him not to make such a terrible mistake because it basically spells the end for the family if they make a wrong move. Caesar then claims that the person standing in front of him has already committed an offense by lying that he is the Duke's son. Caesar also tells his soldiers that they should not forget about what Ryan did by wiping out the Edwin family. He claims that they are currently in the westernmost part of the Caradorial Empire, and they are blessed with wealth that they have looted over the years. Caesar tells the soldiers that they stand a chance to live a happy life if they take Rain's head to the Orvis Empire in the north. Caesar continues by saying the choice is in their hands, but he is not going to force them. The soldiers are immediately confused as they do not know if they should listen to the general or not. Leah is also cautious because she can see that the soldiers are weighing their options. After taking a minute to think about it, the soldiers declare that Rain has a point, and it is in their best interest to follow Caesar's instruction. Caesar then asks Rain if he has any last words because he is about to die. Rain replies that he is going to give him one last chance to repent, but Caesar orders his soldiers to charge toward the young man. Realizing that the soldiers are not going to stop, Leah cuts off her skirt to make sure that she has enough mobility to deal with the threat. Leah goes after the soldiers and she slices one's throat before he can even move. Another tries to sneak up on her, but her acrobatic movements get her out of the danger before finishing off the dude. Suddenly, she notices that a soldier has reached Rain already, and he is about to push his spear into Rain's head. Without delay, she throws her dagger at the soldier, ultimately taking him out, while Rain just stands there, aura farming. Rain then looks up to tell Caesar that he is offering him one last chance, and he urges him not to be stubborn about it. Caesar refuses the offer and urges his soldiers to charge at Rain, promising to give whoever kills Rain 1,000 gold coins. This provides an extra motivation for the soldiers, who are looking to make a quick profit. They try to take Leah out, but she is far above their league. She easily takes on a bunch of them and defeats them while she remains in the same position. Caesar realizes that the soldiers are having a tough time, and he calls on the wizards to attack Rain and Leah. The wizards heed his call, and they hurl ice arrows at Leah, but she kicks them away. However, this turns out to be a problem because the ice effect ends up freezing her legs. The moment Caesar realizes that Leah is immobilized, he orders his men to go after Rain. Before they can reach Leah, Rain tells her to find a way to leap into the air at that instant. He throws her a hammer to help with this, and she swings into action. Rain has already armed himself with an electrical battery, and he is waiting to see just how powerful it is. He removes the lid and drops the cable on the ground. The electric current from the cable runs into their body, shocking them and causing them immense pain. Rain, on the other hand, is unaffected because he is wearing an insulated shoes. The soldiers, who are standing behind, are ultimately confused as they have no idea what is going on. They believe that Rain is taking them down with thunder magic. On the other hand, Rain only wishes that there were a video recorder to help document the moment so he can show his workers the dangers that come with reckless handling of electricity. Caesar is pissed that the soldiers are standing back and he berates them. However, one of the soldiers tells him that Rain must have used some sort of forbidden magic because everyone who gets close to his position is dying. Caesar angrily cuts down the dude's head, saying anyone who doesn't follow his order deserves to die. Caesar then orders the soldiers to go after Rain because he is just one person and he has no chance against all of them. Moments later, some of the soldiers remain standing and Leah asks Rain why they are still standing. Rain tells her that the battery must have run out of power because he only brought one battery with him to test it out. Leah then suggests that she take the dude away from the scene, but Rain refuses, saying they can't allow Caesar to get away. The moment Caesar notices that people are no longer falling, he orders his soldiers to charge in and capture Rain. Suddenly, a lightning bolt hits the ground, and with it emerges Selena, who is visibly enraged. She tells Caesar that he is one bold dude, and Caesar already knows what this means for him. Arriving with Selena are a bunch of other wizards too. Selena asks Rain if she came right on time, and he says yes because the power on the battery just ran out. Selena is curious to know what the effect of the electricity was, and Rain tells her that he is going to explain everything once they have arrested Caesar and his men. Selena acknowledges the order, and she tells her counterparts to take down the rebels. Without hesitation, the wizards strike the soldiers with lightning, leaving most of them to beg for their lives. Caesar refuses to give up because he is hell-bent on killing Rain. He dashes toward Rain with the aim of cutting him down, but Leah blocks his attack with her dagger. Caesar was not expecting Leah to get to him fast enough. Before he can react, Leah sends him flying with a kick to the mouth. Caesar crashes into a wall, and Leah looks down on him, calling him a scumbag. Momentarily, Caesar wakes up to find himself tied to a pole, while Rain and Leah are in front of him. Rain has gotten his hands on several documents that incriminate them. Rain can see that Caesar and the border guard have been stealing money for several years. He asks him when he started working with Eldrick. Caesar is shocked by this, and he asks Rain just how he knows this. Rain tells Caesar that he doesn't need to act surprised because he already knows that Eldrick was going to betray them. However, he has been waiting for a chance to take him down at once, and Caesar has just led him to the opportunity. Caesar smiles, saying Rain can't possibly think he can do anything to Eldrick because of the little bit of corruption evidence that he has. Rain lets Caesar know that he is getting the wrong idea because he already knows that the papers are a little threat to Eldrick. Rain says he only had to know the annual business tax figures of the city through the accounts because it is going to help in transforming the city in the future. Caesar laughs out loud when Rain says this, and he tells him that he is a dreamer. Caesar lets him know that Eldrick controls basically everyone in the city, and there is no way they are going to listen to him. Rain then walks up to Caesar, telling him that living people are the ones who can be called nobles, but dead people are basically corpses. Fear grips Caesar when he hears this, and he asks Rain if he is trying to create a bloodbath of nobles in the city. Rain tells Caesar that the nobles in the city have just two choices. They either follow the same path that Caesar followed and end up dying, or they should obediently listen to him and end up enjoying the benefits of it in the future. Rain looks into Caesar's eyes, asking him which one he thinks the nobles would choose. Later on, Rain figures out that he has to fix the city walls as quickly as possible because Duke Soren will definitely send troops again. Rain then returns to the map to check out the possible solutions to his problem. To the west, there is the territory of the elves, and as long as the negotiations are successful, he doesn't need to worry about war coming from them. On the other hand, he has no reason to fear his sister's territory to the east. This leaves him with Soren in the north, which is the only location he has to worry about. Leah then shows up to tell him that they have sorted out the money extorted by the border guards, and it sums up to about 350,000 gold. Rain then tells Leah that they need to sort out the security in the area. He tells her to have the guards take care of the poorest security, and they should all be given 100 gold coins each. The rest of the gold should then be put in the carriage to be taken to the city. After this, Rain thanks Selena for her timely arrival with the Mage Association. Selena smiles, saying it is nothing to her. However, she wants to know the principle of the battery discharge in detail. She wants to know why someone with no magic power is able to use it. Rain then tells her that he will explain everything to her on their way back. The two are about to leave when Malcolm comes rushing over with seemingly bad news. With fear written all over his face, he tells Rain to run because Eldrick has rebelled and taken over the city. Selena is shocked to hear this, but Rain, on the other hand, isn't. He realizes that Eldrick has finally made his move because he can't take it anymore. Selena asks Rain what their next move should be because she already brought out all of the magicians from the guild to suppress the border guard. Basically, there is no one in the city who can act as an internal agent for them. Rain tells Selena that there is no need for them to panic because the moment Eldrick rebelled, he had already lost the plot. Soon afterward, Rain returns to the city accompanied by the mages and troops. Eldrick stands at the city gate to ask Rain what he has come to do in the city. Rain then asks Eldrick why he betrayed his father, and Eldrick replies that he was pissed because the Duke left him in such a trash place. Eldrick mentions that he and the Duke were the ones who joined hands to establish the Empire. He claims that Ryan's father refused to give him what he was worth after the Duke became established. Instead of being placed on a silver platter, he was thrown in a trash place like Iceling. Eldrick says he has written to the Grand Duke several times, hoping he would transfer him to a better place, but the letters were all rejected. Eldrick angrily points his finger at Rain, telling him to blame his father if he is going to blame anyone. Just then, a bunch of nobles step forward, and Eldrick tells Rain that the group all helped the Duke to establish his vast land, but they all got the same treatment as him. Eldrick lets Rain know that they are not rebelling, but taking back what they deserve. Rain is disappointed after hearing Eldrick's reason because he was expecting something tangible, but Eldrick just gave him some boring excuses. Rain then tells Eldrick that he will be giving him one chance to leave the city and surrender if he is interested in surviving. Rain tells Eldrick not to blame him for being cruel if he ends up breaking into the city in just 3 days. Eldrick and the nobles start laughing like maniacs, saying Rain has no chance of breaking into the city in 3 days. They tell Rain that he is just a dude with all talk and no action. Eldrick then asks Rain to make a bet with him if he is so confident in what he has said. Rain asks him what the bet is about, and Eldrick tells Rain to leave him to rule the city if he fails to break into the city within the said 3 days. Rain then asks what will happen if he breaks through, and Eldrick tells him that he would let him do whatever he wants. Eldrick excitedly asks Rain if he is up for the bet. Selena tells Rain that he has no reason to listen to Eldrick because they can fight them slowly. Leah also adds that she has reported the issue to the Grand Duke, and all they need to do is wait for the Grand Duke to send his large troops to destroy Eldrick and his annoying counterparts. Eldrick notices that Rain is silent, and he teases him, asking if he is scared. Eldrick calls Rain a coward because he was running his mouth some minutes ago, but he is already scared. The other nobles also urge Rain to accept the bet if he is not a freaking coward. Rain finally speaks up, telling the group that they are all eager to make fun of themselves, and he is willing to help them with it. Rain then tells them that he has accepted the bet and tells them that he hopes they keep their promise after 3 days. Eldrick assures him that they will, because everyone watching will bear witness to this. Just then, Eldrick tells Rain that the Orvis army has received news of his rebellion, and their army will probably arrive at the border in 10 days. After the standoff with Eldrick, Rain and his men set up a temporary base outside the city walls. Selena shows up to tell him that the city walls might look like they're gone, but it is difficult for them to break through with just their strength. One of the soldiers urges Rain to follow them so that they can escape to the south and wait for the Duke's army to arrive. Rain then tells his supporters that they have nothing to worry about because the city wall will be broken down in 3 days. The only thing he is worried about is the Orvis army heading their way. Rain then asks Leah if she has gathered enough firewood and hay balls. Leah assures him that everything he requested is ready, and they even found a lake nearby. Rain then tells Selena to order the magicians to use ice magic on the lake to lower the temperature of the water in the lake to about 0 degrees. This is confusing to Selena, and she asks if everything he is doing is enough to break through the walls of the city. Rain then tells her that she has nothing to worry about because the city wall can only last about 3 days. Later on, Rain's men charge toward the city with firewood only, shocking Eldrick, who thinks they must be going mad already. After throwing the firewood, the soldiers retreat immediately. Eldrick is confused, and he asks one of his men if they have ever encountered this when defending a city. The dude tells Eldrick that he also doesn't know what Rain is planning, and he assumes that he is trying to set the city on fire. Eldrick punches the dude in the face for being stupid because he has never heard of a situation where fire is set to stone before. The guy then tells Eldrick that he can't think of anything else, which is why he said this. Eldrick is still scolding the guy when another person tells him that the dude might be right because Rain's men just set the wall on fire. Eldrick laughs when he sees this because he can't believe Rain is so daft that he is setting the wall of stone on fire. Eldrick's men then ask him if he wants the mages to put out the fire or shoot the soldiers carrying firewood with arrows. Eldrick then tells the dude not to worry about this because they are saving the little number of mages that they borrowed from the Orvis Empire till the most critical stage. Eldrick believes that using their magical power at a time like this is a waste. Eldrick is confident that in 3 days he will have defeated Rain. In no time, the whole wall is on fire. After this, Eldrick continues into his quarters to enjoy a good time with his people. Not long after this, one of his men comes in to tell him that the situation hasn't changed, as it appears that all Rain's men are doing is setting fire to the walls. Eldrick mocks their plan, asking if they have burned all the firewood for winter. He calls on his friends to follow him so that they witness Rain's downfall. They are all excited because it is the last day of their ongoing bet. Eldrick's men are happy because they believe Rain has lost and Eldrick has won. They are mostly happy because the heat is becoming unbearable. When Rain rode up to the city gate, Eldrick asked him if he was ready to put out the fire and surrender, but Rain told him that he was there to give him and his friends one last chance. He tells them that this is the only chance that they are ever going to get before he kills them later. Eldrick laughs when he hears this, and he asks Rain if something is already wrong with his brain because there is no way they are surrendering. Eldrick asks him if he has forgotten about the bet that they made some days ago. Eldrick laughs, asking Rain if he is trying to go back on his words before his soldiers and loyalists. Since they have chosen the path to destruction, Rain tells them not to blame him for what he is about to do. Rain then orders Selena to do the needful, and Selena conjures a massive thunderbolt. Eldrick sees this and orders the mages to stay on alert. Selena hurls the lightning strike in their direction, and the mages quickly put up a barrier. However, when the strike doesn't do anything, they start laughing, saying Selena fired and missed. Suddenly it starts raining, leaving Eldrick and his men confused. At the same time, Rain tells his troops to march towards the wall. The men are all carrying jars that contain cold water in their hands. After the huge burst of energy that just left her body, Selena feels lightheaded, and Rain thanks her for the help. Rain is impressed that Selena actually has the power to cause weather changes, and he is confident that this will help in solving droughts in the future. Selena then asks Rain if his method is truly going to be effective, and Rain tells her that she has nothing to worry about because the moment the ice water hits the wall, it is coming down. The soldiers start pouring the water on the wall, and suddenly, it starts to make a creaking sound. Eldrick is confused as to why the wall is making such a sound. The other nobles are also concerned, and they start demanding to know what is going on. Eldrick doesn't believe what is happening right in front of him because the city walls appear to be collapsing. Before they know it, the wall comes crashing down, and Rain orders his men to charge in. However, he tells them not to strike down anyone who surrenders, although this doesn't apply to anyone who resists. The soldiers do as told, charging straight for the wall, leaving Selena shocked. She can't believe that the wall actually came crashing down, leaving her wondering just how Rain was able to do it. Rain then turns to Selena, telling her that it is time they return home. Eldrick finally realizes that he has made a huge mistake in underestimating Rain, and he thinks of running away. He believes that his only chance is to wait till the Orvis Empire shows up to save him. Before he can make his move, his noble friends surround him, telling him that they can't allow him to escape because they are not ready to die just yet. As Rain drove into the city, the people praised his ingenuity for breaking through the wall in just 3 days. The soldiers also praise him for making sure that there was no casualty, because all they suffered was a sprained ankle at best. Selena is more interested in how Rain did it, and she makes sure to keep asking him how he did it. Rain realizes that Selena won't stop disturbing his peace until he provides an explanation for her. Rain then explains to her that what she witnessed was based on the principle of thermal expansion and contraction, which is a subtopic in physics. This gets Selena even more curious, and Rain continues explaining that thermal expansion and contraction refer to the characteristics that an object expands when heated and shrinks when cooled. The principle is also based on the law that the motion state of particles such as atoms or molecules inside an object changes with temperature. When the temperature rises, the range of particle vibration increases, causing the object to expand. However, when the temperature drops, the range of particle vibration decreases, causing the object to shrink. Rain then assures Selena that she's going to hear the rest once they are done dealing with Eldrick. As they approach the gate, one of the nobles trapped in the rubble starts begging to be saved, and Rain is forced to ask if the dude is seriously asking him for help. The nobles start claiming that they were tricked by Eldrick to betray Rain. Rain then reminds them that he gave them 2 opportunities, but they didn't take advantage of them. In desperation, the nobles tell Rain that they are ready to hand over their properties, but Rain reminds them that once he kills them, their family and property are automatically his. The nobles try the reverse psychology on Rain, telling him that no one will serve him if he kills them, because they are going to count it as tyranny. Rain then tells them that they are wrong about this because no one is loyal to anybody but their interests. Rain mocks them, telling them that they have lived so long and they haven't figured this out. Without further argument, Rain orders his men to arrest the nobles while they wait for their punishment. On the other hand, Eldrick safely made it to his quarters, and he tells his masked master that Rain is coming because he managed to break through the wall. This shocks the dude, who is forced to ask just how Rain was able to do it. Eldrick explains that the city wall was set on fire for days, and after this, water was poured on it, and it instantly collapsed. The masked dude is pissed when he hears this, and he believes that Eldrick is saying trash because there has never been anywhere in history where such has happened. Eldrick tries to tell him that this is exactly what happened, but the dude doesn't care one bit. The masked dude believes that Rain made use of some unknown magic to carry out his plan. Eldrick then suggests that they postpone their argument till later and try to find a way to escape first, because once Rain makes his way to them, the chances of escaping have automatically reduced. Just as they are about to make their move, Rain enters the room asking them where exactly they think they can run to. Eldrick is shocked when he sees Rain in the room, and he starts asking him how he made it to the room so quickly. Rain tells him that he got to him fast enough because he abandoned the city wall and was trying to escape. Rain says the soldiers who are following him dropped their weapons when they saw him running away. Rain lets him know that there was no one to resist him, so it was easy for him to move along. Rain then turns to the masked dude, asking him if he is the person supporting Eldrick. Rain even mocks him, skiing him if he is wearing a mask because he is ugly or because he has scars. The masked dude then tells Rain that he won't be as proud the same way he currently is in the next couple of days because the Orvis Empire and its army are already on the way. He says Rain destroying the city wall has complicated his problem even further. The masked dude tries to make a move, but Rain orders Leah to stop him. Leah throws her knife directly at the dude, cutting his mask, leaving a cut below his eye. It turns out that the dude recognizes Leah, and this sends a chill feeling down his face. The dude then activates the scroll he had previously displayed, and he vanishes alongside Eldrick. Leah apologizes for not stopping them on time, but Rain tells her that she doesn't need to beat herself up about it because he was pretty sure that they were going to have a way out. However, he is worried because he doesn't know the identity of the dude working with Eldrick. Leah then tells Rain that she actually knows the dude. Leah explains that the dude's name is Raven Edwin, and he was once a subordinate of the Grand Duke. He later betrayed Rain's father and defected to Duke Soren's side. When Rain hears his name, he wonders if he is related to Adrian. Leah tells Rain that he is right because Raven was initially the leader of the Edwin family. However, he didn't agree with the Duke's ideas, and he voluntarily left to join the enemy side. Not long after this, Selena enters the room, asking Rain what they are going to do about the invading Orvis army. Selena says even if all the mages in the city try to repair the wall, it still will not be enough. Rain then tells Selena that she doesn't have to worry about this because he always finds a way to solve the problem. After they have settled in, Rain decides to address the people, but Selena wonders what it is that Rain is going to tell them to prevent them from falling into panic. Rain then picks up the megaphone to get everyone's attention to inform them that the Orvis Empire army is marching towards them. He lets them know that the army will be in the city in a couple of days. The moment the people hear this, fear slips into the very fabric of their sin, and Selena thinks Rain has gone mad because he just complicated the matter. The people start to panic and question why the army is coming again when they were already attacked recently. Some believe that gathering their valuables and running away is the way forward. On the other hand, some don't want to leave because the city has been prosperous under Rain. Selena even scolds Rain, telling him that he is not supposed to tell the people about the invading army. Rain asks her why he shouldn't have told them, and Selena replies that people instinctively think of the army to protect them in situations like this. Selena says the citizens haven't received military training, so it is hard for them to remain calm in the face of danger. Rain then tells Selena what she doesn't understand about the whole situation. He lets her know that the only person who is expected to remain calm is the commander. The soldiers, on the other hand, are the least expected people to calm down. Selena is confused by what Rain is saying, and Rain whips out the challenge letter sent to him by the Empire so that the entire city can see it. Rain reads out the letter, claiming that the citizens are fools who can't defend their homes. Rain adds that the Empire has already deemed them to be cowards who will abandon their leader to escape. The moment the people hear this, they become mad because they have been suffering nonstop at the hands of the Empire. Rain then continues by saying the Empire has made a mistake by calling them cowards and fools. The people roar back in support, telling Rain that they are going to fight back. Rain is impressed by their resolve, and he assures them that he is going to lead them to drive out the Orvis Empire. Later that night, Leah shows up in Rain's chambers, urging him to have a cup of tea and rest. Rain tells Leah that there is no room to rest because they need to find a solution before the enemy army arrives on their doorstep. Failure to do this basically means the entire city will be captured by the Orvis Empire. Leah then asks him about the speech he gave in the afternoon, and Rain tells her not to worry about it because it was nothing but a lie. Rain says he said this to help stabilize the people. Leah still doesn't think this is enough, and she urges Rain to follow her out of the city so he won't be in danger. Rain informs Leah that she has nothing to worry about because he already asked Malcolm and Selena to evacuate the children, elderly, and women out of the city in an orderly manner. Rain takes an interest in a particular book about dark green divine oil, and he asks Leah about it. Leah doesn't particularly have an idea, but she heard that it is something that burns. She says it is a material that is used in witches' rituals. The color of petroleum, on the other hand, is rich, ranging from deep red, golden, dark green, black, brown, and transparent. The color of petroleum is basically determined by the content of gum and asphaltene that it contains. The higher the content, the darker the color. Curious about what it can be, Rain demands that Leah take him to the oil as quickly as possible because there is a report that it is stored in the warehouse. They rush into the warehouse, and Rain orders the soldiers to find the dark green divine oil. However, he warns them not to use an open flame around it. Rain looks around the warehouse and realizes that there is money everywhere. This is the money that Eldrick has embezzled over the years, and Ryan cannot wait to resolve the crisis so that the money can be used for the betterment of the people. After some minutes of searching, the soldiers found the oil and Rain dashed over to check it out. He opens the barrel and with a smile on his face, he realizes that the city finally has a chance. At the Orvis military camp, Eldrick and Raven return to tell the Duke, Castile, that they failed at their mission. Castile tells the two that he was expecting them to fail, but he didn't know that they would be this bad. Castile cannot believe that they were not able to maintain the city for more than 3 days. Eldrick speaks up, saying Ran used a forbidden method to break down the walls of the city, which is what led to their failure. Castile becomes curious at the mention of a forbidden method, and Castile assumes that Aldarian sent a mage to protect his youngest son. Raven smiles, telling Castile that he has nothing to worry about because the forbidden spell cannot be used continuously. In addition to this, the walls of the city have been destroyed by rain. Raven says there is no possible way that the walls can be repaired in a short period of time. Castile then tells Raven that he doesn't need to remind him of what to do because he is not an incompetent person. Castile then tells him that he has no more tasks for him, so he is free to return to the Orvis Empire and wait for the next set of developments. Raven is disappointed when he hears this, and he reminds Castile that they both planned everything together. Raven wants to know what Castile means about sending him back to the Empire, and Castile makes it clear that he has been kicked out. Castile then throws a scroll to him, and when he opens it, he realizes that it is his arrest warrant. Before he can make a move, Castile orders his men to grab him. After Raven has been taken away, Castile turns to Eldrick, asking him what his fate should be. Eldrick falls to his knees, begging to be spared. He says he knows a secret, and with this, he can move the Orvis Empire further. The mention of this certain secret piques Castile's interest, and he can't wait to hear what it is. At the Thurland City Main Hall, Rain's elder sister, Priscilla, receives a letter from Rain, but it was written by Leah. Priscilla is smiling about his brother sending her a letter until she opens the letter to see the contents. She becomes ultimately furious, and she tells her maid Gwen to call Velas, Caesar's brother, at that instant. Velas soon shows up in the room, and Priscilla wastes no time accusing him of trying to stage a rebellion. However, Velas argues that this is a lie because he can never do such. Priscilla angrily throws the letter at him, telling him to confirm the details by himself. In the letter, Leah had written to Priscilla about Velas because his brother is a freaking rebel. After he is done reading the letter, Priscilla asks her if he has anything to say in his own defense. With fear, Velas tells Priscilla that what Caesar did has nothing to do with the Holker family because he was acting alone. He mentions that he even wrote a letter to him, telling Caesar to make sure that he listens to Rain's instructions. After hearing what Velas has to say, Priscilla realizes that his reactions and his words don't appear to be fake. Velas urges the lady to give his family a chance to prove their loyalty to her. Priscilla asks him what type of opportunity he is asking for, and he mentions that he is going to ask his daughter, Rosalind, to lead the army to help Rain against Castile's army. Priscilla is surprised to hear this, since Rosalind just became an adult. She mentions that if anything happens to Rosalind, the Holker family will be left with no heirs. Velas then tells Priscilla that the Holker family is willing to sacrifice everything as long as it means pleasing Priscilla. Velas says his family would have been wiped out a long time ago, but it is all thanks to Priscilla that they are still standing. He urges the lady to give him a chance to prove his loyalty. Priscilla then tells Gwen to send someone to keep an eye on Rosalind, because if she does anything out of order, she is going to be killed on the spot. Soon afterward, Castile and his army arrive at the outskirts of Iceling City, and they are accompanied by Eldrick. He shows him a vulnerable part of the city, telling him that it will be easy for him to break through using the path. However, the wall has been rebuilt, and Eldrick figures out that Rain used magic in fixing it. In addition to this, it appears that Rain is building a moat. Castile laughs when he sees this, and he concludes that Rain is the biggest idiot to have lived. Castile cannot believe that the mage's precious magic power was wasted in an attempt to repair the city wall. Eldrick, on the other hand, is worried that they have repaired the wall, and he asks Castile why he is happy. Castile then explains that a wall is only useful if the terrain is easy to defend but difficult to attack. Castile points out that there is a plain close to them, with only a river in the middle, but this can't stop the army from attacking. Castile says Rain might have had a chance to stop them, with the help of the mages. But since he has wasted their precious power on repairing the wall, Castile doesn't see a way out for him. Eldrick is blown away when he hears this, and he starts praising Castile, saying he is the wisest man ever. One of the soldiers tells Castile that they don't need to storm the fortress to capture the city. He suggests that they send troops to surround it, giving them the opportunity to isolate it. Castile turns to the dude, and with a disgusting face, he asks him if he thinks he can't conquer the fortress. The dude quickly falls to his knees, saying Castile has misunderstood him. He tells the man that he is only trying to proffer a solution that will reduce the number of casualties since they are engaging in a siege. Castile then tells the dude that it is normal to die in war. In addition, most of the soldiers that they brought are newbies, so it would be a good opportunity to use the city to test out their skills. Castile then urges his men to follow him so that they can show Rain what he is up against, with the idea that he might just give up. Meanwhile, Rain is in his chambers staring at the quest given to him by the system about nurturing 5 characters with high attributes. Rain cannot believe that the task has been there for over half a month, and he hasn't gotten a solution. Leah then enters the room to tell him that Castile and his magician want to see him outside the city. Rain gets up to meet Castile, and Castile tells him that he is giving him a chance to surrender. While the dude is busy laying out his demands, Rain simply turns to one of his men, asking if the fool standing in front of him is the Grand Duke of Orvis. The soldiers laugh their lungs out when they hear this, and Leah confirms that Castile is the Duke. Castile is pissed when he hears this and cannot believe that he has just been disrespected. Castile says even Rain's father still awards him some respect whenever they see each other. Rain ignores his shenanigans, and he asks him exactly what it is that he wants. Castile screams out, telling Rain that he has come to give him a chance to surrender or else he is going to bathe the city in blood. Just then, Rain tells Castile that he is also giving him a chance. He urges him to return home if he is not ready to die just yet. Castile makes fun of Rain, telling him that he literally has about 100,000 soldiers ready to march down on his city, and he urges him to surrender at once if he doesn't want to die. Realizing that Castile won't stop running his mouth, Rain tells Leah to teach him a lesson, and Leah obliged. Leah throws a dagger at Castile, and his mage frantically tries to block it, but the knife passes through the barrier to cut the dude on his cheek, slightly missing his eye. Rain lets him know that the knife throw is just a warning, and Leah will definitely not miss the second time. Castile feels totally embarrassed, and he angrily returns to his camp. At the same time, Rain tells Selena to prepare for an immediate attack. Castile returns to his camp and orders his general to organize the soldiers for an immediate assault on the city. He can't believe that he was embarrassed by Rain, and he plans to teach him a lesson. Castile's man reminds him that they have been on the move for the past 3 days without rest. He suggests that they wait till the next day after the soldiers are fully rested. However, this only makes Castile mad, and he tells the dude that there is no way that they are tired after 3 days of walking. The dude urges Castile to calm down because they still have to build bridges even if they are not tired. The soldiers are in agreement with their rep, but Castile remains stubborn, saying speed is the most essential thing in battle. He then sends out his orders to let his men know that they are attacking the city immediately. At the barracks, the soldiers are resting and having a good time, believing that they are going to have a good meal that evening. Their hope is crushed when the commander shows up to tell them to all assemble for an attack on the city. This shocks them, and they try to tell their boss that they have been running for the past couple of days without rest. They believe that they are supposed to get a full meal before battle, but the commander urges them to stop complaining because it is their duty as soldiers to take orders. Moments later, the soldiers start dashing toward the city wall, and Rain's commander asks him when they are supposed to shoot down the invading army. Rain then asks his soldiers if any of them have fought against the Empire before, and one of them says yes. Rain asks him why their troops appeared to be tired and starving. The dude then mentions that in his experience, the soldiers that they are looking at appear to be new recruits. In addition, it appears that they are hungry, and this shocks Rain. He is surprised that Castile is not feeding his men. The dude then tells Rain that Castile probably used the newbies as cannon fodder. They are basically there to die just to weaken the city's defenses. Rain is pissed when he hears this, forcing him to ask why Castile would carry out such an act. The soldier lets Rain know that there are only a handful of nobles who like their people the way Rain and his father do. Rain is enraged that Castile is a dirtbag, and he decides not to hold back. Rain's men tell him that they have enough arrows to kill the recruits, and he asks him when he plans to make his move. But Rain shocks him when he tells him not to make a move. As the soldiers approach, Rain tells Selena to make all the wizards use cold wind. Selena does as told, and Castile smiles, believing that Rain is nothing but an idiot. His commander asks him why he said this, and he mentions that he intentionally sent out new recruits to make him use up his arrows, but he wasted his magician's power instead. Castile tells his commander that the moment Rain is done wasting his mage's strength and power, he is going to send in the magicians and cavalry to attack the city. Castile's men laughs, saying he is a really smart man because the city is going to be so easy to capture. Castile is already imagining himself capturing Rain as his prisoner. When the recruits look up in the air to see the magic effect, they start running in fear. However, when the effects of what Selena wore off, the commander scolds the soldiers, and he tells them to pick up their weapons again to charge again. Selena turns to Rain, asking him if the basic level cold wind magic that she just used is enough to repel the enemy. Selena believes that some lightning magic would do the job better. Rain then tells Selena that she doesn't have to worry about this because, since ancient times, people have always lost their fighting spirit because of two things, which are hunger and cold. Rain says the soldiers of the Empire are tired and can't even attack the city. The soldiers start to shiver on the battlefield, and they beg to go home because they cannot fight anymore. The captain screams at them, calling them all sorts of trash names. He urges them to pick up their weapons and attack, but the soldiers tell him that the weather is too cold and their hands are freezing. They can't lift their weapons, and they are starving at the same time. The soldiers suggest that they retreat, and the captain sends word to Castile about their current situation. However, he tells the soldiers to continue attacking no matter what. The messenger runs over to Castile to tell him the current situation of things. Deep down, the soldier is pissed about the fact that they are starving and freezing, but Castile is inside, enjoying himself. The soldier then tells Castile that the front lines are looking grim because Rain used cold wind magic to hinder their charge. He mentions that the soldiers are starving and are cold as well. This makes it difficult for them to hold their weapons. He urges Castile to order a temporary withdrawal of the troops. Castile screams at the dude, telling him that he and the others are a bunch of cowards who are not worthy of being a noble soldier of the Orvis Empire. The dude tries telling Castile that they are not cowards, but they have no strength because they are starving. Castile then orders that the dude be killed for talking back to him. Castile then declares that he is going to lead the attack himself. His general tries telling him that he doesn't need to risk his life, since they are there to sacrifice theirs. Castile tells the man that he is not questioning their loyalty, but he wants them to know how much of a genius he is. Castile then gets on his horse to personally lead the charge. He orders his mages to construct a bridge on the river so that they can pass through without interruption. Once the bridge is complete, Castile orders his men to charge in, and he promises to reward anyone who captures Rain alive. As they run toward the wall, Rain's men inform him of the charging soldiers. Rain then tells Leah to order the men to dump what they planned in the moat. In addition, all passages on both sides of the moat should be blocked. Leah acknowledges the order, and the soldiers start dumping the oil through the prepared pipe. Unknown to the charging soldiers, oil is pouring into the river that they are trying to cross. Meanwhile, Rosalind is on her way to the city because she knows that the fate of the Holker family lies in her. After 3 days of straight marching, one of her men suggests that they take a break because the horses will tire out. Rosalind then asks him how long it is going to take them to get to Iceland at their current speed. The dude replies that they should be able to get to the city in just 1 day. Rosalind then tells her mage to project the map in front of her so she can see an alternative route. Rosalind figures out that Orvis must have broken through and forced Rain to stay locked up in the city. Just then, she stops her horse and screams out, telling the mage Nox, who is tailing her, to come outside so that they can discuss countermeasures. The soldiers are shocked when a dude appears out of nowhere, and the captain orders his men to protect Rosalind. However, Rosalind stops her men from doing anything. Nox then tells Rosalind to say whatever it is that she wants to say. Rosalind then points to a spot on the map where she plans to send her troops to cut off the Empire's army and take advantage of the situation to capture all the Orvis Empire's troops. Rosalind lets Nox know that he was sent by Priscilla to spy on her, but she needs his help with this. Nox then tells Rosalind that the mission he received is to make sure that Rosalind dies in case she does anything bad, and there is no instance where he is told to help her. Rosalind says she is aware of this, but reminds Nox that none of them wants anything bad to happen to Rain. Nox then asks her what he wants her to do. Rosalind explains that she is going to lead the army to bypass the city of Iceland and attack the rear of the Orvis Empire's army. Rosalind wants Nox to block the upper reaches of the moat of the border fortress and wait for her magician to send a signal. Once they give the signal, Nox is to let go of the water upstream so they can drown the Empire's army. At Varshala, the home of the elves, the Elven Queen gets the proposal letter from Rain. Her counterparts believe that humans are hard to work with because they are cunning. But the Queen reminds them that they actually don't have the power to feed their entire population themselves. The Elven Queen then asks Ayuria to speak her mind because she is the only one who has been to the city, and she knows what's happening there. Ayuria then tells her queen that Rain is a very smart man who is able to provide enough food to last them for the whole year. In addition to this, he saved them a lot of money too. One of the generals is surprised that there is such an interesting man among humans. Another elf refutes the idea that Rain is a smart man because scouts reported that the city is at war again. The elf then tells Ayuria that the only way they are going to accept the proposal is to see if Rain survives the war or not. Ayuria wants to protest against this, But the Elven Queen explains to her that it is all the same because they need Rain to be alive to honor whatever deal he is bringing to the table. Because of this, the Elven Queen decides that she is going to go to the battlefield to see for herself. At the city wall, Rain orders his men to release the arrows to make sure that the enemy doesn't reach them. Rain tells Selena that they need to make sure that Castile leads the troops in person. Rain says they can only use the trick once, and they can't afford to let Castile escape. Just then, some of the soldiers climb up the wall, and Castile starts celebrating that they have taken the wall. Castile orders his men to chase down Rain and capture him. The moment Rain notices that Castile has used the bridge, he orders Selena to carry out what they have been planning so far. The soldiers close to Rain immediately surround him to make sure that the enemy soldiers don't reach him. Rain shouts to Selena, telling her to shoot a fireball into the moat as quickly as possible. Selena acknowledges the order, and she fires a fireball shot directly toward Castile. Castile assumes that the shot is for him, and he orders that the mages put up a barrier to block the incoming fireball. Castile believes that this is a desperate move from Rain and his men, and he urges his men to withstand the attack. The mages put up a large barrier, and one of Castile's men tells him that the enemy might have a plan, which is why he is forcing them to waste their mage's magic power. Castile laughs, saying there is no backup plan that a dumb person like Rain can have. Castile believes that Rain has exhausted his mages when he used the cold wind, and the fireballs are the last bit of magic that his mages can conjure. Castile says they will come out victorious once they are able to block the fireballs successfully. Unknown to him, the fireballs are dropping into the moat already. Castile makes fun of them, saying that they missed their target, and the most basic fireball spell missed the target. The soldiers start celebrating, calling Castile the greatest military genius of all time. Castile takes pride in what he has done so far, and he calls himself one of the two pillars of the empire. Castile has not finished saying this when the moat erupts in fire, shocking Castile and his men. Castile is left wondering how Rain could have pulled off something like this. Castile is left stunned because he has never seen this type of forbidden magic before. The soldiers start to panic from the intense fire erupting from the moat. Castile realizes that he is in big trouble because he has already sent out all of his troops, and with the soldiers surrounded by fire, they are surely going to be burned to ashes. At this point, Castile has no choice but to admit that Rain is an evil genius. In fact, he sees Rain as the devil himself because he is planning to burn 100,000 people to death. While the soldiers are burning in the fire, Castile's commander urges him to give the order to retreat, and for the first time, he listens. He tells his magicians to put out the fire so that they can escape. However, things go south when the magicians mention that they no longer have any magical power. The mages mention that the last bit of magic they had was used to create the magic barrier. Castile almost passes out when he hears this because they are surely done for. Selena, on the other hand, cannot help but wonder at the level of ingenuity that Rain has to have pulled this off without any magic power. While the soldiers are screaming for help, Rain walks away, telling Selena that he leaves the rest of the battle to her. Selena then orders her mages to repel the enemy soldiers. One of Castile's men manages to get him through the fire, but when they return to camp, there is no single soldier on guard, leaving them perplexed. Suddenly, a large sword appears from above and almost impales Castile. Castile falls to his butt, demanding to know the girl who just appeared in front of him out of nowhere. Rosalind ignores him and reveals that she has been looking for him for a long time. Castile crawls back, asking what Rosalind wants from him. Rosalind then asks where his main force is stationed and if Rain is safe. Rosalind brings out a whip to beat the living daylight out of Castile, and he quickly speaks up, telling Rosalind that his main force was burned to death by Rain's forbidden magic. Castile tries to tell Rosalind that he is a Grand Duke and he can't just slap him on the face. Rosalind screams at him, believing that he is lying to him about what he just said. Rosalind then orders her men to grab Castile and beat him so much until he confesses the truth. After several hours of beating Castile, her men come back to tell her that Castile is still insisting that his army was burned to death at the border fortress of the city. Rosalind is frustrated, and she tells her men to keep beating Castile until he tells the truth. She then orders the soldiers to rest and prepare to launch a full-on assault the next day so that they can help Rain out. Rosalind starts thinking of different formations in her head that she can use in getting to the city and luring out the enemy. Suddenly, they notice that someone is in the area, and Rosalind orders her men to stay on alert. She tells whoever it is to step outside because they have no chance whatsoever. Rosalind is shocked when Iria and a bunch of other elves appear in the distance. Rosalind starts to wonder if the elves are colluding with the Orvis Empire. She lets out her mind and accuses the elves of this. But the elves retort, saying Rain was the one who asked to see their queen. Rosalind, as usual, refuses to believe this, and she maintains her stand that the elves are accomplices of the Orvis Empire. The elves are pissed because Rosalind is basically insulting them, who are noble elves. The elves prepare to attack, and Rosalind and her men prepare to defend. Things are about to escalate when the Elven Queen steps up to tell Rosalind that Rain was the one who asked for them. She then mentions that there is no need for them to fight if she is Rain's ally. However, if she is Rain's enemy, she lets Rosalind know that they are going to turn back, and they return after they are finished fighting. Rosalind then demands evidence to support their claim, and Ayuria produces the handwritten letter that Rain sent to them. Rosalind is surprised when she sees the seal on the letter because it is a family emblem that cannot be imitated by anyone. Rosalind then decides to trust the elves, but she lets them know that this is only until she meets Rain. She lets them know that there will be someone monitoring their every move while they meet Rain. The Elven Queen smiles, saying she has no issue with this. Rosalind then tells her men to continue whatever they are doing because their original plan remains unchanged. Rosalind tells her captain to keep an eye on the elves to make sure that there is no problem anywhere. One of the elven ladies demands to know why her queen is still trying to make a deal with Rain, even though the humans don't trust them. The queen simply replies that they won't be called humans if they had trusted them on a whim. However, the queen hopes that Rain doesn't disappoint her because the future of the elves depends on his deal. The next day, as Rosalind and her army march toward Iceland, the scouts return to inform her that the banner on Iceland remains the same, and there has been no change at all. Rosalind is surprised to hear this, and she starts believing that Castile might have told the truth. However, she doesn't want to wait around any longer, as she is eager to see the truth for herself. As they approach the border, Rosalind tells her men to wave the flag so that Rain's men will know that reinforcements have arrived. She tells her men that they are not stopping for anything because their aim is to rush into the city. Meanwhile, Rain is assessing the damage of the wall, and he is disappointed that he had to kill such good men because they would have been useful for a workforce. Leah is surprised and impressed that Rain is actually feeling sad about the death of the enemy. Leah then walks up to him to tell him that he doesn't have to feel bad for the invaders because they actually deserve it. Rain is about to explain why he is sad when a soldier shows up to tell him that a cavalry has just appeared in the direction of the Orvis Empire. However, the flag they are waving is Priscillia's flag, and this shocks Rain. Later on, Rain meets with the Elven Queen to explain what will become of the future of the city. He tells the Queen that as long as she is ready to invest at the moment, she will be known as one of the founders of the legendary city. The Queen tells Rain that his plan indeed sounds interesting, but she and her people have always been one with nature, and even without the things he pointed out, they are still going to live well. Rain tries further to convince her, but she maintains her stance, saying most human needs are nothing in the eyes of the elves. The Queen tells Rain that there have been several empires that have come to ruin thanks to their desires. Rain agrees with her, but lets her know that desire is also the push that motivates the world to progress. Rain cites examples of human desires like wanting to fly, which is why they ended up inventing airplanes. They wanted to dive underwater, and they invented submarines for it. Because of their desire to explore the universe, they invented spacecraft. Rain assures the Queen that one day she is going to stand on a tall building and look down on everything below, which will give her a satisfaction she has never felt before. While explaining these, the Queen is totally confused, since she hasn't heard of airplanes or submarines before. The Queen then tells Rain that he is the most confident human she has ever met, but at the same time, she lets him know that her elves are different from humans. The Queen says elves have not been enslaved by desire for thousands of years, and wonders if they can change this with the commercial districts that he mentioned. Rain assures her that this is possible as long as she is willing to invest in it. She is going to see a different future. The moment Rain mentions the possibility of a great future, it catches her attention, and she wonders if she will be able to avoid the catastrophic future that she saw in a vision. The Queen lets Rain know that he speaks well and fluently, but at the same time, his reasons alone are not enough. In addition to this, she says she needs some time to discuss with her tribesmen. Rain assures the Queen that it is fine for her to take her time, but he lets her know that he will be looking forward to her investment anytime. Rain then presents the Queen with a VIP ticket to the completion ceremony of the Aisling City Dam. He urges her to come so she can witness the first step in the industry of the city. When Rosalind hears that Rain is fine, she is shocked because the Orvis Empire brought about 100,000 men to the battle. She starts believing the words that she heard from the Grand Duke himself. Even though she is interested in all of these, she doesn't want to care much about them. She wants to rush to Rain's side as soon as she can. Moments later, she arrives in the city, and she is taken to Rain. Rosalind bows to Rain, telling him that she was the one sent by his sister. She apologizes for not arriving when he needed her. Rain is surprised that his elder sister actually sent someone to him. He then asks her why she was coming in the direction of the Orvis Empire. Rosalind explains that she believes Rain would have abandoned the border fortress, which is why she made the decision to take a detour in an attempt to block the invading army's retreat. Rain expresses his shock that Rosalind was able to get to him in just 3 days from a location that is hundreds of kilometers away. Rain asks her how she did it when there was no railroad yet. Rosalind is confused by the question since she has no idea what a railroad is. Rain tells her to forget about it, and he commends her for a job well done. Rosalind assures him that it is nothing too difficult because her Holker family is already used to it. In addition, her uncle caused Rain some trouble. Rain is further hit with another surprise when he learns that Rosalind is Caesar's uncle. Rosalind then begs Rain to give their family another chance. She even tells Rain that he is free to punish her in whatever way he deems possible, and she is not going to complain. Rain refuses to say anything after this, and he leaves the room. One day later, Rosalind is still stuck in the room and she is feeling depressed already. She believes that her family is done for already, thanks to Caesar's mistake. Not long after this, Rain shows up, apologizing for keeping her waiting. Rain notices that she is tense, and he urges her to calm down because he is only there to discuss something with her. Rosalind is thinking of what it might be when Rain hits her with a question of whether she is willing to be one of his people, leaving her totally red-faced. It turns out that Rain has checked out her stats and realizes that her loyalty is a solid 100%. She also has a special attribute in sword mastery, and her traits include bravery. Rain tells Rosalind that she is a very talented person, and Rosalind thanks him for the compliment. With this, he asks her again if she is ready to become his. Rosalind bows her head, saying if Rain is looking to use her as compensation for his dissatisfaction, then she is willing to give everything. This is when it dawns on Rain that Rosalind has taken the conversation into another dimension. He tries telling her that she has misunderstood his intentions. Rosalind still doesn't get it, and she kneels in front of Rain, telling him that she is ready to give up her dream to become a knight if it means compensating with her body for the harm her family has caused him. Rain then repeats himself, telling the lady that all he wants from her is for her to be his subordinate and nothing more. Rosalind is confused, and he asks Rain what he means by this. Rain explains to her that he is asking if she would like to join his ranks. He assures her that he is not going to hold her or her family accountable for the crimes committed by Caesar. Realizing that Rosalind is still not getting it, Rain then makes it formal, asking Rosalind if she is willing to serve him as a knight. Rosalind's heart melts in joy when she hears this because she believes that Rain was trying to make her his plaything. Her dream has always been to be a knight, and she quickly accepts the honor. After their meeting, Rain writes a letter to her elder sister to inform her that the crisis has been averted. He also adds that Rosalind is an outstanding knight. He tells Leah to send the letter to his sister and should attach an invitation to the dam completion ceremony to it too. Leah acknowledges the order, and Rain goes back to his usual trouble of how he can find talents real quick. He has already found one, and that is Rosalind. Leah then asks Rain what they are supposed to do with Castile, who was captured by Rosalind. It turns out that Rain has completely forgotten about the dude, and Leah tells him that Castile is being held in the city's dungeon. Rain decides to pay a visit to the Grand Duke inside his cell. Castile angrily calls Rain a despicable boy, and he tells him that he is finished. However, Rain reminds him that he is the one currently in a cell. Castile angrily speaks out, saying that forbidden spell magicians of all countries are not allowed to participate in any wars of ordinary people. Castile claims that Rain broke the rule the day before. Castile lets Rain know that all the forbidden spell magicians on the continent will be coming for his head because of this. Rain then asks Castile if he is talking about Selena, but Castile replies that Selena is just a high-level magician. Castile says he is talking about the forbidden spell magician who wreaked havoc on the battlefield. This is when it dawns on Rain that Castile is talking about the explosion caused by the barrels of oil. Rain lets him know that he has misunderstood the situation because he can create the said explosions repeatedly. Castile argues with him, saying only a forbidden spell mage has enough power to carry out such an act. He says the kind of power that is strong enough to destroy the world is not something that someone like Castile possesses. Rain is tired of arguing, and he tells the man that he is free to call it whatever power he wants, but it is already in the past. Rain then tells Castile that the only reason he came to see him in the cell is to ask him who his mastermind is, or what exactly he is planning. Castile angrily replies that he has no ulterior motive because warriors of the Orvis Empire have no reason to conquer the cowards, who call themselves the Caradorial Empire. Rain laughs when he hears this. He mentions that he reviewed the records of Iceling City, and he realized that every spring he was always crossing the border to cause a war, seizing towns and territories. However, they have never occupied it or even left a garrison in the seized territory. In the fall, Castile's men are always withdrawing their troops immediately as if they had a reason to leave. Rain tells Castile that his actions speak against his claims and he believes that they have other purposes for their so-called crusade. Castile continues further by saying they didn't stay because they had no reason to occupy such barren lands as theirs. Castile says what the Empire needs to do is to declare its strength to the world to see. Rain then asks him if they are testing something unknown or strange, but Castile fearfully says he has no idea what Rain is talking about. Since Castile claims that he knows nothing, Rain tells him to keep thinking about it while he rots in prison. As he walks away from the cell, Rain is confident that there is a hidden conspiracy behind the yearly attacks that he has not figured out yet. Rain concludes that they need to develop their industry as fast as they can. 10 days later, Priscilla receives the letter from her brother, and in the letter, Rain lets her know of his intention to make Rosalind his subordinate. Priscilla then tells Gwen to inform Velas that Rain has taken a liking to his daughter, so he has nothing to fear again. Priscilla then asks Gwen if she knows anything about a dam because the invitation letter says something about a dam. Gwen simply replies that she is too dumb to know what a dam is. Since they are both ignorant of what a dam is, Priscilla suggests that they visit Rain's territory to know what he is talking about. In addition, she tells Gwen to help her find girls who are about Rosalind's age because she wants to know the type of girls that her brother likes. Castile's capture soon reaches the Emperor of the Orvis Empire, and he calls a meeting with his officials to discuss the next step. One of his officials, Craven, tells the Emperor that it is going to be disastrous for them if Castile ends up leaking their secret information. Another official complains and scolds Castile's impulsive action, but the Emperor screams at them, telling them that what he needs is a solution, not complaints. One of the officials suggests that they send someone to Iceland for negotiations, but his colleagues condemn this, saying their empire is bigger than a trash city like Iceland. Craven lets them know that things would be worse for them if Castile leaks their secret, and he urges the Emperor to make the right call. The Emperor then mentions that peace talks are something that he can buy into, but he wants to know if they have someone who can be the lead. The Emperor says the person has to be brave and wise to be able to properly carry out the assignment. Just then, the Emperor notices Craven's expression, and he calls on him to provide a suitable candidate. Craven tells the Emperor that he wants to recommend Wilvina, the daughter of Duke Richard, for the mission. The moment he says this, the entire room erupts in chaos as they remind Craven that Richard was just imprisoned for going against the Emperor's wishes. Deep down, the Emperor is happy that Craven suggested just the right person that he wants. However, he still plays along, and he asks Craven why he suggested Richard's daughter. Craven then replies that he nominated Wilvina for 3 reasons. One of them is her noble status, which basically shows sincerity. The second reason is that Wilvina is quite eloquent and wise, even though she has just hit adulthood. Then the third and the most important part of all is that Wilvina can use the opportunity to atone for her father's sins. She would want to use the opportunity to prove her worth so that the Emperor can pardon her. After listing out his reasons, the other officials have no choice but to admit that Craven has a really good reason. Since Craven appears to be the smartest in the room, the Emperor tells him that he's leaving the matter to him. He tells Craven to make sure that Wilvina is safe on the trip. After the official meeting, the Emperor meets with one of his assassins and orders the dude to kill Wilvina and Castile once they release them. The Emperor sees this as the perfect opportunity to wage war against the Caradorial Empire, which is what he has been waiting for ever since. On the other hand, Rain is walking through the streets of the city, accompanied by Leah. The citizens are happy to see him, and they thank him for making their lives better because they were humans living like animals before. Rain acknowledges their gratitude and waves to them to keep them happy. It turns out that the main reason he is out on the streets is to search for a high-class talent just like the system told him to. However, he has been met with disappointment after disappointment because they all appear to be normal people. Rain has been doing this for days, and he hasn't found a single suitable candidate that can qualify for the role of a high-class talent. He initially thinks of asking his sister and brother for talents, but then he remembers that his siblings have their own problems to worry about, and he can't bother them with his. In addition, his sister just gave him Rosalind, so he can't even be ungrateful. Leah notices that Rain is tired, and she urges him to take a rest because he has been on the talent hunt for the past 3 days. Leah tells him that she has already sent notices to all the posts to notify anyone who might be interested in working with him. Rain admits that some of the candidates are excellent factory workers, but nothing more than that. At the same time, he remembers that he can't get his factory running yet because the elves have not made their investment. The dam project, on the other hand, will also take about a month to be fully completed. He already thought of teaching the magicians chemistry, but it dawned on him that it would be catastrophic. Frustrated by everything, Rain rests his head on Leah's tummy. He can't believe that the system also gave him a stressful task to complete. Rain is complaining about how hard his life is when he hears a trader arguing with a self-proclaimed alchemist, Armando. This immediately catches Rain's attention, and he turns around to look at the guy. Rain then scans the dude, and to his surprise, Armando is fully loaded with his stats. A huge smile erupts on his face because he has finally found a talent, which is what he has been looking for in the past couple of days. Armando tries to convince a stall owner that his potion is the best thing he can buy with his money, but the trader screams at him, calling him a liar. He reminds him that the last time he tricked him into buying insect repellent, he lost a box of apples. Armando tries to tell the dude that the last time was an accident because the repellent was not suitable for soft fruits like apples. The trader pushes Armando out of his shop, telling him that he is not ready to listen to what he has to say. Rain is absolutely sold by this because he didn't expect such a talent to be in such a place. Leah also notices that Rain has taken a liking to the alchemist, and she plans to stop whatever Rain plans to do. Armando is on his knees thinking of what to do when Rain shows up in front of him, telling him that he is interested in his potion. Armando smiles when he sees this because he has finally found a fat sheep that he can sell his potions to. Armando brings out a bunch of potions, asking Rain which of it that he wants. Rain asks him who he is and why he has never seen him in the city. Armando introduces himself, saying he is an alchemist and he rarely comes to town. He lets Rain know that he can make him any potion that will satisfy him. Leah quickly whispers in Rain's ear, telling him not to trust alchemists because they are all liars. Rain then tells Leah that she has nothing to worry about because they have not even ascertained who is cheating whom. Rain points to the potions, and he asks him how much he is selling them. Armando smiles as he whips out the potion, saying the bottle can make objects glow at night. He brings out another potion, saying it allows the drinker to run faster. There is another that can even make him and Leah have a good time, but Rain basically tells the dude that everything he just brought out is low class. Rain demands to see something better than the things he has brought out. Armando is pissed when he hears this, telling Rain not to look down on him. However, he calms down when he sees Leah's scary face. Rain then shows him that he knows much about his potion. He tells him that the glowing potion contains zinc silicate beryllium phosphor, which has low luminescence efficiency, and it is even toxic. Rain then tells him to use calcium halophosphate phosphor instead of the current constitution. Armando is shocked when he hears this, demanding to know how Rain knew this because the recipe is his top secret recipe, and he is the only one who knows it. Rain laughs out loud when he hears this, telling Armando that the constitution is nothing to be called a secret. Rain lets Armando know that it is just basic chemistry knowledge, telling him that alchemy is nothing special. However, Armando argues against this, demanding to know where he peaked at his alchemy notes. Rain crushes his ego, telling him that there is no point in reading the note of an alchemist who will go hungry if they are unable to sell their potions. Rain then tells Armando that he is going to teach him the true way of alchemy if he can swear loyalty to him. Armando is shocked when he hears this, and he asks him who he is. Leah comes in, telling Armando that the person in front of him is the new lord of the city, Rain. The moment Armando hears this, he lets Rain know that he would rather starve to death than become the dog of a nobleman. Rain notices that Armando is not happy with his status as a nobleman, and Armando tries to hide this, but his hatred is too much to hide. Leah is pissed, and she urges Armando to apologize to Rain at that instant. Armando still does not care because he wants to know what Leah is going to do to him. Leah is about to crash out when Rain stops her. Rain then tells Armando that he doesn't know what any noble has done to him in the past, and he doesn't care, but he is going to give him a choice. He assures Armando that he can provide him with well-developed and extensive knowledge on chemistry and physics, which will grant him the opportunity to change the world. However, he lets him know that he is also free to waste his life away in the city, if that is what he wants. This only gets Armando mad because he believes that all nobles think about is their own selfish interest, which is why he will never get along with them. Rain is shocked when he realizes that Armando's loyalty has decreased from 50 to 32. He realizes that he has somehow made him hostile toward him instead of trying to convince him. Armando continues by saying he can never believe a single word that comes out of the mouth of a noble. Just then, Armando hears his sister Yelena calling him. He rushes over to hug his sister and he urges her to leave the area because it is not a place for her to be. Yelena asks him why she is not supposed to be there, and Armando tells her that Rain is a bad noble who will hurt her. Yelena looks around and notices that it is Rain, and she runs over to him, shocking Armando. Even Rain is shocked, and he asks the girl if she knows him. With a bright smile on her face, she mentions that her mother told them that they can have a good life, which is all thanks to Rain. Rain finally realizes that Yelena's father took part in the construction of the dam. Armando jumps in, calling Rain a black-hearted noble because he is literally exploiting the people of the city. Rain is shocked, and he asks Armando how he came to this conclusion. Armando points to Yelena, saying she is wearing shabby clothes, which obviously means she is being oppressed. Armando mentions that the nobles have not changed one bit either. This pisses Leah off, and she scolds Armando, telling him that Rain is the most caring noble in the entire city. Yelena also berates Armando, telling him that Rain is a good lord. She mentions that he hired people to work and even provided shelter so that they wouldn't starve or freeze. Armando argues with her, telling her not to say what she doesn't understand. Rain then explains to Armando that the reason Yelena can't wear good clothes at the moment is that his light industry hasn't been developed yet. He assures him that when the light industry develops, people throughout the city of Iceland will be able to wear beautiful clothes. Armando retorts, saying he has no idea what he means by the light industry, but he is pretty sure that no noble would care about his people. Armando says nobles are only trying to fill their own wallets. Armando then turns around to leave, telling Yelena to be careful of nobles like Rain. Yelena angrily stamps her leg on the ground out of rage because of everything that Armando has said. Rain is conflicted because Armando is leaving, as he knows that he is a pure talent that he needs. Just as he is about to make a move to go after him, he feels a sharp headache, causing him to crash to the ground. Armando and Leah rush over to check on him, and by the time Rain opens his eyes, he realizes that he is back in his castle. Leah is standing beside him, looking all worried, but he assures her that he is fine. Leah tells him that he pushed himself too much, which is why he passed out the way he did. Rain holds her hand, apologizing for making her worry, and he assures her that he is fine. Rain then asks about Armando, and Leah explains that he actually rushed back after he fainted. Rain is surprised to hear that Armando rushed back to check on him, and Leah explains to him that Armando even gave him some medicine, saying it would cure his illness. After dropping the medicine, he left, and Rain asks Leah if the medicine was what brought down his fever. However, Leah says this is not the case because she didn't administer the medicine, since it was administered by someone of unknown origin. Leah lets Rain know that she simply left the medicine on his desk, and the one who treated him is a doctor from the city. Rain reveals his interest in checking out the medicine, and Leah rushes over to bring him the medicine. Rain mentions that the color and texture of the medicine make it look professional. He opens the lid to smell it, and he reveals that he is going to find a doctor the next day to help him check out how good the medicine is. Leah then asks Rain if he truly wants to recruit Armando because he is someone who truly hates nobles. Rain assures Leah that he is interested in hiring him because he appears to have real talent and is also a rare genius. However, the problem with everything is that he really hates nobles, and it would be good if he could know the reason for this. Meanwhile, sitting on Armando's desk is a picture of him and an older lady, and it appears that he cherishes the picture and whoever is in it. While staring at the picture, Armando talks to himself as if he is talking to the person in the picture. He mentions how he met a noble who is able to analyze an alchemy formula at a glance. He adds that Yelena also likes the dude, but even with this, he maintains his stance that nobles are bad people. Apparently, the person in the picture is his teacher. Armando is willing to complete his teacher's research and avenge his teacher too. He hates the nobles so badly that he is ready to make all of them pay for what happened. To look at what happened, we have to go back to 15 years ago when Liesl Grant, Armando's teacher, was the best alchemist in the city of Iceland. Liesl was not only a genius in the field of alchemy, but also an idealistic person. She firmly believed that the meaning of alchemy was to benefit the public rather than serve the powerful. Liesl took in an orphaned kid, Armando, and raised him as a son and as her disciple. She taught him everything that she knew, from making potions to building complex mechanical devices, and also how to find a balance between humanity and morality. Apparently, Liesl's alchemy research was not pleasant to a certain noble, and he broke into Liesl's home with his guards. He stole all of her research and even slandered her for studying forbidden alchemy. Later on, Liesl died in what appears to be a deliberate accident. On the day his master died, Armando was only 15, and after this, Armando picked up all the notes and unfinished research of his master in an attempt to complete everything. After hearing everything that Armando went through from Ayuria, he admits that it is a touching story, but at the same time, it doesn't solve his problem. He wants to know where Armando is, and Ayuria screams at him, telling him to have a bit of sympathy. Rain simply replies that sympathy can't be eaten, nor can it solve his problems. He explains that people still have to move on no matter what happens. Ayuria then tells Rain that Armando must have gone to Liesel's old residence, which is a place he frequented almost all the time. She says Armando doesn't go there just because of Liesel's research notes, but because her remaining research equipment is in the house. Rain is happy to hear this, and he suggests that they go to where Armando is to get him. Rain then asks Ayuria if she knows what Liesel was researching before she was killed. Ayuria racks her brain before she finally lets it out that it sounded like steam. But before she finishes it, Rain has grabbed her out of sheer curiosity. Rain demands that she opens up about it, but Ayuria says the only thing she remembers is that it is related to steam, but she can't remember the details. Rain lets her know that if what she is talking about is the same thing that he is thinking, they have the chance to completely change the world. Ayuria is surprised because the last time she heard is that the device is nothing but a toy. Without hesitation, he grabs her hand and demands that he take her to where the device is. Deep down, Rain is convinced that what Liesel was working on is a steam engine, and she might have left details about blueprints and experimental records. Because he considered the steam engine to be ancient, he didn't study it very much in his past life. However, as a mechanical engineer, he has an almost innate understanding of mechanical structures. Even though he was interested in creating the steam engine in this world, he lacked the blueprints and key ideas to carry it out. He believes that getting his hands on Liesel's notes will provide a breakthrough for him and help restore the glory of the steam engine. With the help of the steam engine will also begin the age of the industrial world. Moments later, Rain arrives at Liesel's old house. Armando is working on the steam engine when he hears Rain's voice in the distance, and he concludes that Rain is a danger to what his master was working on. He covers the steam engine before proceeding to where Rain is. Armando tells Rain that he cannot be at the house, but Rain ignores him and waltzes into the compound, asking him where Liesel's notes are stored. Armando rushes over to Rain, telling him to give up on the idea of acquiring the notes because he has no intention of handing over the notes. Ayuria tries telling Armando that they are not there to steal because Rain is there to see if there is anything in Liesel's note that can make life better for everyone. Just as Rain approaches where the steam engine is hidden, Armando becomes desperate and he whips out a knife, telling Rain to back off because he doesn't entertain nobles. Leah is about to make a move when Rain stops her and urges her to let him take care of the situation. Rain then walks up to Armando to tell him that he is an idiot who has no idea what a steam engine is, not to mention its significance. Rain lets Armando know that what he is currently doing is only wasting Liesel's great research. Armando angrily tells Rain that he can't lecture him because he doesn't understand a thing about Liesel's research. Since Armando is proving to be so stubborn, Rain suggests that they make a bet. Armando asks him what sort of bet he is talking about, and Rain tells him that if he is able to make Liesel's device work successfully, Armando has to work for him without questioning him. Rain assures him that if he fails, he will leave the city and never set foot in it again. Armando hears this and concludes that Rain is making unnecessary jokes. Armando tells Rain that he doesn't even have the insight to recognize all the alchemical containers, and he is boasting of making Liesel's device work. Rain has no time to argue, and he asks Armando if he has agreed to the bet. Armando says yes, but the offer is still not enough. Armando tells Rain that if he loses, he will have to bow down in front of his master's grave and apologize before permanently leaving the city. Ayuria tries to step in, telling Armando that he is taking things too far since Rain doesn't even bear ill will toward him in the first place. Armando doesn't care about what anyone says, and he asks Rain if he accepts his terms or not. Rain then assures Armando that he is accepting his terms to personally apologize to Liesel if he fails. Since they have agreed on the terms already, Rain demands to check out the steam engine that Liesel left behind. Rain is already imagining Armando working for him once he fixes up the steam engine. Armando then removes the cloth covering the device to showcase what his master left behind. Rain is relieved when he realizes that it is actually a steam engine. Rain cannot hold back his happiness, and he hugs the engine while declaring that Liesel is a true genius. Leah is surprised by this, and she asks Rain if the things that Liesel created are truly amazing. Rain assures her that anyone who is able to create something as magnificent as Liesel did is considered a genius. Armando stands proud, saying Liesel is different from the other alchemist who knows nothing aside from chasing a trash reputation. Rain then asks Armando if he has been living at his master's old house to make sure that he keeps the machine going, and he says yes. However, he has no idea how to make the machine work because it was not written in Liesel's note. Rain then tells the dude that he is going to take apart the outer shell to make sure that there is no mechanical issue with the internal build. Armando protests against this, saying Rain can't tear it down. He says Liesel's entire research will be ruined if the machine cannot be put together again. Rain is disappointed when he hears Armando say this, and he lets him know that there is no machine that he can't fix. Rain then tells Armando to get him a screwdriver, but Armando is so clueless that he has no idea what a screwdriver is. Rain cannot believe his eyes when he hears this, forcing him to ask how the machine was put together. Armando replies that he used magic to put it together. He explains that everything was put together by a master dwarven craftsman who was enlisted by Liesel. Armando continues by saying the device took a great deal of work, and it is not something that a spoiled rich brat like Rain can understand. Rain is tired of exchanging words with the dude, and he asks Leah to give him one of her daggers since there is no screwdriver. Rain collects the dagger, and he starts to unscrew the outer part of the machine. He admits that Liesel is such a genius because she made everything so beautiful. Suddenly, he notices some hidden parts in the machine, and he screams at Armando, asking him where the hidden parts of the machine are. Armando is shocked when he hears this because he was not expecting Rain to know that there were still parts inside. However, he decides to play a fool, and he claims that the machine has always been like that. He asks Rain if he is admitting defeat because he can't fix the machine. Rain is tired of his shenanigans, and he screams at him, telling him that he is pretty sure that there is a core right in the middle of the engine, which is used to control the operation of the machine. Rain demands to know where the parts are, and Armando tells him that the parts were forcibly taken away by a noble. Rain is surprised to hear this, and he asks him what a noble would want with the parts. Armando mentions that the parts were forged from an extremely rare type of dragon crystal ore. When the noble learned of this, he took them, melted them down, and then used them to make a statue of himself. Rain loses it when he hears this because he can't believe someone actually destroyed such important components to uplift himself. With rage burning through his body, he demands to know who the noble is. Armando is hesitant to speak, claiming that the noble is a big shot, and Rain will be wise not to offend him. This only makes Rain even angrier because he doesn't think there is a noble out of his reach. Rain tells Armando to speak because he is interested in seeing who dares to obstruct his industrialization process. Armando finally speaks up, revealing that the noble who did it is Duke Oscar. Ayuria is shocked to hear this, and Rain asks her if she knows who the said Duke Oscar is. Ayuria explains that Oscar used to be a minor noble in the city, but his achievements in the alchemy world helped him gain the Emperor's appreciation. Because of this, the Emperor gave him a lot of resources and then granted him the title of Duke, which earned him a territory. Rain then demands to know where his territory is, and Ayuria mentions that it's in Gransel, the upper right side of Iceling City. Leah then tells Rain that Gransel is under the Grand Duke, Teleros Elroy region, basically excluding it from the jurisdiction of the Edgar family. Rain then remembers that his father told him that things were not going well between him and Elroy. Leah confirms this, saying Rain's father and Elroy have different political views. Because of this, they have clashed multiple times in the Imperial Council. Rain decides to leave the matter for later, but at the same time, he lets it be known that Duke Oscar has entered his black book. Rain promises to make Oscar pay for melting down the gears. Ayuria is worried when she hears this, and she asks Rain if she is trying to confront Oscar. She mentions that he is dangerous, but Rain mentions that he doesn't care because Oscar was the one who dared destroy such a priceless item, and he plans to make him pay for it. Armando is shocked that Rain is seriously considering going against Oscar. Rain then tells Armando that he has nothing to worry about. He assures him that he is going to make the engine work and also show Oscar the true value of the steam engine. Rain then asks Armando if there are any design drawings of the core in Liesel's notebooks. Armando replies that Liesel unfortunately didn't leave the design in her alchemy notebook. However, she discussed the production of the parts with the dwarven master craftsman. Rain asks if the dwarf dude knows about the engine, and Armando says yes. However, the craftsman was unwilling to meet with him. Rain pats Armando on the shoulder, telling him that he is going to try his own part to see if the dwarf will talk to him. Armando doesn't think Rain will also be successful because the dwarf dude has a short temper. Just as expected, Rain gets to the dwarf's place, only to be told to leave because he is not interested in talking to them. Ayuria tells the dwarf Bram that Rain has done a lot for the city, and it would be disrespectful for him to treat him the way he is currently doing. Bram retorts, saying he doesn't know the special thing that Rain has been doing because all he did was kill some noble brats and then solve the people's food problem. Bram is not impressed by this because he believes that it is the normal thing a lord should be doing for his people. Ayuria is crippled with Bram's facts, but Rain urges her to back down, while he takes over the conversation. Rain tells Bram that he is right about everything he has said so far because he is expected to manage his territory well and even make sure that the people have enough food and clothing. Rain tells Bram that to fulfill this duty is why he has come to see him. Bram finally decides to speak with Rain, and he asks him if there is anything he wants him to build for him. Rain simply replies that he needs the design for the steam engine gear. He adds that it would be nice if Bram could build it for him too. The moment Bram knows what Rain is looking for, he tells him to leave his workshop because he is not ready to give him anything. Rain asks him why he is refusing to give him the design, and Bram says the gears are what got Liesel killed. Bram blames himself for telling Liesel that she needed the dragon ore for safety, which is what later got her killed. Because of this, Bram is determined not to build such for anyone again. Armando then cuts in, reminding Bram that he just said it is a blacksmith's job to make iron for people. Armando scolds the old dwarf for being a double-standard dog. Bram maintains his stance and then says the gear might not even work even if they have dragon crystal ore. Rain is surprised by the repeated mention of dragon crystal ore, and he asks if the machine can only work with gears made from the ore. Bram is confused, and he asks Rain what he means by this. Rain blatantly tells him that, with what he has seen, he doesn't think Bram's forging skill is needed because he doesn't think it is impossible to forge the most common iron ore into the gears needed for the machine. Bram angrily tells Rain that melting ordinary iron ore into liquid is something only the ancient dragon race on the entire continent can do. The moment Bram mentions the dragon race, Rain finally catches on to what he has been suspecting. Rain then asks him if his furnace is not producing a high enough temperature to melt iron ore into molten iron. Bram retorts, saying there is no furnace on the whole continent that can melt iron ore into molten iron. Rain then tells the dude that he can actually build a furnace that can melt iron ore into molten iron. Bram is shocked to hear this, but he tells Rain to stop bragging because if he can build such a furnace, the entire Empire's forging level would turn upside down. Bram reminds Rain that he is a brat from a rich family who knows nothing. Rain then suggests that they put aside the insults. He asks Bram if he would be willing to help forge the steam parts if he could build a furnace that could melt iron ore. Bram has no choice but to take the offer, and he tells Rain that he is going to help him if he can build the said furnace. Rain is glad that he finally got Bram to agree to his deal. However, Bram lets Rain know that he has to make himself scarce if he fails to build the furnace. Bram leaves the workshop so that Rain can do his thing. Rain stands in front of the furnace to check it out. He realizes that the furnace is far from what he actually needs it to be. Rain figures out that the side of the furnace lacks a secondary oxygen supply design, which is why the effect of the fuel cannot be maximized. Rain grabs a mallet and smashes the side of the furnace with it, shocking Ayuria and Armando. The two scream at him, asking him what he is doing. Armando tells Rain that Bram is definitely not going to help again since he has smashed his furnace. Rain then tells the two that he knows what he is doing. He explains that the openings he just created are the secondary oxygen supply that he designed. Rain says that with this, the furnace combustion efficiency will increase by at least double, and the temperature can also reach the requirement for melting iron ore. Ayuria is curious to know if such simple modifications will really make the furnace reach the desired temperature. Rain urges her not to underestimate the power of science. He tells Bram to add fuel and try it out. He is confident that with this, the furnace can definitely melt iron ore into molten iron. The moment Bram sees the holes in his furnace, he throws away the box of iron ore that he is carrying. He rushes toward his furnace to inspect the level of damage. He scolds Rain for damaging his furnace while talking about how much effort went into building the furnace. Bram is ready to fight Rain, but Rain urges him to calm down because the furnace can definitely melt iron ore into molten iron with the way it is. Bram still thinks Rain is spewing rubbish, and he asks him if he thinks forging is a game. Bram explains that iron ore is very hard, which is why an ordinary furnace temperature can't reach the required temperature to melt it. Bram believes that Rain has ruined everything by creating 2 holes in the furnace, and he is confident that the furnace temperature will be even lower. Rain then urges the dwarf to try it out before concluding. After all, they already have the iron ore, and there is enough fuel to burn. Bram agrees to try it out because he is desperate to see what kind of trick Rain is going to pull. However, he assures Rain that he is going to beat him up if the furnace doesn't work. Bram then packs the iron ore into the furnace, and before he knows it, the ore melts into molten iron, shocking him. Even Ayuria and Armando are both shocked, forcing Armando to ask Rain what he managed to do to the furnace. Rain then asks Bram how the furnace is working out so far. Bram cannot believe his eyes, forcing him to ask if the furnace really has the power to melt down iron ore just by opening 2 holes. Rain proudly explains that what they are witnessing is the principles of pneumatics. Rain says if he is interested in it, he can find the time to slowly explain it to him. Since he has made the furnace into what they agreed on, Rain asks him if he can forge the gears for him. Bram is forced to admit that Rain has won, and he promises to forge the gears again. However, Bram is scared that Oscar might come looking for trouble again. Rain assures Bram that he has nothing to worry about because even if Oscar doesn't come, he will go to Oscar himself. Soon afterward, Bram finishes crafting the gear, and Rain takes the core to the steam engine with a big smile on his face. He knows that this is the start of the industrial era. Leah notices his excitement, and she asks him if the gear can actually withstand the operation of the steam engine. It turns out that Leah is only worried about him, and the same thing is applicable to Ayuria. Ayuria even wants Rain to hold back while she asks her clan members if they have dragon crystal ore. Rain then tells Ayuria that they have nothing to worry about. He says Liesel used dragon ore because she didn't have sufficient knowledge of how things work. Armando takes this up, telling Rain not to talk badly about his teacher. Rain smiles, telling Armando to worry about himself because once he fixes the steam engine, he has no choice but to obediently become his subordinate. Armando smirks, telling Rain to fix the engine before he starts boasting. Rain then pushes the gear into the core, and he tells the spectators to witness a miracle. After inserting the gear, Rain kickstarts the engine. To everyone's shock, it comes to life, puffing out smoke like a proper steam engine should do. Ayuria is blown away because Rain was able to pull it off. Armando, on the other hand, is left emotional because his master's device has finally come to life. This brings back the memories he had with his teacher. He remembers all the time she was teaching him how to couple each part of the engine. Armando can clearly remember his teacher saying that people will live a better life if they manage to make the device work. Before passing on, Liesel had told Armando that she would be leaving the machine to him. Armando falls to his knees in tears while telling his master in heaven that her invention has come to life. Ayuria calls Rain's attention to something, but Rain tells the elf to leave Armando to cry till he is satisfied. Rain says he is currently letting out emotions that he has suppressed over the years. 3 hours later, Bram comes visiting, and he admits that he never thought Rain would be able to fix the machine. Since Bram and Ayuria have no idea what the machine does, they ask Rain if the only thing the engine can do is smoke. Rain is forced to enter into another realm of explanation again. He tells them that the steam engine is not just a useless engine that smokes. He assures them that the steam engine is the foundation of industrial society. Bram is confused by this, and he asks Rain what he means by this. Rain explains further, saying the machine can drive gears to rotate, which in turn powers more machines. The steam engine is capable of powering mills, textile machines, transportation, and even war machines. Basically, the steam engine is the core of everything, and it is irreplaceable. After explaining to them, Ayuria looks up to Rain like a god, while telling him that everything he just said is mind-blowing. Bram admits that the engine is impressive, but he wants to know if it is life-changing like Rain claimed. Rain tells the group that there is no need to talk too much because they will soon understand the incomparable value of the engine. Rain tells them that he is about to take them into the world of industry so that they can see the power of industry. They are still in the middle of this celebration when Rosalind shows up, informing Rain that Priscilla just arrived in the city. Rain is excited to hear that his sister is in town because she came just in time to watch the dam enter the completion stage. In addition, he wants to ask his sister to invest in the things that he wants to do. Rosalind then tells Rain that his sister brought a special gift for him. This makes Rain even more interested, and he asks Rosalind if she sees what the gift is. Rain is hoping that it will be gold, so he won't have any reason to ask for money again. Rosalind then crushes all of his monetary hopes by telling him that the gift is a group of young girls who have just come of age. Rain hears this and almost concludes that he must have gone deaf because of how shocking the information is. Shortly afterward, Rain returns to the castle, and he runs into his sister. The two admit that they have both missed each other, but before things go too far, Rain asks about the girls. Priscilla asks him if there is anything wrong or if the girls are not his type. Rain says this is not the problem, but because of the arrival of the girls, people have started looking at him in the strangest way. Priscilla basically assumes that the people are crazy to have been disrespectful toward their lord. Deep down, Rain is worried about what Leah thinks of him because he assumes that girl will see him as nothing but a pervert. Rain walks up to his sister, telling her that Leah's expression has changed toward him. Rain claims that Leah is always the gentle type when in front of him, but it appears that she is wearing a very deadly face. Priscilla smiles when she hears this, and she tells Rain that the girl only cares about him, which is why she has an opinion about what he does. Rain cannot believe that his sister just made things worse, and he was expecting her to at last make things better. Rain then tells his sister to stop joking. He demands to know why she brought the girls to him. Realizing that her brother is getting nervous, she decides to tell the truth. Priscilla says she brought the girls because of his letter. This shocks Rain, and he demands to know what letter she is talking about. Priscilla whips out the letter he sent to her, which mentioned Rosalind. Because of this, Priscilla claims to have acted on her brother's happiness. She assumed that Rain would want options, which was why she brought a bunch of girls for him to choose from. Rain cannot believe that his sister basically misunderstood his letter. Priscilla laughs at Rain while admitting that she misunderstood the whole situation. However, she urges him to reconsider Rosalind because she appears to be a good pick for him. Priscilla spices things up by asking Leah if she has any objection to Rain marrying a bunch of ladies. Leah tries to play it cool, saying Priscilla must be joking because she is nothing but a maid, and she doesn't have the right to comment on what Rain can or cannot do. Leah says Rain will decide on the number of wives that he wants to marry. Rain supports her motion, telling her not to pay attention to the nonsense his sister is insinuating. Priscilla decides to stop teasing her brother and maid, and she tells Gwen to take the girls away. Moments later, Rain and Priscilla hold a meeting in his office, and he tells his sister that in a few days, the dam will be complete. He lets his sister know that the dam can not only control water, but can also provide irrigation for the surrounding farmland. He says the dam even has the potential to develop into a hydropower project. Priscilla is genuinely confused by the things that her brother is saying, and she asks if they are all part of a magic array. Rain explains that the way the dam can be used for power generation is to make it drive a mechanical device, which will produce an effect that can provide energy. Priscilla then asks Rain if the things he is saying are part of what he claims would solve the food problem. Rain knows that his sister is confused, but he assures her that it is a technical system, which is different from magic. This further confuses Priscilla, and she asks him where he learned everything he is talking about. Priscilla says the Rain she remembered used to prefer swordsmanship over reading, leaving her confused about what happened to Rain. With a stern face, she asks Rain what he did to her brother. The question startles Rain, who totally forgot about what happened when he found himself in this world. Apparently, he was injured when he first arrived in this world, and it finally dawns on him that it is a swordsmanship accident. Rain realizes that he needs a solution to get out of the situation fast. Rain smiles, telling Priscilla that she is overthinking things because he is the same brother that she knows. Rain then explains to his sister that when he woke up a month ago, his body hurt so much that the only thing he could do with his time was to read books while he was holed up at home. Rain claims that it was during this time that he accidentally came across everything that he is explaining to her. Priscilla remembers a letter that Leah sent to her concerning this. Priscilla then asks if the books are from the family library. She also wants to know what the book looks like. Rain quickly whips out one of Liesel's notes to tell his sister that the book looked like the note. Priscilla collects the book, and after going through it, she admits that there is strange knowledge in it. Priscilla finally lets her guard down, and she commends her brother for being the best. Rain smiles, saying he can't practice martial arts, but he can read to gain knowledge. Priscilla then urges Rain not to push himself when it comes to martial arts because she knows that he is trying his best. Priscilla hugs Rain, assuring him that she is no longer going to suspect him. Rain hugs his sister, assuring his sister that he is fine, which is why he can make all the things that he is making. Priscilla is happy to hear this, and she assures Rain that she will always be by his side. She tells him that he is free to let her know if there is anything in the territory that needs her help, and she will definitely help out with it. Rain is happy that Priscilla mentioned this herself, and he rides the opportunity. Rain then tells his sister that there is a particular place where he needs help. Priscilla is surprised that her brother needs her help already, and she asks him what it is. Rain tells his sister that he needs her help in investing in himself. He mentions that it is an important plan concerning the future development of the city. His sister is surprised that he is asking for resources when he literally just took a bunch of resources from the corrupt nobles in the city. Rain then explains that his sister is not getting it because it is not about money, but about people. Rain explains that the city has suffered severe population decline due to years of war and natural disasters, and the bulk of these are the skilled people who understand technology and can work. Priscilla is shocked when she realizes that her brother is asking her for people. Rain asks his sister if she can transfer experienced craftsmen, farmers, and some administrators from her territory to his. He assures his sister that he is not asking for free, as he is ready to provide well for the people that she provides for him. In addition, he is going to make sure that they learn new technology. Priscilla admits that Rain's plan is good, but she points out the fact that the people he is talking about are also pillars of her territory. She asks if he thinks she is going to release them so easily. Rain then reminds his sister that she was the one who promised to fully support him. He also assures her that once the city develops, she is going to enjoy the benefits too. Priscilla finally agrees to send some people over, but she wants Rain to show her results first. She wants Rain to convince her that her people won't waste their time and effort coming to the city. Rain stands boldly, assuring his sister that he is going to show her the power of industry. After the meeting with her brother, Priscilla tells Gwen that her worries are over. She was scared that her brother had turned to the Emperor's puppet, but this isn't the case. Gwen agrees that Rain is naturally intelligent and hardworking too. Gwen believes that he is going to develop the city better in the future. Priscilla agrees with her maid, but she lets her know that she is not ready to let go of what the Emperor did. Apparently, the Emperor was the one who poisoned Rain. Since the Emperor poisoned Rain, making it impossible for him to practice martial arts, Priscilla plans to get back at him too. Priscilla then tells Gwen to investigate the whereabouts of the prince and choose the easiest target to take down. Priscilla is ready to make the Emperor pay for what he did. Gwen assures her that everything will be taken care of pretty easily. Deep down, Priscilla is enraged because the Emperor touched the most precious person to her. and she is not shy to retaliate. Later on, a group of human movers is seen making their way through the forest with their merchandise. One of them complains that the large bulk of money that they get from their deal goes to Eldrick, who doesn't even do anything. Another thug supports him, saying they are the ones taking the risks, but Eldrick is the one enjoying the bulk of the proceeds. Their boss screams at them to keep their a-hole shut because no matter how greedy Eldrick appears to be, he is still the one backing them. The boss says the only reason they are able to come and go as they please is all thanks to Eldrick. Just then, their scout returns to tell them that there is bad news. He lets the group know that the mayor of the city has changed and is no longer Eldrick. The boss frantically demands an explanation, and the scout explains that he just arrived at the gate of the city and he found that none of the soldiers guarding the city were people he had ever seen. He says he even tried bribing them, but they refused and demanded to know why he was trying to enter the city so late at night. He was able to evade any investigation by lying that he was coming to the city to visit his relatives. This was when he finally learned that the city had changed hands. One of the thugs suggests that they go back, but the dude says there is no place for them to go back to. He says the women they are currently transporting were agreed upon by Duke Oscar and the slave traders of the Orvis Empire. If they fail to deliver the girls, they are not going to get the 3,000 gold coins that were promised. To make it worse, they won't be able to go back to Oscar with a half-assed report. One of them expresses his concern, saying the new lord of the city might be a tough guy. The leader doesn't think there is anyone who can't be bought with money. However, he already knows that they are going to earn so little on the current trip. Since they have encountered a bit of a problem, he suggests that they rest there that night. They are going to pretend to be merchants the next morning while taking fewer women with them. If they are able to blend in doing this, the leader says all they need to do is go on a few more trips. The fat ass in the team immediately suggests that their leaders give them the opportunity to enjoy themselves since they are staying the night. The other scumbags also agree with him, saying they don't know if they are going to die the next day, and it is only normal for them to enjoy themselves in the face of uncertainty. The boss then agrees to this, but tells his boys to leave the red-headed girl for him. The boys are happy to hear this, and they quickly grab the girls of their choice, telling them that they are going to enjoy themselves in the cave close to them. The girls beg to be set free, but the scumbags are already imagining all the bad things that they want to do in their heads. They pound on the girls, but before they can carry out their useless act, a voice echoes from behind, telling them to stop. They turn around to see Rosalind staring at them with so much killing intent, ready to tear them apart. The bandits are surprised to see a woman talking down to them. Rosalind asks them what they are doing, and the dudes tell her that she can obviously see that they are having fun. They even tease Rosalind, telling her to come and join them so that they can all have fun together, but this is only making the girl madder. She angrily hits one of them on the head, immediately splitting his skull into two. The others freak out when they see their friend crushed, but Rosalind doesn't give them time to react before pushing her spear into the fat, ugly dude. This is when the other bandits realize that they have bitten more than they can chew and they decide to run for it. They run to their boss's tent, screaming for help. The boss steps out to find his subordinates getting poked like barbecues. He screams at Rosalind, telling her to stop attacking his men. The surviving bandits crawl up to their boss, begging to be saved. The boss then asks Rosalind why she is attacking them when they haven't even offended her. Rosalind then points to the kidnapped girl to jog their memories in case it has slipped into their anus. The leader then tells Rosalind that she clearly misunderstood the situation because they are slave traders from Duke Oscar's territory. He brings out an official letter that is given to them by Oscar. The moment he mentions Oscar's name, Rosalind remembers that she has heard the name somewhere before. Rosalind then remembers that Rain told her earlier to keep an eye out for anyone coming from Oscar's territory. Rosalind asks why she is supposed to keep an eye out, and Rain explicitly replies that she is free to look for trouble. The bandit leader tries to bribe Rosalind with gold, but it is his unlucky day, since Rain has given Rosalind free rein to deal with anyone from Oscar's territory. Rosalind screams at the bandit leader, telling him that he is wrong to have come to cause trouble in Rain's territory. Rosalind then tells the bandits to kneel and beg her, while promising to pity them if they do. However, the bandit leader has so much ego to fill up a water tank, and he decides to call Rosalind the B word. The bandit leader reminds Rosalind that she is outnumbered, and she has no chance against them. Realizing that the bunch is not ready to give up, Rosalind spins her spear really hard to show that she is not messing around. She gives them one last warning, urging them to surrender or face the consequences of not doing so. The bandit leader decides to attack Rosalind, but all it takes for her to knock him down is a simple spin from her spear. Rosalind then sends him flying by kicking him in the chest. The dude crashes to the ground, unable to move, and Rosalind holds her spear to his neck. She tells the others to get on their knees if they are not ready to meet their maker yet. Just then, Rosalind's troops show up in the distance, asking her if she's fine. Rosalind orders the soldiers to round up the bandits and throw them in the dungeon while they await Rain's judgment. Later that evening, Rosalind makes her way to Rain's office to inform him that she recently captured a caravan from Oscar's territory. Rain is excited to hear this because he wasn't expecting Rosalind to find trouble that fast. He commends her for a job well done and asks her what the caravan was carrying. Rosalind reveals that the caravan was transporting slaves, and the bandits had Oscar's written letter with them. This pisses Rain off because everyone is just messing with the labor force that he is desperately trying to increase. After getting the details of the operation from Rosalind, Rain heads to the dungeon where the bandit leader is being held. Rosalind tells the dude that he is quite a bold man to have tried to conduct business in his territory. The dude smiles evilly while telling Rain that he is attracting big trouble to himself for going against Oscar. He advises Rain to cooperate with them because if not, he is going to suffer a miserable end. Rain points out that Eldrick must have cooperated with them for a long time, which is why he is so confident to speak the way he does. The dude boldly tells Rain that they sell many women to the Orvis Empire every year, and what Rain saw was just a small portion of their deals. This catches Rain's attention and he asks if they have more women stashed away. Rain demands to know where the women are kept, and the dude decides to taunt Rain, telling him to bow down to him if he wants to know. However, this doesn't even guarantee the fact that he is going to tell him even if he begs him. Rain walks up to the dude to tell him straight to the face that his life belongs to him, and if he continues being stubborn, he may as well send him 6 feet below. The bandit leader shows no sign of remorse as he tells Rain that he doesn't need to fear him because Oscar is backing him. Rain then reminds the dude that he is currently in his territory and Oscar's protection is nothing to him. The bandit leader remains stubborn, saying he can't be intimidated by Rain. Realizing that he is not going to learn unless he shows how serious he is, Rain tells Leah to teach him a lesson. Leah gladly whips out one of her daggers and hurls it into the dude's shoulder, causing him to scream in severe pain. The bandit leader crashes to the ground and starts begging while telling Rain that he is finally ready to talk. The bandit leader reveals that there is an abandoned hunter's cabin in the southern forest where the rest of the goods are stashed away. Rain then tells Leah to instruct Rosalind to gather the cavalry so that they can set out to rescue the girls. Rain then tells the dude that he seriously hopes that he is not lying, or else he is going to suffer a miserable fate. Deep down, the bandit leader is leading Rain and his men into a trap because Oscar's assassination squad is located in the cabin. Soon afterward, they arrive at the cabin, and Rosalind tells Rain that the bandit leader is not lying because the cabin appears to be occupied. Rain then tells Rosalind to set up an ambush to prevent anyone from escaping. Rosalind breaks down the door, and upon stepping inside, they see cages filled with young girls. Rain is concerned with the situation of the girls, and he orders Rosalind to get them all out. Just as she is about to make her move, an arrow comes flying directly at her head. Thanks to her effective reflex, she is able to cut down the arrow. She immediately screams out, telling Rain to be careful because they have fallen into an ambush. Rosalind orders the cavalry unit to protect Rain, and they all form a wall of shields around him. The assassins emerge from their dark corners, and the leader of the unit says he is aware that they are Edgar's men. Because of this, he says he doesn't want any conflict and would rather settle everything without using violence. Rosalind is pissed already, and she tells the dude that there is nothing to talk about with scumbags like him. However, Rain tells Rosalind to calm down so that they can hear what the dude wants to say. The assassin leader mentions that they have been in the business of selling slaves for Duke Oscar for years. He mentions that a high-quality female slave can sell for over 1,000 gold coins, and even the worst slave can still fetch 100 gold coins. The dude tells Rain that as long as he is willing to cooperate with them, they are going to give him a share of their profits every year. In fact, they are willing to find him some delicious-looking girls. He makes it sweeter by saying they are going to give him the girls for free. Rosalind is enraged by the stupid offer. But before she can make her contribution, Rain shocks her by asking the dude how much he is willing to give him. The dude tells Rain that they are willing to give him 10,000 gold coins annually if he cooperates with them. Rain is disappointed when he hears this, asking the dude if he thinks he is a beggar. Rain boldly reveals that his sister gives him more than every month as his pocket money. The assassin then asks him how much he will be willing to take. Rain says his price, saying he would like to take 100,000 gold coins every month. This shocks the assassin leader, who thinks Rain must be joking. He mentions that they don't even make up to that amount of money every year from selling slaves. Rain then tells the dude that they don't have a deal again, since he is not ready to pay the amount of money he is requesting. Rain tells Rosalind to turn them into baskets, and Rosalind acknowledges the order. The assassin realizes that things are about to go south, and he tries to renegotiate, saying they have to return and report to Duke Oscar. Deep down, he is planning to escape so he can get Oscar to send his troops to wipe out Rain and his men. The assassin leader then tells Rain that they are willing to leave behind 10,000 gold coins as a show of good faith. Rain refuses the offer, saying it is not good enough for him. He orders Rosalind to carry out his order, and the assassins make a run for it the moment they realize that their puny lives are in danger. The assassin leader orders his men to retreat to the mountain. Rosalind tells the archers to step forward to take down the escaping bandits. The archers fire a ton of arrows at the retreating bandits, and in a desperate move, the assassin leader creates a water barrier to protect himself and his men. However, this gives Rosalind the chance to close him down and try to cut him in half. Rosalind tells the dude that they have the upper hand already, and she advises the assassin leader to just accept his death. The assassin leader realizes that they are all going to get wiped out if things persist the way they are. He looks around and realizes that there is only one way out of the current situation, and this is by grabbing Rain. The assassin kicks his plan into motion, and he dashes toward Rain in an attempt to take him hostage. The assassin leader tells his boys to cover him, and this is what they did. Realizing that the dude is targeting Rain, Rosalind urges him to be careful. She also orders the troops to protect Rain to make sure no one harms him. However, before the soldiers can reach Rain, the assassin has already reached him. Just as he is about to push his blade into Rain, Leah appears beside Rain and punches the assassin into the distance. The dude crashes into the ground, leaving a cloud of dust. He holds his head in frustration, realizing that Leah is not an ordinary maid. Instead of running away, he still makes a move to try and take Rain down. Just as expected, Leah sends him flying with a kick. He crashes to the ground in pain, and the troops surround him immediately. Leah is pissed that the dude even made a move to hurt her master, and she angrily dashes toward the assassin. However, the assassin sees this as a very big opportunity, since Leah is no longer by Rain's side. He throws a dagger straight at Rain, and before Rain knows what is happening, the dagger scrapes his arm. The girl screams out his name in fear, but he urges them not to panic. However, the fear that Rain is hurt forces the girls to run toward him to try and protect him. This breaks their formation, and the assassin leader believes he has found the perfect opportunity to escape. Rosalind tells the troops to surround Rain and escort him away. Rosalind also tells Leah to bandage Rain's wounds, but she suddenly realizes that Leah has vanished into thin air, leaving her to start questioning where the lady has disappeared to. The assassin leader sprints through the mountain, hoping to reach Duke Oscar so he can deliver the message of what happened to him. Suddenly, he runs into Priscilla, who is just standing there, as if she has been waiting for him to come. This shocks the dude, but he calms down when he realizes that Priscilla doesn't appear to pose a threat to him. Priscilla then introduces herself to the dude, sending a wave of fear through his body. He demands to know what the Duke's daughter is doing in the area. He fears that Oscar's terrible acts have been exposed. Priscilla then tells him that the other group he was fighting some moments ago are her brother's troops. The moment he realizes that Rain is the Duke's son, he almost pisses his pants out of fear. Priscilla talks about how the evening has been a pleasant surprise, but this confuses the dude. Priscilla then walks to him, telling him that her brother didn't disappoint her. She claims that Rain is the same smart and calm person who is able to maintain his composure when facing scumbags like him. However, she assures the dude that she has no intention to harm him because she is just a mere spectator. However, she lets him know that he has provoked the worst person he can possibly provoke. Standing behind the assassin is Leah, and she is radiating so much killing intent from her body that it sends a shiver down the assassin's spine. He turns around to see Leah staring at him with so much animosity, and Leah lets him know that there is no escape route for him because he literally hurt her master. Realizing that Leah is not messing around, the dude starts begging to be spared, but Leah shows her magical powers for the first time. She lifts the assassin dude into the air with her telekinetic powers, shocking the dude. He realizes that he is unable to breathe, and before he knows it, he explodes into tiny bits, thanks to Leah's crazy powers. Leah doesn't even let his blood touch her, as she creates a magical barrier to shield herself. After killing the dude, she tells Priscilla that she needs to return as fast as possible because Rain is wounded. Priscilla tells her that she is free to go, and Leah flies toward Rain's direction. Priscilla then asks Gwen if she thinks she should warn Rain about what will happen to him if he crosses Leah. Gwen steps out of the pocket dimension to show that the family has a bunch of overpowered ladies posing as maids. Gwen tells Priscilla that she has nothing to worry about because no matter what, Leah will never lay her hands on Rain. Priscilla taunts Gwen, saying that the way she is speaking makes her brother sound like a scumbag, but she quickly clears the air, saying Priscilla misunderstood her. Priscilla teases her further, saying she might just have her marry Rain. With a slightly red face, Gwen tells Priscilla to stop messing around. Priscilla then tells Gwen to send someone to Oscar, asking him if he has gotten so bold because he is jobless. Priscilla sends a warning to Oscar to remind him of what will happen if he crosses her family. Gwen acknowledges the order, and Priscilla returns to her usual smiling self, suggesting that they return to the castle before Rain figures out that they are not around. When Rain returns home, Leah helps him check out his arm, and she looks really concerned while doing it. Rain tells her that she has nothing to worry about because it is nothing but a scratch. Gwen urges him to stop moving, and she lets him know that he is banned from stepping outside until his injuries heal. Rain rubs Leah's face, telling her that she has nothing to worry about because it is nothing but a scratch. The two are having their moment when Priscilla rushes into the room to check on Rain because she heard that he got injured. Priscilla rushes over to Rain to ask him if the injury will affect his future plans, but Rain assures his sister that the injury is not much because it is a mere scratch. However, Leah begs to differ because if the dagger had been half an inch off, it could have struck his heart, putting his life in danger. Priscilla agrees with Leah, telling Rain that he can't be joking with his life. Priscilla then demands to know what happened. Rain explains that Rosalind captured a bunch of bandits, and after investigation they found out that they had another hidden group of slaves in the forest. Rain explains that he took his men to the forest, and after negotiations failed, a fight broke out. Because of the dark environment, he couldn't see the dagger coming at him, which led to his shoulder being cut. Priscilla is pissed when she hears this, mostly because it is forbidden to carry out slave trading in the Edgar family's territory. Leah then reveals that, according to the information that they got, the bandits are Oscar's men. Priscilla cannot believe that Oscar had the balls to carry out such atrocities on their turf. Rain mentions that he was confident to do this because Eldrick was his inside man. Rain adds that they made a ton of money over the years, judging from what he heard. Priscilla admits that Eldrick has caused the family loads of problems, but she wants to know Rain's plan for the girls. Rain reveals that he plans to talk to the girls tomorrow. Since he is short-staffed, he is open to recruiting those who have nowhere to go. He plans to give them a basic education so that they can work in the city. Priscilla admits Rain has a good plan because it will help increase the city's labor force. She commends her brother, saying he is becoming more thoughtful with each day. Since there is nothing more to discuss, Priscilla decides to leave so that Rain can rest. However, she lets Rain know that she is worried about him, and Rain assures his sister that he is aware of this. Priscilla then tells Leah that she will be handing Rain over to her. Leah pledges her loyalty, telling Priscilla that she is going to make sure no harm ever comes to Rain again. Priscilla then steps out of the room to meet Gwen, who is waiting for her. Gwen asks her if Rain is fine, and she assures her that it is nothing serious because it is a minor injury. However, Priscilla is unhappy that her brother got hurt. Priscilla then summons Nox, telling him to go to the dungeon and ask the bandit leader what he knows. She orders Nox to keep the dude alive because Rain still needs to question him. The next morning, Armando shows up in Rain's office to pledge his loyalty to him. Rain teases him, reminding him of how he said he would rather die than serve a noble. Armando cannot believe that the dude he just pledged his loyalty to is busy acting like a clown in front of him. Nonetheless, Armando's loyalty has gone from 32 to 95, and Rain is happy to see this. He knows that he has finally gotten Armando under his wing, and he is going to work him to death in his factory. Armando is forced to tell Rain to stop fooling around and get serious for once. Armando asks him if there is anything he wants him to do, and Rain asks Armando if he is willing to become his subordinate. Armando replies, saying he is willing to serve Rain and be a loyal subordinate. The moment he answers this question, the system records him as the second talent that Rain has obtained. With a passionate voice, Rain tells Armando that he has become the director of the city's workshop. Armando is genuinely confused by this because he is an alchemist and doesn't know how this relates to being a workshop director. Rain then hands him a blueprint, telling him to study it first. Rain reveals that after the dam is built, they are going to gradually advance the industrialization process of the city. Armando takes a look at the blueprints and realizes that they are nothing short of genius. This shocks him, leaving him to start wondering if Rain is actually smarter than his master. The two are concluding their discussion when Rosalind rushes into the room to tell Rain that there's been an incident. Rain asks her what the problem is, and she reveals that the bandit leader held in the dungeon has been murdered, shocking Rain. Rain and the girls head to the dungeon to find the bandit leader's body lying cold in the dungeon. Rain asks Rosalind when she found out that the dude was dead, and she says the guard was the one who found him when he came to give the bandit leader water. There is a symbol on the wall, and Rain asks if there is any of them who knows what it means. Selena casts her magic on the symbol to decipher it, and she informs Rain that there are dark magic residuals in the dungeon. Rosalind is shocked when she learns that a dark mage is involved. Leah then tells Rain that he needs to get out of the room fast because dark mages are trash people. She says the residue from their magic could actually make him sick, but Rain takes this with a pinch of salt. Selena then supports Leah's suggestion, and she tells Rain that it would be better for them to get out of the dungeon first. She explains that dark mages usually hide in dark corners, and even though they act low-key, they are very deadly. Selena says dark mages possess powerful magic that can cause large-scale disasters like plagues. Rain is surprised when he hears this, and he is forced to ask if the mages are studying bacteria. Selena mentions that the motive for killing the bandit remains a mystery to them. She says if it is just to silence him, then they have nothing to fear. However, if the dark mage is targeting Rain, they have no choice but to make plans in advance. After leaving the dungeon, Rain visits the orphanage where the girls are being held. Rain introduces himself to them and tells them that he was the one who rescued them. He lets them know that they have two paths to choose from. The first path is to tell him where their homes are so that they can be returned to their loved ones. The second path is for those who have nowhere to go. He lets them know that he can find them jobs with food and lodging so that they can stay in the city. If they choose the second path, they have become his subjects, he says. After telling them the whatnots, he asks them if any of them knows where they came from. However, a stroke of silence hits the room, shocking Rain. He is forced to ask if there is none of them who knows where they came from. Aria then reveals that most of the children were abducted at a young age and have experienced too much deception and intimidation. Iuria says this might have conditioned them to believe that there is no one who can genuinely help them. Iuria lets Rain know that it might take some time for him to gain their trust. Rain boasts, saying there is no need for this because he is the best at coaching children. Rain then tells Leah to go to the kitchen to bring cookies for the kids, and he tells her to bring plenty. Once the cookies arrive, Rain tells the kids that the cookies they are looking at are the best. He gives one of the girls a cookie to try it out. He assures the girl that she is free to reject it if she thinks it's not sweet. The girl eats the cookie, and she munches on it with so much excitement that it catches the attention of the rest. The rest of the girls quickly rush to the tray to take their own cookies. They all munch on it happily, and Rain tells them that it is time they play a game of truth and dare. One of them asks what kind of game it is, and he explains that it's a simple game where they take turns drawing a question card. The person who draws a question will either tell the truth or accept a small challenge. He lets them know that answering or completing the challenge gets them a cookie. A few hours later, Rain has managed to bond with most of the girls. One of them introduces herself as Mia and says her home is east of the city in a small village called Glen. Rain pats her on the head, telling her that she is a brave kid for telling him this. He assures her that he is going to designate people to take her home safely. Rain then turns to Iuria, telling her to arrange for people to escort the children who know their homes. Rain figures out that he has to find someone to take care of the kids in the meantime. However, he decides to check if there is any promising talent among the girls. He knows that this is a rare chance for him to recruit them directly. He scans all of them but is disappointed to see that they are all ordinary. Suddenly, he notices that the redhead girl, Alia, has mind-blowing stats. Rain is blown away when he sees this because Elia's stats are almost the same as Leah's. Later on, Priscilla calls Nox to her to ask him why the bandit leader died. Nox then tells Priscilla that he didn't kill the dude. He mentions that the only thing he did was torture him for a while with dark magic. Priscilla asks if the dude knows anything, but Nox says no. Nox claims that the bandit appears to be in the lower ranks, which is why he knows nothing. This leaves a mysterious question because Priscilla doesn't know why someone would go through the stress of killing him if he doesn't know anything. Nox then explains that he suspects that the dude's death was to trigger something, not silence him. Nox reveals that there are some spells in dark magic that require a dead person as a prerequisite. Since they are dealing with complex entities, Priscilla tells Nox that he must ensure that Rain is safe at all times. Nox acknowledges the order, and Priscilla starts realizing that her trip appears to be a fruitful one. Elsewhere, Oscar is having fun in his bedroom when his attendant shows up to tell him that someone important has arrived to see him. Oscar is surprised that someone would disturb him while having fun, and he asks the guard who the guest is. The guard reveals that the person is Eldrick, and he claims to have important things to discuss. The moment he hears that it is Eldrick, Oscar immediately assumes that he has brought a new gift for him. Oscar then tells the guard to take Eldrick to his study, saying he will be there soon enough. All Oscar can think about are the girls that Eldrick brought for him the last time, and he assumes that he has brought another batch of girls. With this in mind, he rushes to his study to meet Eldrick. Oscar asks Eldrick if he has brought some incredible goods for him, which is why he came to see him personally. Eldrick then drops the bombshell, telling Oscar that he didn't bring him gifts, but a piece of bad news. Oscar asks Eldrick what it is, and he explains that the Grand Duke's son, Rhine, has chased him out of Iceland. Eldrick breaks Oscar's heart when he tells him that he might not receive beautiful goods again. Oscar becomes agitated when he hears this, and he asks him why Edgar abandoned him even though he had worked for him for years. Eldrick explains that Rain is the new lord of the city, and he is an overconfident person who thinks he has everything under control. Eldrick reveals that he personally infiltrated Iceland the night before to kill the bandit leader working for Oscar. Oscar asks Eldrick if there is any possibility that Rain has discovered them, and Eldrick says yes. He reveals that this is the reason he risked coming to report the news to him. Oscar then asks if Rain will make a move against him, and Eldrick reminds him that the Empire does not allow cross-border slave trading. To make it worse, Oscar's political views clash with Edgar's. Eldrick is confident that the Duke might use this to strike back at Oscar. Deep down, Oscar is freaking out because he knows once the Emperor finds out about what he did, he is a dead man. Desperate to live, he asks Eldrick if he has any idea what to do. Eldrick reveals that when he left Iceland, he heard that the dam was completed, and he sees this as a good opportunity for them to act. Since Oscar has never heard of a dam before, he asks Eldrick what this means. Eldrick explains that with what he knows, it is a device that stores water. The water stored in the dam can also easily flood the lower district of the city. Eldrick wants them to use the dam to create a disaster, thus destroying the city and those living in it. Oscar will then seize the opportunity to send troops to occupy the city, ultimately solving all of their problems at once. Oscar is shocked to hear this, and he asks Eldrick if what he is saying is for them to kill the Grand Duke's son. Oscar is against this because he believes that they are dead men if the Grand Duke finds out. Eldrick reminds Oscar that he is dead either way if Rain reports him to the Emperor. Eldrick says the Grand Duke will not be able to say anything if they can push Rain's death to the dam's failure. He believes that it will be easy to do, since no one knows the essence of the dam in the first place. He adds that Oscar will get access to the kinds of beauties that he wants once he occupies the city. After hearing about the girl's part, Oscar finally agrees to proceed with Eldrick's plan. 3 days later, Rain hosts Elia in his office, and he is surprised that she has not said anything in the past days. He feeds her cookies just to get a word out of her, but she remains mute. Rain wonders just what sort of treatment the child went through to have made her totally autistic. Rain is wondering what he can do when Lillian rushes into the room to tell him that the dam is complete. Rain is happy when he hears this, because he has finally gotten a bit of good news. Rain tells Leah to summon the elves and the nobles in the city so that they can come and witness the moment. He is excited to show them that the city has entered into a brand new era. Rain then turns to Elia, asking her if she is ready to follow him to the opening of the dam. He assures her that it is going to be a lively event where there is going to be plenty of food and drink. In addition, there are going to be girls and boys her age at the event. Even with all of his persuasion, the girl remains mute, and Rain decides to leave her in his office. He assures her that there will be maids to take care of her in case she needs anything. He also adds that she is free to change her mind, and in case she wants to come, all she needs to do is tell the maids to bring her. Arriving at the dam, the Elven Queen expresses her doubt about the durability of the dam. She tells Rain that elves are basically powerless against flash floods, just in case things go wrong. Rain then tells the lady that she doesn't need to worry about anything because he specifically monitored all the processes and everything was done in the right way. He lets the Queen know that she is about to witness true power. Selena then shows up, telling Rain that everything he told her has been put in order. She reveals that they have installed 3 thick stone slabs at the dam's outlet to withstand the impact of the water flow. She also mentions that they have set up an iron gear system to regulate the water flow and prevent the dam from suddenly losing control. Rain is happy to hear all of these, and he informs his guests that they are going to be the ones to perform the first opening of the floodgates. The Elven Queen remains scared, and she points out the fact that there is so much water on the other side. She tells Rain that if there is a slight mistake, the farmlands below will face a disaster. Priscilla also shows her concern by asking Rain if opening the gates is safe because of how massive the gates are. Priscilla reminds her brother that they can't gamble with the lives of the people. Rain once again assures the two that the amount of water in the dam poses zero threat to them. He explains that the dam's design has undergone several experiments and verifications. In fact, he personally made sure he ensured the safety of every step. Rain reveals that the water will flow smoothly downstream and the farmlands will receive ample irrigation. Rain tells his guests that they have nothing to worry about because they are about to witness a miracle. The ladies then step forward to join Rain to start the dam. They are about to do this when Eldrick appears above them. Eldrick arrives with his usual annoying smile. The Elven is confused, and Priscilla explains to her that Eldrick is the former lord of the city who rebelled and was driven out by Rain. Rain is surprised that Eldrick actually showed his face at the opening of the dam. Rain asks him what he is doing there, and Eldrick proudly reveals that he has joined the Orvis Empire to become a noble. Rain smiles, asking if he has come to turn himself in because he doesn't like the way he is being treated by the Empire. Eldrick smirks, telling Rain that he is there for revenge. Rain laughs when he hears this. He mocks Eldrick, asking him if he is brain dead because he came for revenge on his own. Eldrick confidently replies that he didn't come alone. He reveals that he has positioned a team of powerful mages upstream, and they are ready to cast a powerful water elemental magic. With the help of the upstream current, he is confident that their magic will rush down and destroy the dam he is so proud of. Once the dam is destroyed, the city and its people are automatically doomed. The Elven Queen freaks out when she hears this. Even Priscilla is scared, and she warns Eldrick, telling him that if he tries ruining everything, she is going to chase him to the ends of the earth. Eldrick laughs out loud, saying he is enjoying the frustration on their faces. Eldrick then hits the water with his magic, unleashing a powerful water flow in the direction of the dam. The Elven Queen panics and suggests that they leave because things are looking grim. Rain then tells her not to panic because no matter how much Eldrick releases, the dam will remain strong. Rain tells the Queen that he has already set up all the safety measures to make sure everything goes right. This is why he is confident that no matter how scary the flood is, the dam will remain standing. Rain then turns on the dam, releasing a huge flow of water, and Eldrick starts laughing at him, saying the dam is unable to withstand just a single blow. Even the Elven Queen believes Eldrick, and she suggests that they leave before they are swallowed by the flood. Priscilla also urges Ryan to leave, but Ryan remains stationary, telling the two that the amount of water they are looking at is not enough to take down his dam. Rain even taunts Eldrick further, asking him if that is all he can do. Eldrick is more than happy to shoot more magic power into the water, since Rain is asking for death. The water starts rushing so hard that the slab underneath starts to crack. The Elven Queen wants to run away, but Rain tells her that it is not yet time for them to panic. Eldrick continues attacking the dam just so he can make sure Rain fails. Suddenly, the intensity of the flood takes down the 3 slabs, shocking the ladies. While the others are panicking, Rain is smiling because it is finally going down the way he wants it to. The gear under the dam then changes direction, and the overflow of water starts going through another outlet, which leads to the farmlands. This shocks everyone who is watching, and Rain thanks Eldrick for his help. Rain says he would have had to waste his magician's mana to irrigate the farmlands, but Eldrick has done it for him for free. Eldrick cannot believe that Rain actually used him, and Rain explains to him that the dam was not meant to block water only. He explains that the main purpose of the dam is to actually utilize the power of the water flow to allow the entire farmland to be nourished. Rain says the larger the flood, the more adequately the farmland is irrigated. Eldrick cannot believe that his grand plan has been used against him. Since his plan has failed, Ryan suggests that they continue with the last unfinished business. Instead, Eldrick decides that he needs to leave, but he assures Rain that they are going to meet again. Rain laughs when Eldrick says this, and he reminds him that his city is not a theme park that he can just waltz in and out of. Rain then tells Selena to go after Eldrick, and Selena gladly obliges. She conjures a huge lightning bolt, and she strikes Eldrick with it, taking him down. Since they have taken care of the Eldrick problem, Rain turns to the ladies to discuss the investment plan with them. The Elven Queen admits that Rain's dam has opened her eyes. Priscilla then asks him how he wants them to invest in the plan he is offering. Rain says the dam has solved the incessant flooding of the city, and to make the city great, they need to work toward building economic prosperity. The Elven Queen asks him if he is planning on building caravans to achieve this, but Rain says no. Rain reveals that his plan is to earn money from the caravans instead. Priscilla asks him if he is planning to raise tolls because this is a bad idea, which will cause resentment among the caravans. Rain then replies that she is also wrong with her assumption. Rain reveals that he is planning to build a community that serves passing caravans so that they can spend all their money while they are in the city. Rain then takes them to the only road from the city that leads to the border fortress. He shows them a particular spot that used to be a casino, and he tells them that the location is pretty advantageous for what he wants to do. He says as long as they build a service area there, the passing caravans will definitely stop to spend money. The Elven Queen points out the fact that the area is in complete ruin, and she asks why the service area would survive when the casino couldn't. Unknown to the Elven Queen, Rain was the one who ordered the destruction of the casino, but he couldn't even tell them that. Rain lies that the reason the casino didn't work out was thanks to the mismanagement of the previous owner. However, he is confident that they can do better. The Elven Queen then asks him what he means by the service area that he is talking about. Rain explains that a service area is a type of comprehensive facility, and he shows the blueprint for this. He says the service area includes rest stops, shops, stables, and so on. Rain says the service area is specially designed to provide services for passing caravans and travelers. It is basically a commercial center that integrates rest, supplies, trade, and communication. The Elven Queen admits that Rain just brought up a good idea. Rain then explains that the trade between the city and the border fortress is usually frequent. In addition, the number of caravans passing every day is countless. Rain says the surrounding people will also be drawn to the service area by the convenient transportation once they establish the area. Rain tells them that it is going to generate more consumption and investment, which will drive the development of other industries. After he is done explaining, the Elven Queen asks him what the elves stand to gain since everything he has mentioned so far benefits the humans alone. Rain proudly tells the lady that it is going to become a hub for grain distribution, which means the entire elven population will no longer have to worry about food shortages. The Queen's face lights up when she hears this, and Rain explains that several caravans will pass by the service area every day. With this, the elves will be able to purchase enough food and other agricultural products. Rain explains that with this, the elven race will become more prosperous. After hearing all of his boring talks, the Elven Queen informs Rain that she is willing to believe in his plan. She tells Rain that if the road can bring endless food and prosperity, then the elven race will support him with everything they have. Rain is relieved to hear this, and he asks the Queen how much she is willing to invest for a start. The Queen tells Rain that she would like to test the waters with 150,000 gold coins first. She assures Rain that if the investment is effective, she will provide more. Rain is blown away when he hears the amount of money that the lady is willing to drop at once. This is when he finally understands what it means to be rich. Rain cannot believe that he just landed a big fish, who will single-handedly sponsor everything he needs. The Queen then tells Rain that she is going to send her own people to supervise the project. Rain assures the Queen that she has nothing to worry about because he is personally going to supervise the task to ensure it meets the highest standards. After the meeting, Rain rushes over to tell Leah that everything went smoothly. Leah then replies that it is all thanks to his wisdom and persistence. Rain says the investment issue might be out of the way, but there are still other issues like fund management that need to be tackled. He tells Leah to get him Selena, and moments later, Selena shows up. Rain asks her if she knows what cooking the book means, but she is entirely ignorant of this. Selena says the only thing she knows is curses and magic, leaving her completely clueless when it comes to math. Rain also asks Armando if he knows, but the dude also has no idea. He mentions that he is still trying to figure out the director's task that he gave him. Rain almost faints when he realizes that the two smartest people in his court have no idea how to cook the books. Rain starts to wonder if he is supposed to spend all of his money on construction, but he quickly trashes the idea, saying he has to save some for a rainy day. Leah then suggests that they ask Priscilla for help, since it is something that deals with economics. Leah reveals that Priscilla's territory has many business geniuses, and they are supposed to understand what it means by cooking the books. Rain rejects the suggestion, saying the task has to be carried out by someone he completely trusts. He adds that the fewer people who know about it, the better. Desperate to find a solution, Rain orders that they bring all the merchants in the city to him. Meanwhile, Wilvinia has arrived in the city, and her only job is to make sure she convinces Rain to release Castile so she can save her father. Wilvinia steps into the city and notices the strange crowd gathering. She asked one of the citizens what was happening, and he revealed that Rain is holding an accounting exam. He says everyone is excited to join in on the fun of it. Wilvinia is confused, and she asks what the accounting exam means. The dude confesses that he also doesn't know, but Rain has promised to hire anyone who passes the exam. In addition, the person who passes is entitled to one wish from Rain. Wilvinia immediately becomes curious and interested because she knows that once she passes the exam, she might have the chance to get Rain to unconditionally release Castile. Everyone starts rushing over to their seats for the exam, and Rain is personally supervising. He especially tailored the exam for the upcoming service area project. He believes that it is genius to have thrown the unsolvable problems at the interviewees. Rain is already imagining what the future of the city will look like. One of the examiners comes rushing to Rain to tell him that someone has finished their exam, and the person is the manager of the city's brothel. Rain is glad to hear this because he had high hopes for the city in the first place. However, his high hopes were instantly crushed when he realized that the paper was blank. The dude literally didn't write anything, and his excuse is that he doesn't understand the questions at all. Rain asks him why he decided to take the exam when he knows nothing about the questions he is asking. The dude defends himself by saying the terms used in the questions like balance sheet, depreciation, and amortization are just way too complicated for him. Rain cannot believe that no one understands cooking the books the way he wants. He feels like they are all going to end up in prison if he tries to make it clearer than he already did. Basically, cooking the books is manipulating financial records to hide losses, embezzle funds, or mislead stakeholders. After he is done scolding the dull guy, another examiner shows him an answer sheet that looks promising. However, the dude only told Rain that he has an 8-year-old daughter who is not betrothed yet, and he would like Rain to have the girl. Rain cannot believe his eyes when he sees this, and he wishes that he could just throw the dude in jail to go through a thorough ideological re-education. Rain holds his head in frustration, and the people notice this. Wilvinia also notices this, and she finally decides to take the exam. She approaches one of the guards, who asks her who she is. She simply replies that she is just a tourist and asks to be given one of the test papers. Since everyone, aside from the elves, is allowed to take the test, the guard decides to give the lady a trial. However, he lets her know that no one has answered more than 2 questions already. Wilvinia sits down to attend to the questions, and she almost loses her mind when she realizes that Rain is basically hiring someone to help him cook the books. She concludes that Rain is no different from the corrupt officials in their country. However, she knows that she is going to get the leverage over Rain if she can answer the questions correctly. She decides to push her self-respect to the side, since her father's life is more important to her. Rain is already at his limits when Wilvinia submits her test paper. Rain checks it out and his mind is completely blown away. He is forced to admit that she is a freaking genius. She even did it better than he expected, but he noticed that he had never heard her name before. He then asks her where she is from. Wilvinia mentions that she is from the Orvis Empire, and the guards immediately swing into action, ready to take her down. However, Rain stops them and asks Wilvinia why she has come to Iceland. Wilvinia casually replies that she is there to negotiate, and this catches Rain's attention immediately. Rain then takes Wilvinia to his office, where he tells her that he is extremely satisfied with her answers. He asks her if she is the financial advisor to the Orvis Empire, but she says no. She mentions that she only knows a little about finance. Rain is impressed with her answers because they are so detailed, and he decides to scan her stats to see what he is dealing with. Rain is blown away when he realizes that she has a special attribute in mathematics. Rain realizes that Wilvinia is the kind of talent that he needs, and he has to find a way to keep her. Rain then asks her what the Orvis Empire wants with him, since she claims that she is there to negotiate. Wilvinia comes clean, telling Rain that she is there for Castile because the Orvis Empire hopes that he can release him. In exchange for releasing Castile, the Empire is willing to give him a generous amount of money. Rain is interested in the exchange, but he lets Wilvinia know that he is not interested in money. She is shocked to hear this, and she starts to figure out that Rain might actually want the territory for himself. Wilvinia then asks him what his conditions of release are. Without holding back, Rain points to Wilvinia, asking her if she is ready to be his retainer. Wilvinia is shocked when she hears this, and Rain lets her know that he has just made the most reasonable request that he can make. He reveals that Wilvinia is far more valuable to him than Castile. Wilvinia cannot believe that Rain is seriously offering her a chance to become his retainer, which is something she considers to be a joke. Wilvinia asks Rain if he is trying to humiliate her because she is a noble of the Orvis Empire, and there is no way she could possibly bow to an enemy nation. Rain lets the lady know that he doesn't joke around when it comes to matters like this because Wilvinia is such a talented individual that he can't afford to waste. Wilvinia is entirely confused because she can't tell if Rain is serious or just messing with her. At the same time, she can see that he is not joking, but she is worried that Rain might not release Castile if she refuses his offer. Wilvinia then asks her if he is going to deny her request if she refuses to become his retainer. Rain smiles, saying this is not going to be the case. This surprises Wilvinia, who is not expecting Rain to just give in so easily. Rain tells Wilvinia that she has helped him solve something that was a huge problem for him, so there is still something to discuss. Rain tells the lady that he needs talented individuals like her to make the city a prosperous city. Wilvinia bows her head in sadness, telling Rain that his request might be tempting, but she can't agree to it. Rain asks her why she is holding back on the request, and he asks if it is because of some old-fashioned imperial glory. Wilvinia confesses that her father is still imprisoned in the Orvis Empire and she must bring Castile back with her. She plans to use Castile to negotiate her father's release. Rain finally understands her plight, and he realizes that winning her over by force might work out well. Wilvinia then reminds Rain that he promised to grant a wish to anyone who is able to pass the test. She tells Rain that she is hoping he holds on to his promise. Rain smiles when he hears this, and he orders one of the guards to get Castile out of the dungeon because Wilvinia is taking him home. Wilvinia is relieved to hear this, and she thanks Rain for his generosity. Moments later, Wilvinia and Castile began moving to the Orvis Empire, and they were escorted by Rain's men. Castile shows his rage inside the carriage, saying Rain humiliated him and he promises to get back at him. Wilvinia cannot believe that Castile is so dumb enough to be thinking about revenge after he already lost once. He soon starts to complain about the carriage being too bumpy, but Wilvinia tells him that it is not the carriage, but the road. Castile still crashes out because of this as he tries to tell Wilvinia that he is a Grand Duke, and by this he deserves the best treatment. He threatens to report Wilvinia to the Emperor once they return. Deep down, Wilvinia is cursing the dude out, and she is pretty sure that the Emperor is going to punish Castile once they get back. Not long after, the guards inform Wilvinia that there is a stream up ahead, and he asks her if they should rest there. Wilvinia agrees to this since it is dangerous to travel at night. While they are settling in at the stream, Wilvinia cannot get her mind over the request given to her by Rain. She doesn't want to believe that Rain is willing to hire her as his retainer. Just then, Castile spots one of the maids, and his attention immediately shifts to her. He grabs her and demands to have fun with her, but the girl urges him to let her go. Castile is pissed that the girl is rejecting his offer, and he angrily slaps her across the face. Wilvinia is disgusted by this, and she urges Castile to show some semblance of nobility. However, Castile is a pig, and he tells Wilvinia to get out of his sight because the matter doesn't concern her. Suddenly, the Emperor's assassin appears out of nowhere and pushes a knife straight into Castile's chest before he can even react. This leaves Wilvinia shaken, and she starts sweating all over. The terrifying assassin then turns to Wilvinia, telling her that it is her turn to die. Wilvinia and the maid make a run for it, and they alert the soldiers that they are under attack. The leader of the unit cannot believe that there is someone bold enough to go after the Duke of the Orvis Empire, and he immediately orders his men to be careful. The assassin shows up, telling them how easy it is since they are all gathered. He plans to wipe them out at once, but the leader of the escort unit urges the assassin to surrender since they have him surrounded. The assassin laughs at them, telling them that they are the ones who are actually surrounded. With just a loud whistle from the dude, hiding Orvis soldiers emerge from their hiding place. Wilvinia is shocked to see soldiers from the Orvis Empire in the forest. The leader of the escort unit is in disbelief when he realizes that the assassin is colluding with the Orvis army. The assassin decides to let them in on the secret, since they are all going to die anyway. The assassin mentions that the Emperor wants a war, and he wants to use them as the catalyst for the war. He lets them know that their deaths will be a reason for them to be able to invade the Iceling city. Wilvinia doesn't want to believe this, but the assassin assures them they are all facing the grim reality of things. The assassin orders his men to go after Wilvinia and the escorts. Wilvinia trembles in fear, and she considers herself a failure because she has managed to involve herself in politics, which her father was always warning her about. She now understands why her father didn't want her near politics, because she is just a kind soul. Just as they are about to meet their makers, Rain's voice echoes through the tree line, and with it emerges his troops. Rain mentions his dissatisfaction that the Empire has dared to cross into his lands to kill people. The Orvis army nearly wet themselves when they saw this because they had already scouted the area beforehand. Rain mocks them, telling them that the methods that they use are simple and unrefined. Wilvinia is surprised by Rain's arrival, and she asks him why he came. Rain then asks her if she is so naive to the extent that she thinks the Emperor would allow Castile to return safely. Wilvinia is shocked to hear this, and she asks Rain if he knew this all along. Rain says yes, and he assures Wilvinia that she would have died before getting to the Orvis Empire. Wilvinia asks him how he knows this, and he reveals that the Empire has wanted to use her death as an excuse to start a war. Surprisingly, Rain is not against this. The assassin tries to act tough, and he tells his soldiers that they have to kill Rain so that the city can fall into chaos. The soldiers charge toward Rain and his men, and Rain casually tells Rosalind to wipe out the invading soldiers. Rosalind descends into the battlefield from above just so she can ore a farm and show the enemy troops how it's done. A fierce battle ensues, but Rosalind is on another level, and she creates a decimation scene across the battlefield, causing the enemy soldiers to start trembling in fear. She looks like a total maniac in battle, and the soldiers start admitting that she is just too strong, and they might not have a chance against her. The assassin urges his men to stand strong because Rosalind is just one person, and they can take her down. Since the assassin is so brave, Rosalind turns her attention to him. She almost smashes his head in with her spear, but he narrowly escapes the strike. The assassin blocks her attack, and one of the soldiers tries to sneak up on her from behind, but Rosalind renders him limbless on the spot. Rosalind then turns to the assassin again, and she delivers a high-powered kick that sends him staggering backwards. He coughs in exhaustion, and Rosalind urges him to surrender if he doesn't want to die. The assassin boldly tells Rosalind that he is not scared of her, and she gives him a reason to be. She dashes toward him at a blinding speed, which he is not able to react to. Rosalind lands a strike on his shoulder, causing the dude to fall to his knees. The enemy soldiers see this and conclude that Rosalind is way above their league. Even the assassin now realizes that Rosalind's strength is completely beyond his expectations. Standing in the rear is Ryan, and he is also impressed by what he is watching. He realizes that Rosalind is going to be totally unstoppable when she starts wearing a bulletproof vest and wielding a submachine gun. Rosalind then urges the enemy soldiers to drop their weapons, surrender, or die. The soldiers have no choice but to start dropping their weapons as they beg to be spared. The assassin tries to rile them up to fight, but the soldiers prioritize their lives. Rosalind then informs Rain that all the enemy troops have been captured. Rain is glad to hear this, and he commends Rosalind for a job well done. The assassin is brought to Rain, and surprisingly, he tells the soldiers to let the dude go. The assassin urges Rain to kill him if he wants to, because he is never going to beg for mercy. Rain smiles when he hears this, and he assures the dude that he has no intentions of killing him. The assassin is shocked to hear this, and Rain tells him that he is sparing his life because he needs him to pass a message along. The assassin wonders who he is trying to send a message to, and Rain says the message is for the Emperor of the Orvis Empire. This shocks the assassin, who starts racking his head in an attempt to figure out what Rain wants to do. Rain tells the assassin that since the Emperor is looking for an excuse for war, he is willing to satisfy him. Rain tells the assassin that he is going back to the Empire to tell them that he was the one who betrayed the Alliance and killed Wilvinia while they were returning to the Empire. Rain basically tells the assassin to pin everything that happened on him, but he is waiting to show the Empire why they are not supposed to mess with him. Rain then tells Wilvinia to return to the city with him, since the Empire was already planning to kill her. The assassin finally leaves, but he tells Rain that he is going to regret his decision to let him live. After the assassin has vanished, Wilvinia asks Rain if he is not scared that the Empire is going to launch a full-scale attack on him and the city. Rain says he is more afraid that the Orvis Empire army might not come. He confesses that what he actually wants can only be given to him by the Orvis Empire. Wilvinia asks him what it is, and Rain smiles before revealing that he wants the land of the Orvis Empire. Rain then tells Rosalind to take back all the prisoners and reform them into workers. Rain is glad that he just got a new set of workers because he was already short-staffed. Later on, Rain takes Wilvinia through the dark lobby of the castle, and Wilvinia assumes that Rain is leading her into the dungeon. However, Rain shocks her, telling her that he has no interest in keeping her locked up in a dungeon. Rain takes her into the math room, where Selena has almost lost all of her brain cells, trying to figure out how the abacus works. Rain then tells Selena that she doesn't need to stress herself again because their savior has arrived. Wilvinia is shocked when she sees the number of accounts that Rain is trying to cook up. Rain then tells Wilvinia that the Elven Queen will be coming for a financial report in 3 days. Rain wants Wilvinia to help him set up the account and hide everything he doesn't want her to know. Some days later, Wilvinia shows up totally sleep-starved to show Rain all the accounts that he asked for. Rain checks them out, and he commends Wilvinia for a job well done. Wilvinia is glad that Rain is satisfied because she, on the other hand, is just trying to survive. Rain then assures the lady that he has no intentions of killing her, since he is the one who brought her back himself. Rain then asks her what reward she would like for helping him falsify the accounts. Wilvinia reveals that she actually wants something, but she doesn't think it's something that Rain can actually do for her. Rain smiles when he hears this, and he asks her if she wants him to rescue her father. Wilvinia is stunned when Rain says this because she didn't even say anything. She starts wondering if the dude can read minds. Rain tells her not to be surprised because he figured it out easily, thanks to human emotions being the easiest thing to see through. Wilvinia then asks him if he can truly rescue her father. Rain lets her know that there is no deal in this world that he can't make. Upon hearing this, Wilvinia realizes that Rain is actually someone she can trust. However, she thinks rescuing her father is too much of a reward for a mere creation of fake accounts. She then asks him what else he wants from her. Rain is glad that Wilvinia is such a smart person. He then explains that Wilvinia has been cooking the books for him in the past couple of days, and all he wants is for her to continue doing it. In addition to this, Rain wants Wilvinia to become his retainer. This shocks Wilvinia, who thinks Rain must be joking with his request. Rain then tells Wilvinia that he is not a joker, and in addition, he hates trouble more than anything else. Rain doesn't think it would be a good idea for him to help rescue Wilvinia's father, then send her back to the Empire, with a chance that she's going to stand against him. Rain makes it simple for her that if she wants to save her father, all she has to do is become one of his subjects. Wilvinia is conflicted by this because she is being asked to betray the Orvis Empire. However, if she refuses the offer, her father might as well die in the shithole. Rain notices her conflict, and he tells her that she is not mandated to answer immediately. Rain mentions that Wilvinia has been up all night for a couple of days, which has caused her to be tired. Rain advises her to get some rest, and once she is done resting, she is free to think over her decision carefully. Rain then turns to Leah, telling her that they need to check out the construction site. Moments later, Rain arrives at the site and the team leader welcomes him, telling him to come with him so he can show him the ongoing progress of the site. Rain is glad that the construction is going smoothly, and this is thanks to the additional labor they are getting from the prisoners. Rain then notices a supervisor beating one of the prisoners harshly, and the team leader mentions that the dude lost his family a few years ago when the Orvis Empire invaded the city. It is because of this grudge that he is acting cruelly to the prisoners. The team leader wants to talk to the dude about it, but Rain stops him. This shocks the team leader, and Rain reminds him that the Orvis Empire army didn't go easy on the civilians when they invaded, so there is no reason to go easy on them too. Rain says that he doesn't mind whatever method they use as long as no one dies before the service area is fully constructed. The team leader assures Rain that he is going to keep an eye on them to make sure that everyone survives to finish the construction site. Rain then asks how many hours a day they work and how many times they eat. The dude replies that they work 8 hours a day and they get to eat 3 times too. Since it is autumn already, Rain tells the team leader to add 2 more hours to their work hours. Later on, Rain meets with the Elven Queen to present the accounts to her. She goes through it, and even though her gut feeling is telling her that something is wrong, she can't quite place her hand on it. She asks Rain if there is anything wrong with the accounts, but Rain assures her that a lot of effort has been put into ensuring the accuracy of all the data. The Elven Queen decides to take Rain's word for it, and she tells him that she hopes he doesn't let her down. Since she is satisfied with everything she has seen so far, she provides Rain with the promised 150,000 gold coins. She urges him to finish up the service area as soon as possible, and Rain assures her that it won't take long before she sees a thriving commercial center rising from the ground. The Elven Queen then asks about the issue Rain had with the Empire. She wants to know if they are going to war and if this will affect their cooperation. Rain then assures the Queen that she has nothing to worry about because he has prepared a good show for the Orvis Empire, and when the time comes, they are all going to benefit from him. Soon afterward, the Emperor gathered his officials to tell them that he had received a report that Castile had died on his way to the Empire. The officials are shocked to hear this, and the Emperor produces a bloodied letter sent to him by his spy. He tells his attendant to read it for them to hear, and in the letter, it is said that Rain colluded with Wilvinia to kill Castile and the guards in the forest. The Emperor plays his role so well by acting all pissed off in front of his officials, and this is enough to rile them up too. The Emperor then turns to Craven, pointing out the fact that he was the one who originally proposed the peace talks with the Iceling city. He says the Grand Duke has been killed because of this, and he asks Craven what he has to say about it. Craven cannot believe that the Emperor has managed to push him into a tight spot. He is pretty sure that he was the one who had Castile find an excuse to send in his troops. Craven is pissed that the Emperor is now trying to put everything on him. However, he has no choice but to play along too. Craven goes on his knees to tell the Emperor that he is willing to take the blame for what happened. The Emperor then walks up to him, asking him how he plans to take the blame. Craven screams out, telling the Emperor that he would like to lead the campaign to attack Iceling City. He tells the Emperor that with Wilvinia and Ryan's blood, they will wash away the shame of the Empire. The Emperor smiles when he hears this, and he tells Rain that he is willing to give him a chance to atone for his sins, since he is ready to do so. The Emperor then orders that the Western Legion group, the Silver Wolf Knights group, and the Crimson Flame Mages should all assemble in a march to destroy Iceling City. The officials are all in support of this, and they all cheer for Iceland's city destruction. The Emperor smiles evilly, while calling Rain a small boy who gave him the excuse to bring war to his doorstep. Meanwhile, Rain is sitting by his window, and he is proud of the changes going on in the city. He is pretty sure that the population of the Orvis Empire will pour into the city due to the war, which will ultimately solve his labor problem. In addition to this, if he manages to win the war, he will be able to expand his territory to the very place he wants the most. Not long after this, Rosalind shows up to tell him that the first group of border residents who sought refuge with them has all been settled in the service area. She mentions that the logistics department is currently distributing food and clothing. Rain is impressed by the number of people pouring in, and Rosalind mentions that there are about 3,000 people. Among them are about 800 men, who meet the labor standards set by Rain himself. There are also about 1,400 women in the group. Rain is relieved to hear this, and he says the city will no longer have to worry about labor when the time comes. Rain tells Rosalind to give the new refugees some extra food since they still have excess money from the money the elves gave them. In addition to this, he tells Rosalind to put up a few notices about the city being tax-free for 3 years, and the fact that the city provides free accommodation. He wants the people along the border or Orvis to know about this. And this is all thanks to the plenty of money given to them by the elves. Leah then informs him that Wilvinia wants to see him. He gives her permission to come in, and Wilvinia wastes no time scolding him for letting the assassin go. She says because of this, the Orvis Empire is coming at them with a bulk load of troops. Wilvinia suggests that she return to the Empire in an attempt to stop the war. Rain says her suggestion is good, but there is no way it is going to work. Rain assures her that there is nothing to worry about because he has made preparations for the war. Wilvinia continues ranting, saying countless lives will be lost in the war. She asks Rain if he is actually okay with starting a war for his own selfish interest. Rain is surprised to see Wilvinia getting mad because of the common people, and he tells her that she is a kind person. Wilvinia believes that she is being mocked, and she screams at the dude to stop mocking her. Wilvinia says she hates wars, and Rain replies that the same can be said for him. Wilvinia is shocked to hear this, and Rain explains that he hates people who start wars. However, this is also the same reason why he has to fight. Wilvinia gets curious about this, and Rain says that until he makes people fear his presence, there will always be war. Rain mentions that the only thing that can stop a war is force, not reason. Rain reveals that he has no intention of facing the Empire head-on. He has prepared a swamp of death for them, and he is going to enjoy watching them sink into it. Rain then pats Wilvinia on the shoulder, telling her that she has nothing to worry about because she is going to see her father very soon. Wilvinia is ultimately blown away by this, leaving her to start wondering what sinister plan Rain has in his head. Later on, Rain checks out the preparation going on outside the wall. Rosalind questions why the pits are dug inside instead of outside the moat. Rain says there is no need to block the enemy from coming in because he actually wants them to come in. Rosalind asks him what he means by this, and he reminds Rosalind about how he destroyed Castiel's men with a forbidden spell. Rosalind is surprised by this, and she asks if the spell has anything to do with the oil barrels. Rain says yes, because the oil barrel is the forbidden spell that Castiel was talking about. Rosalind is shocked to hear this, and she asks Rain if he can inflict the forbidden spell level damage as long as he has the oil. Rain assures her that this is the case because once a fire is lit around the barrel, it is going to explode. Rain then tells Rosalind that when the Imperial Army comes, she is not allowed to win. Rosalind is confused when she hears this. She mentions that they are about to get a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to inflict damage on the Imperial Army at the border while solidifying their defenses. Rain smiles, telling Rosalind that she is too naive. Rain reveals that what he actually wants is not to inflict damage on them, but to make them arrogant. Rain wants them to think they have won and that the city is struggling to survive. In addition, Rain wants them to be so proud and confident so that they can easily fall into the graves that they have dug for them. Rosalind asks if what Rain is saying is to deliberately show weakness to lure the enemy in, and Rain says yes. He tells her that in a couple of days, the vanguard of the Imperial Army will be the ones to arrive first. Rosalind is to lead her army to confront them head-on, but she is not allowed to win. However, she also must not lose badly. Basically, she can win and she can lose. She is to give them a false impression that the city's defenses are struggling to hold on. Rosalind finally understands that Rain wants the Imperial Army to chase them to where the oil drums are buried. Rosalind assures Rain that she is on board with the plan, and she promises to lure them in. Rain tells Rosalind that he is going to leave the planning to her so that he can check what Armando is doing. Rain assures Rosalind that after the war, the rules of the war will be rewritten. Inside the forge, Armando is busy arguing with Bram, telling him to follow every detail of the blueprint that Rain left for him. Bram argues that the barrel is too thin for what Rain wants them to do. But Armando continues pointing out the design that Rain wants. Bram tells Armando that the dimensions are wrong because the pipe he is holding obviously cannot withstand the pressure of the gunpowder. The two are arguing when Rain enters the workshop. Rain asks Armando why he is arguing with Bram, and Armando mentions that Bram is not ready to follow the blueprint because he believes that the barrel is too thin to withstand the pressure and claims that it would explode. Bram tells Rain that he might have helped them build a powerful furnace, but he doesn't believe in the design that he sent to them because he believes in practicality. Bram lets Rain know that the pipe is too thin and will definitely explode due to pressure. Rain then tells the dude that he has nothing to worry about. He says the pipe can indeed explode under pressure. Bram celebrates when he hears this, telling Armando that he is right all along. Rain then cuts in, telling him that as long as the pipe is designed according to the rules, there will be no problem. Rain mentions that the gun's design is the result of precise calculations and numerous trials. He adds that in terms of gunpowder usage and firing range, it will not explode as long as they control it properly. However, it is going to exert an astonishing and overwhelming power. Bram then tells Rain that, considering the size of the tube, he doesn't think it can have as much power as Rain is claiming it to be. Rain assures him that from 50 meters away, a single shot can penetrate the chest of a heavily armored cavalryman. The dwarves hear this and burst into laughter, believing that Rain is just messing around with them. Since there is none of them who are ready to believe him, Rain tells them to follow the design and produce just one gun for him. Bram agrees to this, saying they are going to see if the drawings would produce what he said. Bram is also curious to see if Rain's understanding and wisdom on things can actually break their belief. Soon afterward, the dwarves finish making the gun. Rain checks it out, and he is impressed by the gun because it was made to perfection. Bram immediately demands to see the power of the gun, which Rain claims to be overwhelming. Rain suggests that they go outside to test it out. Armando is worried about the safety, and he asks to test it instead, but Rain assures him that he has nothing to worry about. He tells Armando that his design would allow the gun to fire stably. They step outside, and they place a knight's armor in the distance for Rain to shoot. Rain fires the shot, and to their shock, the bullet travels with so much power and speed that it breaks through the armor. The dwarves cannot believe their eyes at the amount of firepower that the gun can produce. Bram stares at it with so much terror and realization that it can actually pierce through the finest knight's breastplate. Bram is left questioning where Rain got all his insane ideas from. Bram figures out that the emergence of the gun is enough to change the war landscape and might as well end the knightly era. Rain then turns to Bram to ask him if he is now convinced. Bram goes on his knees, telling Rain that he and the dwarves will forever be loyal to him. Bram admits that Rain's wisdom far surpasses theirs, and he assures him that they are willing to become his blacksmiths so that they can forge the strongest weapons for him. The other dwarves are shocked when they see their boss on his knees, and they demand to know why he is bowing to Rain. Bram stares at them disgustingly before telling them to shut their mouths. He asks them if they think they have the durability to withstand the gun's power. It dawns on the dwarves that they are at a disadvantage, and they quickly go on their knees to pledge allegiance to Rain. However, Rain tells them that they are getting things wrong because he doesn't need them to pledge allegiance to him. Bram asks him what he means by this, and Rain mentions that promises are not the most reliable thing in this world. Rain believes that nothing beats benefits. It finally dawns on Bram what Rain actually wants. Bram bows to him, assuring him that the blueprints will never be leaked and they are never going to betray him. Rain is relieved to hear this, but he urges Bram to leave the allegiance and oaths for another time. He tells Bram that what he wants from him is to mass-produce the firearms to prepare for the upcoming war. Bram immediately acknowledges the order. Shortly afterward, Craven and the Imperial Army arrive at the outskirts of the city. He picks a hill where they can see the city easily, and he tells his men to set up camp in the area. One of the commanders is surprised that they are not marching down on the city immediately, since the city obviously cannot match their raw power. The captain of the troops also agrees to this, and he tells Craven that there is no need for them to be careful. Craven cannot believe just how dumb the men are. He then reminds them of Castile and how he sent a message before his death saying Rain used a forbidden spell during the war. The commanders laugh this off, saying there is no way Rain has a forbidden spell level mage in the city. The two assume that Castile fabricated the lie to cover up for his loss against Rain. Deep down, Craven is pretty sure that the information wasn't fabricated, and he believes that there is a forbidden level mage in the city. Craven tells the two to stop arguing with him, and he reveals his intention to meet Rain the next day, while accompanied by someone from the Mages Guild. The commander is shocked to hear this, and he asks Craven if he is trying to make peace. Craven reveals that he wants to see Rain to confirm if he truly has a forbidden-level mage by his side. Craven says if this is the case, they need to approach with caution because no one actually knows how the battle is going to go. In addition, Craven reminds them that they are there to quell a rebellion, not to invade. And to do this, they need a legitimate reason. Craven then urges them to behave themselves, or they are going to regret it. Realizing how serious Craven is, the two assure him that they are going to be on their best behavior. Not long after this, Ryan gets the message that Craven would like to speak with him. In addition, he brought people to investigate if he truly has a forbidden-level mage. Rain is impressed when he hears this, and he admits that the Empire does have some smart people. Rain tells his guards that they are free to let them in. Momentarily, Craven and his mage enter Ryan's office to speak with him. Rain then asks Craven why he came to see him before the war had even started. Craven voices his concern about the forbidden-level spell that he used against Castile. The mage with Craven tells Rain that they are hoping he is going to cooperate with their investigation or else. This pisses Rosalind off, and she berates the mage for speaking rudely to Rain. The mage boldly replies that the rules of the Magicians Guild are not bound by the elaborate formalities of human nobility. The mage says the only way he is going to bow to Rain is if he can prove that he is smarter. Rosalind then asks him how Rain is supposed to prove this to him. The mage says he has a very simple method, and he whips out a tangram puzzle. He says if there is anyone in the room who can solve the puzzle, he will immediately bow to Rain. Rain is surprised when he sees the tangram because he is well aware that it is nothing but a children's toy in his past life. He is disappointed that a mage's intelligence level is measured by a child's toy. Selena also recognizes the puzzle, and she reveals that it is a puzzle meant for the mage's advancement exam, and there are always countless possible arrangements for it. However, in rare cases, the puzzle can be perfectly pieced back into the frame. Selena explains that the puzzle tests the mage's extraordinary spatial imagination and logical thinking abilities. The Empire Mage confidently says Selena is right. He adds that even a high-level mage would take a considerable amount of time before they can solve the puzzle. In fact, it took him in person a whole month to finally solve it. He then tells Rain that if he is able to solve it, he will immediately bow to him. Rain wears a look of disappointment because he can't believe that the dude used a month to figure out a 4-year-old's educational toy. Selena then decides to give it a try, since she solved a similar tangram puzzle during the high-level mage's exam. Selena picks it up, but after so much trial, she fails to put it together. She apologizes to Rain for being so incompetent, and the Empire's mage rides the wave to insult her, saying there is no way she can advance further with her level of understanding. The mage makes fun of everyone in the city, saying they are all idiots. Because of this, he believes that there are no forbidden mages in the city. The guards in the room are pissed, and they scold him for acting so disgustingly in the presence of their lord. The mage says he is not concerned because Rain is nothing but a mere noble. He turns around to leave, but Rain stops him. Rain tells him that he is wrong because there is someone who can solve it. The mage asks him who the person is, and Rain smiles, saying he is going to solve the puzzle by himself. The mage bursts into laughter when he hears this, and he reminds Rain that he was the spoiled rich noble who couldn't even pass the junior magician exam. Because of this, he believes that Rain has no chance whatsoever of solving the puzzle. Rain smiles, saying he failed the exam because the questions were too stupid and not worth his time. The mage then tells Rain to solve the puzzle if he thinks he can. Rain suggests that they make a bet to spice things up. The mage asks him what he wants to bet on, and Rain tells him that he would have to go down on his knees and apologize to Selena if he is able to solve the puzzle in 30 seconds. Selena is shocked to see Rain standing up for her, and Rain reminds her that she is his subordinate, and he is the only one who has the right to bully her. The mage accepts the bet, but tells Rain that if he fails, he will have to kneel in front of him and apologize to him too. Rain accepts the deal, and he grabs the puzzle. Just as promised, he solves it in 30 seconds, leaving the mage stunned and horrified. He doesn't want to believe his eyes because the puzzle took him a whole month to solve. Since he has solved the puzzle, Rain reminds him of their bet. The dude claims that it is nothing but luck. He says it is a lucky break and doesn't count as a real skill. Rain replies that he doesn't care if it is luck or not, because the point is that he has pieced the puzzle together. Rain walks up to him, telling him that he has two choices. It's either he kneels down and obediently apologizes to Selena, or he is going to have Rosalind relieve him of his head. Rosalind shows how serious she is by smashing her sword into the ground. Craven reminds the mage that he made a bet in public, and it would be bad for him to go back on his word. Craven says this is also going to damage the reputation of the mage's guild. The mage tries to defend his mistake by saying he never expected someone to actually solve the puzzle. Craven asks him if he is ready to honor his word, or if he is going to give him the opportunity to report his disgraceful behavior to the mage's guild. The mage realizes that he is backed into a corner, and he has no choice but to fall on his knees to apologize to Selena. Deep down, he is boiling with rage and swears to make Rain suffer just as he did to him. Craven, on the other hand, finally confirms that Rain is not the usual nobleman and he has to be careful in dealing with him. Since the mage has honored his promise, Rain suggests that they finally get down to the business of the day.